Better to recognize yourself and hurry back. Get out. Akatsuki spoke. Good guts. Today I will punish you in place of the Jiang family. This person's voice was purposely amplified, as if he intended for the Jiang family to hear it as a way to curry favor. In the next moment, a black longsword shot from the distance, extremely fast and with a sinister cold force. With a poof, he cut the man's thigh, and this time, he directly cut the aorta, and blood sprayed. The man turned around in horror, only to see a woman in black walking towards him, followed by 2 soldiers of the Jiang family. Duh, Lord, I am blocking them. You need to block them? These 2 are guests of our Jiang family, Zhou Qingying coldly shouted. Ah, guest, my lord, I was wrong. Forget it, get lost. Mingyue waved her hand impatiently and, it was just a small gap, and Zhou Qingying quickly brought the Mingyue duo into the Jiang family. No matter what, Mingyue was also her master, and now that she had returned, Zhou Qingying was still very happy, but the position between the 2 was a flip-flopping spin. Zhou Qingying was the high and mighty Mrs. Jiang, while she was the nobody who still had to be blocked from going to the Jiang family. The shifting flower palace was no different from a mole cricket to such a great power at the immortal sect level. Under the Green Mountain, Yan Kai walked out from the Jiang family's gate. In his hand was a tuba that Kong Ming had made in his spare time. His cultivation now had the 9th level of flesh. It was still a credit to the Jiang family's spirit medicine and herbs that he was able to improve so quickly. He took a loudspeaker and shouted, all of you, those who rub the aura at the foot of the Jiang family, you are given half an hour to leave quickly. Otherwise, I, the Jiang family, will not be polite. If you want to enjoy the aura in the vicinity, go to the Castle Peak City at the foot of the mountain in 10 days. Inside there is the Castle Peak building that is laid out by my Jiang family, with 12 floors in total, and the highest level even has a link with the Jiang family's grand formation, so that you can enjoy the 4th level of the spirit gathering magic formation. As his words fell, the people gathered around the Jiang clan showed regret, but they didn't dare to say anything. Damn, that guy before was such a douche. It must be the Jiang family who saw their friend being blocked and told us not to linger here. Hey, don't talk about it. That worldly immortal sect will allow so many idlers to exist around their own territory. I reckon that later on, this Jiang family, many powerful ferocious beasts will also appear around it, to prevent idlers from coming over. The man did guess right. Jiang Ming, because he had the life cultivation fluid, so he planned to put a stop to many evolved ferocious beasts at the foot of the Green Mountain. These ferocious beasts would only be loyal to the Jiang clan, and therefore he didn't have to worry about them causing harm to the ordinary people of the Jiang clan. Instead, he would help to drive away some casual cultivators, or people from the rivers and lakes. But Castle Peak City, opening up in 10 days, that's big news. It will just have to wait. I hope it's not too expensive. Look, you guys, what's that? Someone pointed to the sky, and an immortal crane pulling a bejeweled carriage flew from the sky. It's the seat of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. It looks like Castle Peak City is going to move into the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Inside the Ginger House, Jiang Ming looked at Mingyu with a smile on his face. This strong woman finally came back because of reality. It's good to be back. Is it still more comfortable to live here? It's okay. Mingyue didn't dare to look at Jiang Ming's eyes, absolutely embarrassed. Xing, take them down to find a suitable room first. Jiang Ming knew that feelings had to be cultivated slowly and didn't rush things. Although every time he took a wife there would be a reward that he looked forward to. Last time it was very difficult to raise his loyalty in the middle of the night due to the fact that Rapunzel's initial loyalty was 0, so he doesn't want to suffer this sin anymore. Well, husband, then I'll arrange for them to be right next to my room. Zhou Qingying laughed. Good, you pay attention too. You and Yu Ling, as well as Wang Xiliang are about to give birth. When they go down, Jiang Ming walked out of the hall and looked at Steward Wang, who had fallen from the sky, with a smile on his face. It was the same big fat face, but it was all remorseful. Steward Wang stepped out of the carriage, passed through the Jiang family's formation, and landed on top of the platform. The chubby body was surprisingly light as a feather, obviously practicing some kind of body technique. Gu, brother Jiang, the last time you conditioned us, we at the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion agreed, and decided to stay in your Castle Peak City, and all the elixir pills, and weapons you provide, we'll split them in half. Steward Wang came up with a sigh, followed by remorse, and was agitated, but Kong Ming just smiled and didn't say anything. When Steward Wang finished crackling, Jiang Ming sidestepped and pointed to the inner hall and said, Steward Wang, it's been a long journey, come in for a drink and we'll talk about it slowly. Well, when Steward Wang saw Jiang Ming's attitude, he had a premonition that this negotiation was going to be uneventful again, but when he thought about the task that his superiors had assigned him, he felt a tremendous amount of inner pressure. This kind of negotiation, is the psychological game, is a business battle, more difficult than the actual killing. After all, is to you within your rules, so that the other party agreed to accept, and it can't be done by force, but only through communication, or verbal brainwashing, and talking through emotions and reasoning. Brother Jiang, what you said last time, for your Jiang family's future mass-produced spiritual pills, we, Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, will sell them, and for good weapons and pills, we'll auction them off. After all, in terms of the caliber of auctions, and reputation, no one can be louder than our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, can they? Jiang family master. Steward Wang also quickly set his mind right, taking the lead in throwing out the advantages of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion in terms of reputation, which was already renowned throughout the Inshu realm. Indeed, your Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's reputation is indeed good, but the handling fees aren't low, and it's all a capitalist business, occupying the best plots of land but not being able to collect rent. Jiang Ming shook his head repeatedly and sighed, taking a sip of the spirit tea that was bubbling with white mist. His mouth even made a barfing sound on purpose. Finally, a hiss, this tea just keeps getting better and better. Jiang family master, what do you mean by that? You don't want to cooperate with us? Steward Wang opened the door, not wanting to kick the can down the road. In his opinion, Tianbao Pavilion still had an advantage. It was impossible for the Jiang family to give up such a large business. I want to, but I'm changing my conditions. Jiang Ming raised his eyebrows. Family Master Jiang, please speak. Steward Wang took a deep breath and took out a jade slip in his hand, which contained the requirements given to him by his superiors. Chapter 172 Business War? Jiang Ming's complexion returned to its rightful place. With a lift of his hand, he tossed the spirit tea in his hand to Steward Wang through the air. This tea? Look at it. Steward Wang sniffed and then his eyes showed surprise. Jiang family master is extravagant. This is second-order saffron tea. This kind of tea, I can produce 300,000 pounds a year. Jiang Ming held out 3 fingers and said, 300,000 pounds? That's indeed not a small amount. Could it be that family head Jiang wants to talk to me about the split? Steward Wang was surprised. He had already prepared himself mentally for the other side to press the price. This time, the standard given to him by his superiors was at most 4 or 6. 4 for him and 6 for the Jiang family. At least there's room for maneuver. And Jiang Ming laughed. Yes, but it's not a matter of splitting. What I mean is, in the future, you can sell the things of my Jiang family, but I won't allow you to sell them in Castle Peak City. I want you to dump them all over the world. And as for splitting, I'll be 8, and you'll be 2. Jiang Ming had this backbone because of the little green bottle. That little green bottle's ripening could ensure that every single one of his elixirs at every single stage was of the highest quality at the same stage, and the fastest production. When it matures later, the annual supply rate can guarantee the amount of goods used by 3 to 5 immortal sects. And there's 5th order, 6th order stuff back there. These are extremely scarce, which is why they are so pressurized and confident. And if the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion does not agree now, his big deal was to continue to wait and demand more then, until the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion compromised. After all, the initiative is in his hands, the current Castle Peak City. Even if he doesn't use the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, it's going to be hot, too. There's already the Acacia sect, the Tianqing sect, and even the Feng clan, all of whom have opened attic stores here. At that time, as long as he placed a top-grade Earth-ranked weapon inside the Mingzhu Divine Armament Pavilion, he would be able to set the world on fire. At that time with not afraid of the sales of their own elixir. Although not as big as the Tianbao Pavilion's market in the world, but it also completely ensured the current cultivation needs of the Jiang family. 2-8? We too? Steward Wang froze. How else could this be negotiated? It was too different from his own expectations. But thinking about this mission, he still said stiffly, Brother Jiang, do you know the influence of my Heavenly Treasure Pavilion? And our sales ability, these alone, are not comparable to ordinary forces. For example, this second-order black tea of yours, in other stores, a caddy can be sold for 500 spirit stones, but our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, a caddy is sold for 700 spirit stones, and our sales must be selling better than the other stores as well. This is the influence of our Tianbao Pavilion. We guarantee the privacy of our customers, the quality of our goods, and even quality after-sales service. All of these are not comparable to other stores. You take away 80%, if we only have 20%. For us, Tianbao Pavilion, this 20% is not enough to cover our marketing costs. Steward Wang narrated from the reputation of Tianbao Pavilion to the cost and finally back to the reputation. If the average person would have been talked out of it, and possibly changed their attitude. But what kind of person was Jiang Ming? He wouldn't be moved by such a simple talk. Slowly said, Wang Steward, I know your difficulties, but I can tell you my idea. We can provide the amount of goods, can guarantee the best of the same order. No one can compare. Followed by the number of such a source of goods. You cannot find the second. The last is what you said, the cost of those are false. Not to mention 20% of the 2% of the 1/10 of the 2% of the less than that. You do not do it if you do not do it. My big deal is to wait on the line, and later find their own store to open their own branch. Slowly, this world, not afraid of the deep alley, only afraid of the wine is not fragrant. This, Steward Wang couldn't speak indirectly for a moment. The cost that Jiang Ming said was indeed yes. He didn't expect that he couldn't be fooled here. Jiang family master, can you show me around your medicinal garden? Yes. Steward Wang followed Jiang Ming to the back of the Jiang family's mountain, where there were 8,000 acres of land, all of which were used to grow spiritual medicines and herbs, built on the mountain, all of which were planted within the fifth order array, so there was no fear of anyone thinking about it, and the scope of the herb garden is still expanding. Steward Wang was surprised to find that the Green Mountain was getting taller. Jiang family master, you Qing Shan are expanding? Well, it's all because of Gang Lao's good formation. This formation has been extracting the spiritual power of heaven and earth. After 100 years, the Green Mountain will become a 10,000 feet high mountain, straight into the clouds, and its size will be expanded 10,000 times more than before. Steward Wang felt a bit like a mythological story even after hearing it. The future of this Jiang family is unlimited. However, Jiang Ming didn't say that 100 years later, this fifth order grand formation would be difficult to cover such a huge green mountain. It definitely needed Wang Xinlin to become a sixth order formation master to expand. This is our spirit medicine garden. Jiang Ming pointed ahead as he didn't add the liquid from the little green bottle, so the growth rate is the same as usual. After all, the growth rate aspect can't be told to outsiders yet, so Jiang Ming began to snub. These 8,000 acres of land is just a testing ground. The real medicinal garden is 100 times the size, so I can't take you to view it. Family Master Jiang, do you think I'll believe this? Steward Wang naturally didn't believe it. If you don't believe me, you can say it to the people who have a say in your heavenly treasure pavilion, and I, the Jiang family, can also sign a guarantee with you that if you are unable to provide so many spirit medicines, the amount of compensation will be determined by yourselves. Seriously? But there's no way you're going to accept your said 2/8. Jiang Ming smiled faintly. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. It's not like I'm just providing first and second order elixirs, fifth order, sixth order as well. Steward Wang's pupils shrunk violently. He said horrifiedly, you mean the mass production of fifth order and sixth order spirit pills? Jiang Ming didn't answer. I'll take this condition. If you don't agree, you can come to my Castle Peak City to build the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, but I'll collect the rent as it is. You sell your own goods, my Jiang family's goods, and if you want to get on top of the house, then you'll have to work together according to what I said. Steward Wang was silent. After a long time he said, it's fine to build Tianbao Pavilion in your Castle Peak, but if you want to collect rent, I'm only afraid it's difficult. Tianbao Pavilion is never people begging to move in. Forget it then. You guys want the best seat and it's free. How can it be? Jiang Ming waved his hand and refused mercilessly. You, brother Jiang, you must know that the influence of our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Come on, don't talk about influence. I only care about the immediate benefits. You can call me short-sighted. Swing value plus 10. Swing value plus 10. Pendulum value plus 10. You Steward Wang flung his sleeve. Helpless. I can return your request back. You do realize that this time, if I don't finish, I won't be able to go to the southern head office. Hey, oh, you guys are promoted by performance? Jiang Ming said. Yeah, my superiors set me a task of 46. You're squeezing the price too hard. Steward Wang cried out. Jiang Ming still wanted to invite him for a meal, but Steward Wang didn't have the heart to do so and hurriedly said goodbye, reporting the Jiang family's matter to his superiors in a hurry. That is, the real insiders of Tianbao Gu, commonly known as the Cabinet Man, in the south, in a divine city even farther away from Tianfeng City. This place is only 30 miles away from the famous Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. This was because it was located right in the center of the Holy City, an immortal holy city in the south. There were no overlords among them, but there were various powerful immortal families, and there were 3 families that were stronger than the Feng family, and the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion here was even more massive. Although it only had 9 floors, it was only about 10 feet lower than the holy building in the holy city, and it was 300 feet high. At this moment on the roof of the Tianbao Pavilion, the inner cabinet Wang Ganju was about to take a pill to cultivate, and the candlelight on one side suddenly flickered, and a bamboo tube silhouette appeared on the candlelight. Wang Ganju raised his hand and beckoned the virtual shadow to him, and after reading the content on it, it made him show a hint of indignation. What a Jiang family! Having a fifth order array master and leaving our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion out of the picture? Fine, fine. Your Castle Peak City opens in 10 days, right? I'll make your Castle Peak City open this time with no one at the door. Pass the order down. 10 days later, Our Heavenly Winds City's Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. All the third order and below elixir pills. Merchandise at 70% discount. While holding an auction, take out the Earth Order middle grade technique as a gimmick to auction it off. I'll see what you Jiang family take to open business. Earth rank middle grade gongfu. Not to mention that tiny Tianfeng city. Even this holy city is going to be a sensation. Rich cultivators are attracted by me. The master of your Castle Peak City can't make it up. Chapter 173, Things are different. The news about the opening of Castle Peak City in 10 days had already swept through. And the news of the entry of the great immortal sect spread. But Tianfeng City broke even more explosive news the next day. Spirit medicine. Spirit pills are discounted by 70%. And there is also a mid-earth ranked technique up for auction. Time to coincide with the opening of Castle Peak City. Have you guys heard the news from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion? Did this Jiang family offend the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion? I have a feeling that it is. Some time ago, someone saw a steward from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. After entering the Jiang family, he left in a hurry not long afterward. He might have failed to talk about business and thus offended the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Although the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion doesn't fight, if you offend them, even if you're an immortal sect, you'll be played by them to destroy your clan. You say this, I to be remembered. Once there is a clan called what Heavenly Indoor, or a refining corpse sect. They cultivate the path of the main way to come is to absorb the gas and corpses. But who knows that they are lesser patriarch? Offended a big man of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. The result is that you just what happened? Inside the Heavenly Wind Building, the crowd was talking, and a man in the corner was talking about what he had seen and heard. Seeing that many people were looking at him, his vanity was extremely satisfied. Tell me what's wrong, the man hemmed and hawed. Had. The financial power of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion is too terrifying. The way they did it, it wasn't something like spending a large amount of spirit stones to hire someone to exterminate the sect, but rather, they directly monopolized all the corpses in Yinqi. For the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, they are not afraid of running out of business. In this world, apart from the Heavenly Yin sect, there are quite a lot of other forces that use Yinqi and corpses for their cultivation as well. In the end, this clan, because there was no source of cultivation, naturally disappeared into history, and in the end, it was useless for the patriarch to personally apologize at the door. That being said, in this world, there are two forces that should never be messed with. One is the Strange Gate Hall, and the other is the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Humph, Strange Hall. On the second floor, a young male snorted coldly. Third young master, angry? Sitting here was clearly the already healed third young master, who now traveled in secret and never dared to show his face, no longer having the arrogance of the old days. And across the way, it was the same soulful woman from before, dressed boldly and with a light smile on her face. Angry? How would I dare to be angry? Those old nobodies at home, scared by a fifth order formation master who didn't dare to give a fart, making me lose face in front of the world. Damn it! The third young master's eyes were filled with hatred. Third young master, that's a fifth order formation master. We're all scarce in the supreme sacred Tao Palace, so how can your Feng family compare? This is reality, you know? The woman said frivolously. Obviously the strength of his identity and background was amazing. Even if he said some provocative words, the third young master would not dare to say anything. Humph, that's easy for you to say, so what do you think I'll do? Damn, I hate it. Why my qualifications aren't strong and my background is only the Feng family of the district's Tianfeng City. The third young master clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Now he was no longer as flamboyant as he used to be, but more cynical. If his words were to be heard by ordinary people, they would only think that he was joking. The third young master of the Feng family is saying that he has a poor background, poor talent, but the woman across from him was comforted. The proposal I mentioned before, if you agree to it and succeed in advancing, I can reluctantly recommend you to become a follower of Lord Saint Sun. The third young master's eyes lit up. What? Really? You're talking about Lord Saint Sun, not those saints from the Holy Academy? The young girl's eyes went cold. What? You look down on the saints? The third young master said with a straight face. I wouldn't dare. Even if a saint wanted to destroy my Feng family it would be a snap of the fingers, because being able to become a follower of Lord Saint Sun is too much of an exaggeration. It made me a bit terrified, so I subconsciously said the wrong thing. Count on you to be sensible. In a month's time, I'll come back for you. The young girl smiled faintly. Where do you go during this time? The third young master pursued. Castle Hill City. The young girl murmured. You're going to the Jiang family, could it be? The third young master's face changed. His greatest fear had still come. The people of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace would also search for the world's wizards, and he was sent there by the Feng family, but in the end he couldn't stand his weakness in the Tao Palace, so he had no choice but to leave it. But if one is actively recruited over by the Tao Palace, such a person, even if they are not in the strongest category in the Dao Palace. But it was also definitely several notches stronger than him. But whenever it grew up, it was not something that the Feng family could mess with. The Jiang family has produced a few talents. I'm going to take a look. Do you have a problem with that too? Don't dare. The third young master bowed his head. It's good to know. Whatever grudges you guys have has nothing to do with me. Supreme Sacred Dao Palace. And I'm just finding out if there's any suitable followers for the Saint Sun. If they don't meet the standard, I won't look at them much. The young girl got up and tapped between her toes, and then her entire body turned into green smoke and disappeared into the Sky Wind building. The third young master looked up after a long time and, boom, the bang. He dropped his fist on the table. Damn it, assholes, one day, I will definitely trample you people under my feet, and make you feel what shame means. Assholes. Castle Peak City. The center of the city was not like Tianfeng City, which was a straight main road. Instead, Kongming employs a crossroads unique to his former life. In the center of the intersection, a sign building is erected. It was a ball, blue in color, with a pattern painted on it that regular people couldn't read. What this ball represented was also known only to Jiang Ming. He has not had a good time on this ball, but it is home, after all. And on the four sides of the intersection, 4 shopping streets were constructed, and 4 iconic lofts. There are all 6, 8, 10, and 12 floors respectively. Zhui asked for a 6-story attic to be the Mingzhu Divine Soldier Pavilion. Wang Xinlin also operated with her, intending to sell pills on the 3rd floor. As for the 1st and 2nd floors, it was the Jiang family that sold spirit medicine and herbs, as well as ferocious beasts. As for the other 3 buildings, among them, the Acacia sect originally wanted an 8-story attic, but Jiang Ming said that a whole building would cost 10,000 middle-grade spirit stones a month. This amount scared the Acacia sect, so they only rented the first 2 floors. The 3rd and 4th floors were rented over by the Celestial Green sect. As for the 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th floors, the price point is cheaper, and was rented by the Feng family to make a private room tavern for entertaining people. The 10-story building, on the other hand, was claimed by the wealthy and generous Chi Men Hall. The building wasn't for business, but rather the Strange Door Temple was planning to open a branch here, used to train formation masters. Jiang Ming also knew that this was the Chi Men Hall of Tianfeng City that had gone on hire for Wang Xinliang. As for the highest floor, the 12-story oversized penthouse, no one has stepped up to the plate yet today. Jiang Ming speculated this building as the king of the building, and the price is extremely high. There weren't too many forces out there for a while. Husband, that building you rent for 30,000 a month, isn't that a bit too expensive? Even the immortal sect can't afford it. Wang Xinlin's family was in business, and she couldn't understand Jiang Ming's path at all. Even his old man was puzzled, wondering if Jiang Ming didn't want to rent it. This building, naturally no one will rent it now, but when this side develops, there will be many powerful immortal sects that will beg me to rent it to them. Jiang Ming smiled confidently. He sat on a green hill and looked at the city of Castle Peak, which was 1,000 feet in height from him, sighing, when I first came to a thatched cottage, now there is already a city. Things are different. Chapter 174, Comparing Financial Strength with Us? News has come from Tianfeng City's side that the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion will be discounting and selling Earth-rank middle-grade feats on the same day as the opening of our Castle Peak City. So in that case, the opening of our Castle Peak City might fail. The eldest princess walked over with a letter. Oh, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion has begun to compete against our Jiang family's business? Jiang Ming frowned slightly. It would be a lie to say that this has no impact. After all, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion only had to make a move, and he, Jiang Ming, wanted to succeed in opening the city. All need to be paid for accordingly. The so-called business war is nothing more than a competition for substance. In the cultivation world, most people are keen on fighting, but often this kind of silent business war, but also can silently a power to the bottom of the cauldron. Disintegration and collapse. Husband, how do we do? He sold all the spirit medicine 70% off, plus the ground level of the middle grade auction. I'm afraid that the Great Zhou, Lin Lan, North Cold, the surrounding small countries, the major families, the immortal sect, the Jianghu large sects, the scattered cultivators, will go to the Tianfeng City, and our side of the opening, if there is nothing to come over. The first day of the turnover of the dismal up, the word of mouth if it's bad, the follow-up will only be a vicious circle. Wang Xinlin pinched his fingers with both hands, full of worry. You're right, these are all problems. Jiang Ming got up, raising his hand. He took out 2 feats, Kaiyuan Palm, Mixed Palm. If we want to talk about feats, we can definitely afford to play. If we want to talk about selling medicines at a discount, we can afford to play. Even if it's a 50% discount, I can afford to play. My profit is almost 90%. Then husband, let's just release the news. Cheaper spirit medicine, and better techniques. That way, All the cultivators around won't go to Tenfold City, and it's only a few days now. If we don't release the news earlier, some people will not be able to rush over. Rapunzel worried. Jiang Ming shook his head. You're wrong. Starting out cheap will only attract some people who are trying to be cheap, although the price can attract people for a while. In this world, no one can do a monopoly on one thing. Otherwise, it's time for you to die. Jiang Ming thought of the previous world, where certain big powers started sweeping away their rivals with low prices and finally formed a monopoly. Lawlessness. But here, no. If you monopolize the goods, then the other forces will use their martial arts aptitude to make you understand what happens to monopolies. Even the Celestial Treasure Pavilion wouldn't dare to monopolize a certain commodity. Jiang Ming saw that they were all a bit confused, so he continued to explain. Think about it. Although that Tianbao Pavilion disgusted me for a day, but the next day, after he resumed the original price, the people who were greedy for cheapness naturally left, and the ones who pay attention to the quality and the value of the goods will always look for a more suitable location. The Rapunzel roughly understood Jiang Ming's meaning. Then what husband means is that we don't do anything? Would that make the opening of Castle Peak City a bit too dismal? How can you do nothing? I'm not going to do it by reducing the profit on my merchandise and using another method. The prize system. Prize system? Several people wondered in unison. Right, recruiting guests is nothing but let the customers take advantage of the method is also discount, gift, or recharge rebate, and so on, but discount will reduce the majority of people's perception of the price of goods. Members, although it can be a quick return of funds, but there are many drawbacks, to give away the things instead of more suitable for us. Husband, after talking for half a day, it's that simple, Wang Xinlin muttered. She thought it was some very powerful method. Jiang Ming reached out and scratched Wang Xinliang's nose. Often the most simple way is the best means. Spread the news out. Anyone, in the Castle Peak City on the day of consumption full of 1,000, to send the second order elixir of a plant, full of 5,000 to send the 3,000 elixir of a plant. At the same time will be in the Mingzhu Divine Warrior Pavilion, will show a store to the treasure. The Earth Order weapon. Husband, why don't you use your feats? We have so many feats. Rapunzel took Jiang Ming by the arm, her large eyes almost plastered on his face. Gong method. This thing is the family's life fundamentals. If someone knows your Kaiyuan Pong, understand the Taiyin Divine Emperor scripture you cultivate against the enemy up or risky. Xian rank Gong method. Xian rank martial arts casually sell the ground rank or forget it, and the value of the ground rank weapon is the value of the Gong method is more than 3 times the value of the weapon, is enough to attract those high-end customers. The event of the opening of Castle Peak City was quickly passed on. Jiang Ming notified the Heavenly Green Sect, the Strange Sect Hall, the Acacia Sect, and even the Feng Clan. The speed at which these immortal sect-level forces spread news was very fast. Not 3 days. It basically spread throughout Tenfold City and even further. Those rival countries of the Great Zhou also caught wind of the situation. After disguising himself, he quietly entered the territory of Great Zhou. For a while, the news about Tianbao Pavilion and Castle Peak City discounting each other became the most focused news. The Tianqing sect was 300,000 miles away from Great Zhou. It's even more distant than the Acacia sect. It covers a huge area with 100 large mountains. The moment, inside the great hall of the Celestial Green sect, a handsome man stood in the center of the hall. This man had thick eyebrows, sharp eyes, and a powerful body. That Zhang clan said that there are earth-ranked weapons this time. So go take a look. The old man standing on the stage in the hall said. This person was none other than the Heavenly Green Sect's master, Taoist named Cheng Yuanzi. Yes, master, but Tenfold City, the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion also has earth-ranked feats. Not going to take a look? Li Feng arched his hand and inquired. Why don't you want it? That thing? I let Venerable Tian Yuan go and look at it. The earth-rank middle-grade technique is still very valuable. Those 70% off spirit medicines. We need to grab more of them as well. Of course, Castle Peak City's activities are also very big. Buy 1,000 spirit stones to get a free second-rank spirit medicine plus earth-rank weapons. We need to grab them on both sides. Master is wise. Li Feng shouted. Alright. After you take the weapon this time and return to the Supreme Sacred Dao Palace, are you sure you can become a saint? At the mention of the word saint, Li Feng's face collapsed. Master, the Supreme Sacred Dao Palace recruits thousands of disciples every year. None of them are heavenly prides from all over the world. But nowadays there are only less than 100 who can become saints. And I'm ranked in the entire Supreme Sacred Dao Palace. The top 1,000 haven't yet been able to enter. So how can I be virtuous and how can I be capable of that? Qing Yuanzi waved his hand. Alright. Incompetence is incompetence. What's the point of talking about so much data? Take the weapon. Get the hell out of here and go back to cultivate properly. I'm not asking you to become a saint. As for what saint's son, don't even think about it. A saint will do. Li Feng's face twitched. Do you know how hard it is to become a saint? It's even harder than becoming the Tianqing sect master. When he didn't dare say anything, or he would have been scolded again, he bowed his head and withdrew to the larger point. After seeing him walk away, Qing Yuanzi muttered, "Hey, how did this Jiang family come up? I thought there was just one Wang Xinliang. I didn't expect this look. Each is talented, especially this Jiang Ming. I can't even see through it." Hiss. Great Zhou Palace. Above the court, Prime Minister Yuan smiled a little wider than his previous face. Everything was because his son and Jiang Ming had a good relationship, and then there was the fact that his daughter was also a first-order array master now. Even the Emperor of Great Zhou was courteous to him. "Aiqing, are we still going to this heavenly wind city?" The Great Zhou Emperor was worried that the financial resources would not be enough to support the purchase of elixirs on both sides. Prime Minister Yuan said with a straight face, "Your Majesty, there's nothing to go to. We'll just develop well in Castle Peak City. We've been favored by the eldest princess. In the center of Castle Peak City, it's already a blessing that we've been given a 2-story pavilion." "Okay, then do as you say dash. Holy City." The great man in the cultivation chamber on the top floor of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion passed out instructions after the Zhang clan released the event. "Pass it on. Tianfeng City Tianbao Pavilion, all the spiritual pills of the day. 60% off. The lower grade of the earth rank. Weapons we also have. The big deal is to send one over from the Holy City. Humph. And my Tianbao Pavilion compared to the financial strength. You Zhang family and 100 times richer. Do not want to compare with us." Chapter 175. I'm not playing anymore. There are 5 days left until the opening of Castle Peak City. Ten Boom Pavilion continues to drop hard news. This completely stirred up the entire cultivation world, not to mention the Immortal Sect, even the Taiyi Sect, Yunshui Sect, and Lihua Sect, which were very far away, all heard about it and came to take advantage of it. For a while, cultivators from all over the world were rushing towards Tianfeng City. This Heavenly Treasure Pavilion is sick? Jiang Ming cursed. This price, not to mention the loss, if the data sell more, then the loss of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Not at all a moment can be recovered. What I'm thinking about now is whether the entire Heavenly Treasure Pavilion is deliberately working against me, or whether it's one somewhat powerful person in the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion working against me. Just as Jiang Ming was pondering a countermeasure, an acquaintance came to the door. It was Steward Wang. He was so careful on this visit that he even buried his appearance. "Steward Wang, why do you look like a thief?" Jiang Ming couldn't help but snicker when he saw Steward Wang's appearance. "Elder brother Jiang, you're still talking about these sarcasm. Our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion and your Jiang family are now in a commercial war. How dare I come over here in a proper manner? Aren't you joking?" Steward Wang removed his own heavy hat and took off his big cloak, revealing his original fat face. I've lost a bit of weight this time over than last time, and apparently lost a bit of weight due to heartburn when I got back." "Steward Wang, what's so important about coming over this time?" Jiang Ming teased. "Elder brother Jiang, let's be honest. The Heavenly Treasure Pavilion's decision on you has nothing to do with me. It's not for me to decide. The only one who can make the decision is that Cabinet Lord of the Holy City." "Lord Cabinet?" "Yes, it's the Cabinet Lords. They are the real figures of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. We people are at most idlers. If we use the words of the sect, we are registered disciples. They are the official disciples." Jiang Ming suddenly realized, signaling the maidservants to serve tea. Then he asked, "How many cabinets are there in the Holy City?" "1. Steward Wang extended a finger. "He's also the only cabinet I know of. The Heavenly Treasure Pavilion is very mysterious. In the entire cultivation world, no one knows where his headquarters is either. Some say it's in the center of the country, but this time, I'm not here to talk about that." Steward Wang drew a turn and said in a deep voice, "Elder brother Jiang, although I'm not a member of the cabinet, I also know that the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion won't allow a person who has made the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion lose too much money to continue to stay in the cabinet. The one from the Sacred City has lost his mind, and the current 60% discount behavior has already exceeded the bottom line of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, and if he doesn't have a way to recoup the losses in the follow-up, I'm afraid that, only that he will be driven away." Steward Wang nodded. "You're telling me this? You want to be a cabinet member too?" Jiang Ming could see the fat man's mind. No wonder he sneaked over. What a good judge of character. Steward Wang squeezed out a smile. "I'm not interested in you being a cabinet. I just want to know what's in it for me." Jiang Ming wasn't actually worried about the sanctions of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. These activity discounts can only be momentary, at most 1 or 2 days. If the Tianbao Pavilion keeps discounting, the people in the cultivation world will only scold him. After all, spiritual medicines, spiritual herbs, and elixirs, these were not something that could be mass-produced just because they wanted to. The price and value were equal. Unlike some of the mortal goods in Jiang Ming's previous life, the value is much lower than the price, which is why there are many price war monopolies. Therefore, Jiang Ming didn't care even if Castle Peak City opened and the doors were open and no one asked for it, as long as the stuff is here. After 10 years, 100 years of business, sooner or later it's going to be up. After all, he is truly a no-cost operation. Benefits? The benefit is that you're not going to be screwed over by the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion when you open Castle Peak City. That's still not important? Steward Wang marveled. Alright, I know what you're thinking. Are you trying to get me to keep lowering the prices too? I won't be lowering the price. Whichever cabinet wants to make it. I'm not playing. Just open. He can lower the price any way he wants. I'll keep the original offer. Jiang Ming spread his hands. It means that the pendulum has swung straight for the fences. Swing value plus 10. Swing value plus 10. Steward Wang was helpless when he left, and his passion was splashed with cold water. Jiang Ming stood at the top of the mountain and looked at the departing Steward Wang and let out a light laugh. Fat fox. Zhu Yi builds the Cold Star Sword, an intermediate weapon of the Xian class. Return 27 times. Get a middle grade weapon. The Phoenix Violin. Piano? Medium grade? When Jiang Ming thought about it, no one in the family seemed to be suitable for this weapon, right? Jiang Ming successively came to the residences of the women and asked if there were any that could be used. The women all liked it, but it wasn't smooth, much less operable. Even Yen Ruyu, who had a little bit of phoenix blood, could only stare dryly because she was not able to understand the music. Forget it, this Qin just happens to be used as the Divine Soldier Pavilion's town artifact. The sounding phoenix zither was red in color. The zither board seemed to be made from some kind of beast bone, and there were 16 strings, thin and elastic, but there was also the pressure of some kind of high-end ferocious beast on it. Jiang Ming had tried plucking the strings of the zither, and since he couldn't resonate, it also made it difficult for him to manipulate it, and it took him a long time to suppress the pressure. Wang Xinlin has made a second-order elixir, the Heavenly Dragon Pill. Return 15 times. Get the third-ranked elixir Divine Embracement Dan, Divine Embodiment Pill, a top-ranking third-order pill that enhances the power of the Divine Soul, scarce and difficult to refine, requiring the configuration of very scarce refining materials, expensive, comparable to ordinary fourth-order pills. This is not bad. Let Wang Xin Lymph refine more of it in the future. Jiang Ming realized that Wang Xinliang's speed of refining second-order elixirs was already very fast. If she were to go for a rating now, she would be completely rated as a second-order alchemist. If this was known by outsiders, not to mention the Qi Men Hall, some of the old men in the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace would be excited to come out and recruit her. There were still too few alchemists and array talents that were all this strong. Outside, many people are waiting for Castle Peak City to reply. Thought Jiang Ming would run a higher campaign because of another price cut from Tianbeige. I ended up waiting 2 days with no news. It looks like the strength of the Jiang family is here. Are you not talking nonsense? That immortal sect can afford this kind of favor from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, and this Jiang family is just where it's at. Able to wrestle with the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion? That's true. It looks like we'll go directly to Tianfeng City to line up in 4 days. For a while there were many fewer people in the Great Zhou territory. The cultivators who were previously at the foot of the Green Mountain, waiting for the right moment, had also left quite a few times in the past few days. All of this Jiang Ming saw in his eyes, but his mind was already sparse. Building a city, for him, was to develop the family, and today's Jiang family only had to support 100 or so people. The maintenance of the city didn't need to be paid for by the Jiang family, so Jiang Ming swung for the fences and didn't compete. It looks like a sign of lack of strength to outsiders, but he didn't matter. Holy City, the top floor of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Cabinet Minister Wang Ganju revealed a triumphant smile after learning that Castle Peak City had made no moves. Jiang clan, fight me and I'll see how you open up Castle Peak City. Time is fast. 4 days went by in a flash. Castle Peak City celebrated its first day of business. Qingshan City gongs and drums, but not very lively. Come are mostly Great Zhou courtiers. Zhang Haiyuan Prime Minister has brought a large group of people to come. Chapter 176, Big Surprise. As for the Feng family, the Acacia sect, and the Tianqing sect, these have industries in Castle Peak City. Naturally, they have all arranged for people of relative status to come. However, the spirit stones that these people brought with them were definitely not as much as those who were traveling to Tianfeng City. In the center of Castle Peak City, a huge high platform was erected. A bustling crowd stood around the high platform, the top floor of the Divine Soldier Pavilion attic. Wang Xilin looked at the crowd below and worriedly said, "Husband, besides the people from the 2 great immortal sects other than the immortal sect who came slightly weaker than the immortal sect, but also the wind and fire great havoc and other mighty forces, they all went to Tianfeng City, such as the Bihai Gang, the Ride the Wind Valley, the Chen clan, the Lin clan and so on. They all ran out. This is something that cannot be helped. The Acacia sect Tianqing sect, Feng family they have the strength on both sides can arrange to come to buy, but these forces would have been limited funds, it is impossible to reign, and now the Tianbao Pavilion big price reduction. I'm afraid that site has been robbed already hot and heavy. However, it is these middle forces that are the main consumers. Compared to the coldness of Castle Peak City, Tianfeng City had indeed been crowded with people. Some people haven't even squeezed into town yet. Steward Wan was so busy that he was sweating, looking at the super cheap elixir pills. He had sold all his old money and hoarded a lot of them, intending to wait for the wind to pass for a secondary sale. Jiang Ming got up. Let's go. Opening the city is just the beginning. It doesn't matter if it's on fire or not. Wait for 10 years. Maybe it doesn't take 10 years. 5 years or so, Tianbao Pavilion will beg to move into Castle Peak City. Around the high platform in the center of Castle Peak City, Li Feng of the Heavenly Green Sect, and a Wind and Fire Great Havoc Elder of the Heavenly Green Sect were sitting at the bottom. Both had different demeanors. Li Feng looked around curiously and exclaimed, "The planning of this Castle Peak City is peculiar. It's a bit more reasonable and tidy than any city I've seen in the past, especially the fact that there are quite a few garbage storage spots placed along the roads. It's very novel." The old man beside him opened one eye and laughed after hearing the words. "Young patriarch, this is all a small way, whether a place is good or not, or you have to use the resources to say, this Castle Peak City looks like it is going to be messed up by the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. This time the clan rented it for 10 years. It all feels like it is a bit of a loss." Li Feng felt that this was not true when he heard this. He was still very optimistic about Castle Peak City. Just as he turned around, he saw a familiar face. It was a marvelous young girl, and seeing this person, Li Feng no longer had the casual intentions he had before. The demeanor became tense. Secretly, why is she here? At once he ceased speaking, and deliberately turned his head for fear of being recognized. But on second thought, how could a small person like himself be recognized by such a windbag? Just then, Jiang Ming walked out with Wang Xinliang as well as the eldest princess. Everyone else was busy. Zhu Yi was busy refining the spirit marrow. The current Zhu Yi already had the cultivation of the Yuan Gang realm. However, there are still a large amount of spirit marrow that has not been refined, and for the time being, he does not intend to refine the weapon to cultivate wholeheartedly. As always, Yan Ruyu did not like to participate in such crowded occasions. Jiang Ming stood on the stage and looked around. There were several that he couldn't see through. The Feng family, the Acacia sect, and the Tianqing sect had all arranged for cultivators beyond the Jindan realm to come over. It also shows how much he is valued. Jiang Ming nodded and spoke. "Fellow Taoists, it's an honor for me, Jiang, to come over. I'll make it short and sweet. This time when my Castle Peak City opens its doors, there are mainly the following activities." There were not many people on stage, but there were tens of thousands. Hearing Jiang Ming's words, they all responded one by one as well. Jiang Ming continued, "The previously stated opening event, buy 1,000 and get a free spirit medicine, still remains, and the earth-ranked weapon, which is a middle-ranked earth-ranked weapon. I'll show you all later." There's really an earth-ranked weapon? I thought it was a joke. And it's not low. It's the middle grade of the Earth Order. It's a grade higher than the lower grade of the Earth Order that the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion took out. In addition to having spirituality, the middle grade of the Earth rank, but also the possibility of giving birth to an autonomous consciousness. This is not something that can be compared to the lower grade of the Earth rank weapons. The Jiang family master has some skills. The elder of the Acacia sect touched his beard and sighed. Could it be which gang elder sent them? Look at the woman beside Jiang Ming. She's the disciple of which gang elder? In short, there were many speculative voices below, but the news of the Earth rank middle grade armament made all these people feel that they hadn't come in vain. Jiang Ming continued. In addition to this, all merchants who stay in my Castle Peak City can act as agents for my Jiang family's spiritual medicines, herbs, and ferocious beasts. However, these products may not be sold in Castle Peak City, and the specific split, we will all come down to talk about it. Family Master Jiang, spiritual medicines and herbs. These are immortal sect has its own output. There's nothing appealing about this activity of yours, the Tianqing sect's elder said doubtfully. He wasn't asking maliciously. Speaking the truth, that immortal sect didn't have a spiritual field area to grow spiritual herbs and medicines. This activity as expressed by Kong Ming is completely unattractive. Jiang Ming didn't explain much, but instead waved his hand. Yang Kai and more than a dozen other Yang clan generals pushed in a large cart of spiritual medicines and herbs. These herbs are ripe. A medicinal scent spread out. At the same time there was an increase in spiritual energy all around, which was refreshing. Everyone, please come up and take a closer look. These spirit herbs and medicines are all the types that my Jiang family can mass produce at this stage. There are 53 of the first order, 35 of the second order, a total of 13 of the third order, and even 3 of the fourth order. What? Fourth order too? It can be produced even at the fourth rank? You're not kidding. Fourth order elixirs are precious elixirs to most of the great powers of wind and fire, and heaven and earth dharma, and they can be produced here? The three wind and fire great tribulation powers present immediately rushed onto the high platform. A few of them were majestic, and this caused many people present to gasp in shock. Surprisingly, it's an old monster of the wind and fire cataclysm. This Jiang clan really has enough face. Prime Minister Yuan, who came over on behalf of the great Zhou imperial family, didn't say anything throughout the whole process, and looked at the three wind and fire great powers who had arrived, and sighed darkly. Your Majesty, I advised you to come over in person, but you just didn't want to. Look, it's great. People from the wind and fire great powers have come. You don't want to come. However, Jiang Ming didn't pay any attention to this at all. In addition to the three wind and fire great powers on the stage, many other Jindan great powers that Jiang Ming did not recognize also stood up. Li Feng originally wanted to go up, but after seeing that wonderful young lady walk up to the stage, he subconsciously shrunk his neck and obediently retreated again. Suddenly, that elder from the Acacia sect exclaimed, "This is a fourth order spirit herb, sword star grass. How much of it can you produce in a year?" Jiang family master, depends on how much you want. Just don't exceed 3,000 kilograms. Jiang Ming smiled faintly. 3,000 pounds. Really so many? Everyone else revealed a look of surprise. This was a fourth-ranked sword star grass, not some third-ranked or second-ranked spirit herb pill. 3,000 a year. I'll take all of it. Jiang family master, I can prepay the spirit stones. Name your price. The Acacia sect elder had sharp eyes, and he also realized that the quality of these sword star grasses was very good, much better than any of the ones they usually acquired. Your Acacia sect needs so much sword star grass. It seems to have opened up the market in the central state quite a bit. The celestial green sect intended to test the waters. I won't bother you guys with that. The Acacia sect elder laughed. They had indeed contacted a large sect in the central state, and the other party was a mysterious sword sect that needed a large amount of sword star grass, and the purchase price was much higher than in the south. If Jiang Ming gave 3,000 kilograms per year, this was definitely a huge profit. It was much more important than those 60% discounted elixirs from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, and the Harmonious Sect elder who realized that he didn't have enough money with him immediately sent an emergency transmission to the elder in Tianfeng City. Elder Wang, come to Castle Peak City quickly. I don't have many spirit stones. There's a major discovery here. The Jiang family can provide a large amount of sword star grass. Don't buy those 60% discounted spirit medicines from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion. Come here quickly. Family Master Jiang. Then how much of this fourth-rank spirit fruit, the dragon beard vermilion fruit, can you sell in a year? That old man from the Heavenly Green sect asked cautiously with a look on his face that caused him to be expecting Jiang Ming to pop a number that would surprise him. Chapter 177, Terrorizing Jilinger. Jiang Ming said indifferently, 2,000 pounds. In fact, his production was much more than that, for fear of arousing suspicion by storming too much. Nowadays this amount sounds amazing though, but it wouldn't attract people he couldn't afford to mess with, such as the existence of the everlasting mysterious realm. 2,000 pounds? The Tianqing sect old man was very excited and immediately went down to the stage to grab Li Feng. This vermilion fruit, we have to get it. Don't buy your earth-ranked weapon yet. No, I have to have this qin. I have great use for it. Li Feng thought of a woman within the Dao Palace that he had desired for a long time. The other party had not been able to find a suitable weapon. She just happened to be proficient in music. This qin was bound to be suitable for her. Do you know how important 2,000 pounds of dragon beard vermilion fruit is? The old man spoke sharply. People's Acacia sect have notified Tianfeng City's people to come over. We can also those first and second order elixirs, what's there to grab? And it's still an earth order lower grade weapon. Here on the Feng family Acacia sect two rivals to grab the earth order middle grade weapon. This benefit, I'm not going to give it up. Li Feng's heart was clear. You're right. I'll inform Elder Dust right away. However, if he knew that Li Feng was being elixbittle he would only have a different attitude. There was also the fourth order spirit herb Dragonlance, which was a very rare spirit herb with very harsh growing conditions. It cannot be cultivated artificially, but can only rely on the ingenious work of heaven and earth. This Dragonlance grass can also be mass-produced? Elder Feng asked uncertainly. It was the others who also looked sideways at Jiang Ming. Jiang Ming smiled faintly. Mass production is not so much. We can provide 500 pounds per year. 500 pounds is also amazing. This grass can be refined into a fourth order spirit Dao dragon marked pill, which is very useful for heaven and earth dharma profound powers to enhance their cultivation, and the effect is 3 times as effective as the fourth order pill spirit dharma pill. In addition to that, there are many other wonderful uses. Family Elder Feng revealed a look of amazement. 500 pounds was already huge for such a rare herb. In fact, Jiang Ming did not dare to say more. He can be 10,000 pounds a year. When the Feng parent elder was pondering how much he wanted, A young girl walked over, revealing a sweet smile. This dragon-marked grass. I'll take all of it. 500 pounds per year. Together, I'll give you 180,000 mid-grade spirit stones, or you can use 1,018 top-grade spirit stones. I'll take it every year. No time limit. The hair on the back of the young girl's head was coiled up high in a ponytail, and then later cascaded down again, all in a simple white shirt that was as vibrant as it could be. However, people didn't underestimate her because she looked young, but at this moment, when they heard that she wanted to bag 500 pounds of dragon grass, they couldn't help but feel that she was a bit of a lion. You want all 500 pounds? Your Excellency is not afraid of wasting it? The dragon-marked grass is expensive and scarce. It's because after he matures, he must be used within a month or he will lose his medicinal properties. And how many people can refine dragon-marked pills? 500 pounds. Our Feng family can't even eat it. Feng family patriarch coldly snorted. If your Feng family can't do it, that's because your Feng family is weak. It doesn't mean I'm weak. The young girl's eyes glanced at the Feng family patriarch with contempt. You, wanton. When has the Feng family elder ever been looked down upon by a little girl? Immediately, there was some anger, and a pressure of the wind and fire great tribulation swept over, intending to teach the young girl a lesson and make her eat her words. Looking for death. The young girl's eyes flashed with essence. Her pretty face made up for it with frost, and that Feng parent elder was blasted by an invisible force and flew backward, just sticking to the heads of the crowd under the stage and not hitting anyone, and the strength was well grasped, flying thousands of feet away without collapsing the building. After this strike, everyone's eyes changed as they looked at the young girl. Only Li Feng shook his head repeatedly, and in his heart he sarcastically said, "Are all of this Feng family retarded? This woman even dares to provoke. Who is she?" That Feng family elder is an expert of the wind and fire great havoc, and she was knocked away by a single glare? This is the first time I've seen such a young powerhouse. What kind of place can produce such a genius? The several Jindan powerhouses that were originally close to the young girl also backed up and greeted them with an arch. It was Jiang Ming who was shocked by this scene. The young girl was breathless in his eyes, and looked as gentle as a neighborhood girl, but a hair hard to start too. Live 1,000 years of old monsters or I stare by her fly. I'm satisfied with your price. I can give it to you. Jiang Ming revealed a smiling face. Happy cooperation. I have something else for you when you're done. My name is Ji Linger, from the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. Ji Linger smiled brightly, her legs bouncing straight. A high disciple of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. No wonder. The surrounding area followed suit at the same time. After Ji Linger directly bought the 3 pounds of dragon pattern grass on the stage, she got off the stage alone and sat on a chair leisurely tilting her head, not knowing what she was thinking. And the people on stage began to start fighting over the other products. 4th-ranked spirit pills, only the immortal sect could afford them. However, the 3rd-order spirit medicine is geared towards a wider range, and forces of the next level than the immortal sect can afford it. Elder Wang, quickly return to Castle Peak City. Don't stay in Tianfeng City. The 3rd-order spirit medicine, Snow Ganoderma, can be supplied here at 50,000 pounds per year. Our Lianfeng sect's best at refining FA spirit pills, and now the lack of production is due to the urgent shortage of Snow Ganoderma. This business must be signed with the Jiang family. Father, return quickly. There's a large number of green birds for sale here. Our family needs to use the beast den of the green birds to refine the 3rd-order elixir, the heavenly green elixir every year. If this business comes to fruition, we won't have to go outside to capture them. Once the money is enough, they immediately cannot wait to find Jiang Ming to sign the agreement. If you don't have enough money, frantically send a message to your fellow disciples. Tianfeng City, as hot as it gets. There were even some clashes that broke out because there were too many people and it was too crowded. The inside of the Tianbao Pavilion had long been packed to the rafters. 1st-order spirit medicine spirit void grass. I want 100,000 pounds. Quick, I'll give spirit stones, top-grade spirit stones to pay. 2nd-order spirit fruit, fire peach fruit. I want 50,000 pounds. Wang steward, hurry up. All the damn don't rob. I'm the Snow Spirit Gang. Whoever robbed the old man killed who. All take it easy. Line up. One by one. One by one. The number of goods is limited. Don't panic. Steward Wang also had his hands full, and all went down personally. Secretly, this auction has not yet begun. Are already out of control. A moment after the auction began. I do not know to become what kind of. Next, the Acacia sect elder walked up excitedly as he directly threw 5 storage bags onto the table. This, and this. He pointed out a total of 8 medium spirit herbs, 100,000 pounds each. I'm packing. Senior, this 2nd-order illusion fruit 100,000 pounds. You all take away, the people behind you will be gone. Steward Wang reminded. None of my business. Humph. The Acacia sect elder snorted coldly. Okay, I'll do it for you. Right at this moment, the Acacia sect elder picked up a transmission stone and slowly listened to the transmission inside. As he listened, his expression became serious plus surprised. What? Sword star grass? A yearly supply of 3,000 pounds? This is a 4th rank spirit herb? Steward Wang, I don't want any of the stuff. Leave it for the people in the back. I'm in a hurry. Said immediately took away all the storage rings on the table and left the heavenly treasure pavilion without looking back, leaving a bunch of puzzled people behind. Chapter 178 Ice Crystal Marrow. What happened to him? I can't believe you don't even want the 60% discount benefit? Maybe there's something important. It seems like the Acacia sect hasn't been peaceful lately. The patriarch apologized to the Jiang family, and now I don't know what's going on. But just at this time, the elders of the Heavenly Green sect also left in a hurry after receiving the summons. Isn't this elder dust of the Tianqing sect? Something happened to his Tianqing sect too? No, look, the one from the Refined Peak sect is gone too. It seems like the barbarian family ran away as well. Didn't they come to purchase spirit fruits to feed the ferocious beasts? Why are they in such a hurry as well? Something's not right. I saw quite a few forces sneak away after getting the news. Many people had noticed the anomaly, and those who had left were not generalized. None of the forces behind them would be weak. At least all of them had wind and fire great ancestors. These people were the mainstay of today's spending. But now, one by one, they're all leaving, not even buying the 60% off merchandise. Even if the Immortal Sect's people have left, how come this Refined Peak sect and the Red Moon sect and the Green Dragon Society and all these forces have run away? Suddenly, a person who had learned the news yelled out, "It's the big news coming from the other side of Castle Peak City. The Castle Peak Jiang family can supply large quantities of third-order spirit medicinal herbs and grasses every year. Even the rumored Dragon March grass and Sword Star grass, which is a 4th-order spirit medicinal herbs and grasses. I also received the news. Third-order spirit medicine are able to supply more than tens of thousands of pounds per year. 4th-order spirit grass spirit medicine, there are also thousands of pounds. If you didn't snatch the list, in the future, it will be snatched by someone else. Steward Wang, along with the fact that your 60% discounted spirit grass is very cheap, but considering the long term, I can only take my leave. Steward Wang, let's do it this way. I don't want the 50,000 pounds. I'll just take a 10,000 pounds and leave a bit of spirit stones to go to Castle Peak City. Well. Steward Wang looked confused, numbly trading with these people. Through their words, he quickly learned what was going on. Mass-producing third-order elixirs, tens of thousands per year, and there are many more that can't be grown by hand. Is this Jiang Ming finding a medicinal garden from the ancient times? Watching the big guys leaving, Steward Wang had a premonition that today's Tianbao Pavilion discount event might start badly. After these mainstays left, all that remained were ordinary practitioners with very low spending power. Although these people were many, numbering in the hundreds of thousands, their spending power were less than a tenth of the hundreds who had left. 99% of the wealth, so to speak, is in the hands of those who left. Sure enough, when all these middle top forces are gone, walked a man whose cultivation was only at the Yuan Gang realm. He was full of smiles. He didn't expect to be able to grab the goods today. Give me 9 spirit star grasses. No 20. The Hanyu shouted with a clench of his teeth. It's over. How long is this going to be sold? Steward Wang slapped his head, but in his heart, he was already trying to figure out how to write a report to report today's events. Although I don't know if it's Jiang Ming or not, if it's intentional, but this one's, it might be possible to get the Holy City's cabinet ousted. Tianbao Pavilion's spiritual herb pill sale hadn't ended yet, and because there wasn't enough time, they could only go ahead and organize an auction. Because most of the wealthy owners were gone this time, many products that could have fetched high prices were picked up at below market prices, and that earth-ranked lower-grade weapon, because there was no Tianqing sect, Heping sect, and even the far-away Leihua sect, Tai sect's disciples, all because they heard the news and left Tianfeng City to fly to Castle Peak City, resulting in the end, this earth-ranked lower-grade weapon was taken away by the Feng family at a very low price. It made the Feng family laugh, but they only laughed for a while, and when they learned that they had offended Ji Linger in Castle Peak City, they had another bout of bitter faces and kept making amends. The opening period of Castle Peak City was quiet at first. It became more and more lively in the evening, for there were several wind and fire great powers descending from the sky. On the high platform, Jiang Ming finished trading with the last person for the third-order spirit medicine, with the fourth-order spirit fruits 100-year supply plan. This person had red hair and a red beard, and was an elder of the leaving fire sect. Fellow Daoist Jiang, it's a good thing that someone informed me this time, otherwise I wouldn't have known that you still have such a rare spirit medicine as 7 stargrass here. Even though it's only 1,000 pounds a year, it's still rare and precious. Fellow Daoist Red Flame, your departing flame sect is nearly 500,000 miles away from Great Zhou. It's a long way to travel. so it's an honor to be my guest in my castle Peak City. Jiang Ming's attitude was also humble. Ha ha, fellow Taoist Jiang is too kind. Taoist Red Flame stroked his beard. He was very happy about this signed contract. It could make the leaving fire sect move up a small notch in 100 years. When the last person had finished signing, Jiang Ming looked at the already dim sky. Speaking aloud, he said, "Gentlemen, my Jiang family has nothing to auction. This one divine artifact of the Divine Warrior Pavilion, the Sounding Wind Harp, is the middle grade of the Earth Order. If any of you can bid, and I'm satisfied with the person who does so, please take it away. There's no such thing as a low price." Jiang Ming waved his hand, and the 2-meter-long song organ appeared on the elevated platform, though it lay there quietly. However, the invisible might emanating from it allowed anyone above Jindan to feel a wave of pressure. This chain was definitely forged from the bones of some divine beast bloodline, and the craftsmanship of the person who refined the weapon is so high that there isn't a single flaw in the entire weapon. Although it is a middle grade of the earth rank, I feel that instead the material of the chain limits the refiner's standard. If it were in a better material, it might be able to reach the top grade of the earth rank. Ji Linger originally had little interest, but her eyes lit up when she saw this zither. Good chain, enough for me to use for more than 50 years. This chain is just enough to perform my 10,000 demons ambush song. If I have this chain, my ranking in the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace might enter the top 50. Thinking of this, Ji Linger decisively got up. Jiang family master, I'll take this chain, 1,000 top grade spirit stones. What do you think? Jiang Ming nodded. I'm moved by the girl's price, but we still need to give others some chances. Don't you think so? Good, I'll wait. I'm determined to get this song Phoenix Zither. Ji Linger sat down, crossing her legs in a carefree manner. 1,000 top-grade spirit stones was equivalent to 100,000 middle-grade spirit stones, which was already considered high-grade. Buying weapons is not like buying spirit herbs and medicines. Wholesale spirit herbs and medicines, which are all used by a clan, whereas weapons are for personal use, the financial resources allocated are naturally different. 100,000 medium-grade spirit stones was not small for any power. As soon as Li Feng thought that he also needed this zither, he gritted his teeth. I'll offer 12,000. Ji Linger glanced at him and found that she didn't recognize him, so she didn't look at him much. Jiang family master, I don't have any spirit stones. Can I exchange the cold crystal pith with you? The Tai Sex elder said. How many seniors? Roughly, more than 300 pounds. What do you think? The Tai Sex old man smiled faintly, very confidently. 300 pounds? Those who knew the market looked at him in surprise. Ji Linger was also all slightly shocked. Fellow Daoist, 300 pounds of cold ice crystal marrow is enough to refine 2 earth-ranked divine warriors. Are you really exchanging it for something so valuable? Chapter 179, 9-Colored Jade Dew. Of course I know that, but good materials also need good craftsmen to build them, and a middle-grade earth-ranked weapon is not something that an ordinary person can build. The Tai Sex old man obviously thought that the Zhang clan had a mysterious artificer master who could build earth-rank middle-grade weapons. Ji Linger turned back to look at the high platform above, suspended in mid-air sounding Phoenix Zither, silent for half a second, did not say anything, obviously thinking about whether or not to raise the price, because the Tai Sex elders were obviously overpaying. If they were to increase it further, it would be more than worth it. Little girl, there are plenty of opportunities. You're a high disciple of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. It won't be difficult for you to obtain a mid-earth rank weapon in the future. Old senior, the opportunity is in abundance. The middle-grade earth rank weapon is not rotten. Even within the Tao Palace again, it's not that easy to get a smooth weapon. This chain is very suitable for me. Ji Linger frowned, seemingly making some sort of decision. He blurted out, this chain, I must get my hands on it, and if fellow Taoist Jiang is willing, I'm willing to exchange it with a 9-colored jade dew flower. 9-colored jade dew flower. Jiang Ming hadn't even heard of it, and some of the Jindan powers on the stage hadn't heard much about it. Only some knowledgeable people in the immortal sect are occasionally informed. That Tai Sex elder revealed a stunned expression. This fairy, the 9-colored jade dew flower, is an elixir that lies between the 5th and 6th ranks, as its medicinal properties come and go, but it is undeniable that the value of this item is definitely far beyond that of a middle-ranked earth-ranked weapon. Oh my god, this is a 6th-rank spirit medicine? What a joke! A 5th-order elixir is enough to attract a heaven-defying powerhouse to make a move to snatch it. So wouldn't the 6th order be targeted by the legendary quests of the secret realm of eternal life? The Tai Sex seniors also said that not all of them are of the 6th order. The medicinal properties of this medicine are not very fixed, so it has been hovering between the 5th and 6th order. And is there any way to determine that? The Tai Sect elder shook his head. No, so buying this medicine can also be said to be a kind of gamble. If it has the medicinal properties of a 6th-order medicine, you'll make a blood profit, and if it doesn't, you'll make a blood loss. So the market price of this medicine is also more expensive than a 5th-order spirit medicine. cheaper than a 6th order. Fellow Daoist Jiang, can you be satisfied? Ji Linger was holding the jade box in her hands, and there was a dense flow of immortal mist on it, which was very mysterious. Satisfied, naturally satisfied. I don't think everyone will offer better treasures in exchange. Then this song Phoenix Zither will be given to Fairy Ji. Jiang Ming was overjoyed. To others, it was a gamble. To him, it was a 6th order spirit pill, and after a little green bottle, it can be propagated and cultivated in a big way. Taking out a plant to sell from time to time in the future would be enough to make Castle Peak City explode, and it also carries some gambling implications. If you take more out for yourself, it might be possible to attract the great powers of the eternal life mystic realm. The songbird violin just changed hands. The opening day of Castle Peak City was a little bit of a sensation. Many others on the roadside with pity when they learned that the opening of Castle Peak City was over. But the city of Castle Peak put out another message. Those who want to continuously order spiritual medicines can continue to come over to discuss in detail, and in the future, the Jiang family's production will continue to grow. This news gave a lot more hope to those forces that hadn't ordered the elixir. Castle Peak City has become extremely lively in less than a week. The cultivators on the streets were still not weak in terms of cultivation strength. There were even occasional Jindan cultivators stopping by the tavern inn. There were also people who saw the transcendent existence of the wind and fire great tribulation sweeping through the sky and flying towards the Green Mountain Jiang clan at the top of the mountain. This kind of powerhouse was here to talk about big business at first glance, directly buttressing the Jiang family. As time passes, just 7 days, Castle Peak City and Tianfeng City were already two sights. From the initial heat, Tianfeng City returned to its usual calm on the 2nd day. There were even a few less people in the city. By the 7th day, the sales of Tian Baogo were at one point at an all-time low. Add in the loss from doing the event that day, and it's a straight-up loss of numbness. Steward Wang directly consumed 3 days and 3 nights to write a 100,000 word plea complaining about the holy city's cabinet's willfulness, which led to Tianbao Pavilion's huge losses. This time I see you still do not come down. This 7 days, our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion loss of at least more than 3 million. And this incident, our Heavenly Treasure Pavilion in the future may be hundreds of years. 1,000 years of sales will be reduced by half. Holy City. Wang Ganju looked at Tianfeng City's report, his expression full of incomprehension and disbelief. How is it possible? Consistently tens of thousands of pounds of 3rd order spirit medicines, and 4th order spirit medicines every year. They're just small clans in a barren land. You think you're a holy land. Wang Ganju thought that this Jiang family was exaggerating. Maybe they had gotten a treasure article to fool people. But this time, Tianbage suffered a great loss is real. And business is getting better in Castle Peak City now. Many of Skywind City's customers ran over there. Moreover, the recent Immortal Sect, the Acacia Sect, the Heavenly Green Sect and even the Feng family had all placed their focus on Castle Peak City as well. Look at the alarming statistics above. Wang Ganju angrily crushed the transmission jade slip with one hand. How can that be? Castle Peak City's sales on the 7th day were twice as high as the 1st day. Not decreasing but increasing. He's not even active anymore. How can it still increase? Wang Ganju never understood this. He had messed across too many forces based on the financial power of the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion itself, so he didn't understand where he had failed this time. Suddenly, the mansion he was in was opened. Outside the door stood 2 tall divine figures with tall hats. One black, one white. Wang Ganju's color changed drastically when he saw this. Black and white impermanence. I just lost some money. It's not so bad as to send out the black and white impermanence. The doorway is filled with eerie white mist. Black impermanence said aloud, Wang Ganju, you are in charge of the southern holy city for 2,000 years. In the Inshu realm of the 18 cabinet, the lowest sales, and suppression of rich potentials. This time you hold more than the Castle Peak City up to 10 million times the resources, and still lost. On the cabinet of the Lord suspected that your ability to specially arranged for us to ask you to go back to examine 1 or 2. If it is through the examination, can continue to be your cabinet. If it does not pass the examination, can continue to be your cabinet, and can continue to be your cabinet. If you pass the examination, you can continue to be your cabinet. If the examination does not pass, Jia, my lord, there must be a misunderstanding. Before Wang Ganju could say anything, the void was filled with the nonsense. Hurry, the sound. The 2 chains instantly wrapped around him. At the same time, all of his terrifying cultivation was reduced to 0 point. Consciousness also gradually drifted away, lowering his head as if he had passed out. The holy city always needs someone to guard it. The above has given 3 spots. Let's go one by one and examine them. White Impermanence took out a list in his hand. The first name on the list was clearly Steward Wang of Tianfeng City. The second one turned out to be Jiang Ming, the Ginger family. Jiang Ming was lying inside a pile of spirit stones, or rather, inside a house built from spirit stones. The silver light was translucent and filled with the flavor of extravagance. Beside them were Wang Xinliang, Yunji, and Yen Ruyu, who were excitedly poring over the huge harvest this time. Husband, these 7 days have yielded a total harvest of more than 5.4 million spirit stones, which translates to more than 50,000 top-grade spirit stones. Chapter 180, Wealthy and a Baby. More than 50,000 top-grade spirit stones. Oh my god, in the past, I wouldn't even dare to think about this. Yen Ruyu lay inside the pile of spirit stones, as if she was dreaming. These spirit stones are completely enough to cover our expenses, so feel free to use them. Jiang Ming didn't feel anything, because he didn't rely on spirit stones to cultivate. I'm going to buy a lot of fourth-order formation diagrams, as well as check out the refining methods for fourth-order pills. Wang Xinlin was ecstatic as her budget reached $300,000. Fourth-order formation diagrams were extremely expensive, and only the Chi Men Hall had them. I also need a large amount of earth-ranked forging means and materials. Husband, can I get some more? Zhu Yi preferred smithing a bit more, and her enthusiasm for cultivation was average. You can take as much as you want, you don't have to tell me. Jiang Ming pinched Zhu Yi's nose. Ouch, it seems like I'm going into labor. Wang Xinliang suddenly covered her stomach. Go back to your room. Jiang Ming was overjoyed. Wang Xinlin was already an expert of the true Qi realm, and it was easy to give birth to a child like this. In less than a cup of tea, the sound of a baby crying came from inside the house. Jiang Ming received a prompt from the system at the same time. Congratulations to the host on the birth of an heir. Heir inherits 80% of the host's bloodline and 80% of the mother's bloodline. Inheritance of formation talents. Reward for the birth of an heir. 6th order formation, 8 desolate formations. Jiang Ming didn't rush to see the reward. Instead, they picked up their newborn child. No handles, girl. Let's call it Ginger Heart. What do you think? This name is also very suitable for a girl. It's quite good. Husband, I wonder if she has a talent for formations. Wang Xinlin put on her clothes and got up as if nothing had happened. We won't know when he grows up. Everyone else gathered around, curiously checking out the newborn. And every time a new member joined the family, it got everyone's attention. However, before this child could be warmed up by Jiang Ming's hug, Zhou Qingying also suddenly let out a cry of surprise. Husband, it seems like I'm going to give birth too. Jiang Ming laughed. Go back to your room. Zhou Qingying's cultivation was on the verge of the Yuan Gang realm. Something like having a baby doesn't stress her out either. Even asked to hold Kong Ming's hand and look at her. Soon, the child was picked up by Chudi. Husband, it's a boy. Today's dragon and phoenix baby. Oh, Zhu Yi laughed, holding the child to Zhou Qingying. Not long after, Jiang Ming received a prompt from the system. Congratulations to the host on the birth of an heir. The heir inherits 50% of the host's bloodline and 80% of the mother's. The heir carries the Constitution Tianyin body. Reward physical improvement card. Rewarded with a 2nd order spirit vein. Husband, this child is called Zhang Chang? Zhou Qingying had understood Jiang Ming's routine. Naming is all about simplicity and convenience. Of course, although the boy had just been born, there was already a deeply hidden yin power in his body. The celestial yin body was not as powerful as the triple yin vein body, but it's also an uncommon divine body. At least in the Great Zhou, only 1,000 years are rare to see. If sent into the immortal sect, is also considered a genius class of characters. After playing around with his wife and kids for a while, Jiang Ming began to check his rewards. 6th rank spell formation, 8 desolate formation diagram. Jiang Ming took this item out of the system, shaped like a bagua disc, with a hint of savagery and a little pitted and broken on top. This isn't a formation drawing, but a complete 6th order formation. Jiang Ming sucked in a breath of cool air. In other words, this 8 trigrams disc, as long as it was activated, could form a 6th order grand formation in the Zhang clan. How amazing is this? With such a means, it was possible to condense a 6th order grand formation into a formation disc and release it at any time. I'm afraid that even the Big Dipper has never heard of it. A 5th order grand formation is enough to make the immortal sect not dare to come and even survive for 10,000 years. A 6th order grand formation. I'm only afraid that there isn't any within that immortal sect within the range of 1,000,000 miles. And even if there is, there's only the most sacred Dao Palace. Kong Ming calmed his agitated heart. With the 6th order spell formation, the Jiang family was truly in high spirits. Physique enhancement card? Jiang Ming was not busy using it for the time being. Arriving outside the Jiang family first, he looked at the green mountain that was still gradually rising and decisively injected the 2nd order spirit vein into it. The Jiang family already had a small spirit vein before. The shape of a 2nd order spirit vein resembled a large silver-colored transparent snake, rushing in and devouring that one small spirit vein. Not a moment too soon, the aura of the Jiang family instantly enhanced several times. The wives, who were still working on the birth of their 2 children today, all immediately sensed the change in spiritual energy. The concentration of spiritual energy has strengthened again. I'll impact the yin-yang mirror with a bang. Jui went back to her room and started practicing hard with her head covered. It was Ming Yu, Chen Xiaoying, who was playing together, who was also stimulated by the sudden increase in spiritual power, and the foot of Green Mountain. Castle Peak City was also slightly affected. The second-order spirit veins already covered a wide area, plus the Jiang family's fifth-order grand formation. All the major cultivators who were wandering around Castle Peak City had felt the change in the density of spiritual energy. Although there were not as many here as in the Jiang family, it was still rare. Brothers, the aura has increased again. Do you feel it? I can clearly feel the increase in aura even in this drinking in of mine, not to mention those cultivation rooms that cost a lot of money. Damn. I really envy those who can afford to pay spirit stones to go to a cultivation room. 100 spirit stones a month is too expensive. I went to the Mingzhu Divine Soldier Pavilion to buy some spirit herbs, and I realized that the medicines I bought at the Jiang family store were of a better quality than any other place. You don't say. I also found it. I bought a clear spirit grass before that effect. It's at least 20% better than the clear spirit grass from the Heavenly Treasure Pavilion, and I bought 10 of them all the same. That said, there are gaps in the efficacy of spiritual herbs and medicines produced anywhere. How does this Jiang family manage to achieve uniformly high quality for all medicines? Whatever. Same price. Better quality. Who's to buy we don't know. The inns in Castle Peak City were unusually lively. The former old village head of Castle Peak Village was also incredulous when he saw the scene. He was supposed to live next door in Jinfeng Village in his old age, but Jiang Ming found him and said that there were many stores in the city and arranged a small two-story building for him in a slightly remote location. It can be a simple tea house or tavern. The mayor of the village also agreed in a smooth manner. It's a pity. If Castle Peak Village was still around, many of the old villagers would be proud to see this scene. But on second thought, Jiang Ming seems to be having a bad time in the village, being ostracized, and even his relatives are counting on him. This may be what God intended. Suddenly, the table in front of the village chief was slapped down by a large hand with a muffled sound. Boss, 3 pots of good tea and 10 pounds of meat. Hurry up! Only to see a young man with an arrogant demeanor walk into the store with 2 beautiful long-skirted female cultivators. Okay, wait a moment. Guest. The village chief greeted the junior to do so. The 3 of them went straight to the second floor. The village chief vaguely heard the 3 of them talking about the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace examination from their mouths. A quarter of an hour later, an angry cry suddenly came from upstairs. The shopkeeper was sent flying down the street by a palm flying through the window. Damn it! I want spirit tea. This crap tea also dare to give me? The beaten and spitting blood junior covered his chest and called out to the shopkeeper. Boss, they only gave 1 spirit stone for spirit tea. The village chief's face changed as he rushed up to the second floor, and saw that the troublemakers were the 3 young men from the party. You're the shopkeeper? Damn! I give spirit stones and you don't give good spirit tea? The young man at the head of the group rushed up with one strong step. Your Excellency has to pay 10 spirit stones to drink spirit tea. 1 spirit stone is not enough. The village chief was unperturbed and not afraid in the slightest. The young man was about to make a move when he suddenly realized that the people around him were all looking at him with a teasing look, along with a hint of sympathy. Chapter 181 Sons, Saints, and Holy Ones. The man is finished. The last thing you can mess with in this place is this store. And this guy looks like he's new. Senior brother. Something doesn't seem right. The young man's 2 female accomplices also noticed the abnormality. Before the young man could say anything, outside the window a shockwave made up of heat rushed straight at the 3 men. It's a celestial expert. Not good. The young man in the lead's complexion changed violently and immediately drew his sword to fend off. However, his strength was clearly inferior to the celestials, and the sword chi he emitted was instantly crushed by this heat wave. Boom! A celestial force ravaged the attic. The 3 were dragged out of the loft by this force and pressed directly onto the street. There was a lot of smoke and dust, and a lot of people came around and pointed. On the street, a man in a white robe stood in the center of the street, looking at the 3 people with disdain. We're from Hidden Sword Villa. How dare you do this to me? The youth in the lead was still able to scream, obviously not badly injured, and took advantage of the ground to scream. Hidden Sword Villa? Just by listening to the name, I know it's a Jianghu sect. What? Are you looking for trouble from my great Zhou? The white-robed man teased. This person was none other than an expert of the royal family of Great Zhou, who had come to help guard the village head in order to curry favor with Jiang Ming. De Zhou, the young man at the head of the group's expression changed. Their Hidden Sword Villa's villa master, who was also an expert of the returning to the first realm. However, it is still slightly inferior to facing the Great Zhou. Senior brother, let's go. The woman on the side also hurriedly tugged on her sleeve. I've long said that Castle Peak City hides crouching tigers and dragons. Look, now it's over. Another woman chided. It's not up to you to decide if you can leave or not. Come with me, the white-robed celestial coldly said. This, my lord, we didn't mean it. Spare our lives. However, No matter how much they begged for mercy, they were still taken away. The entrance to Castle Peak. Approaching a wonderful young girl was Ji Linger. She had taken a good look at the Jiang family in the meantime, making sure of certain things before deciding to walk into the Jiang family. Jiang Ming was naturally received at the highest level. The Jiang family compound, which has been refurbished. The former lapis lazuli is now replaced by jade, surrounded by expensive pear wood and a variety of exotic flowers and plants embellishment. Family Master Jiang, this place of yours is quite chic. Although it's not big, it's still interesting, Ji Linger said in an old-fashioned manner. Where? It's just a small place. How can it compare to the supreme sacred Tao Palace? Jiang Ming waved his hand and casually led Ji Linger around the courtyard. Order the maidservant to serve tea and snacks, all made with spiritual herbs cultivated in little green bottles. Ji Linger also praised it after drinking it. Although the strength of the Jiang family isn't great, the basic configuration is already comparable to an immortal sect, and as long as there are no accidents during the period, this extreme south region will have one more immortal sect. Miss Ji has flattered me. Is that zither working well? Ji Linger nodded her head as if she was pecking at a chicken. Very well, I like it very much, but this time I came here because I have something to find you. Your family's maidens are all very good. I have a good place to go. Jiang Ming guessed what she meant and laughed. You're talking about the supreme sacred Tao Palace, aren't you? My lady won't go there, and I don't want to go either. Where it doesn't suit us. Don't be in a hurry to refuse. Let me introduce myself once again. I am the extreme insane son sitting down. As long as I introduce them to go there, they will be able to obtain excellent cultivation resources, and the probability is that they can become saints, and it's not impossible that they can become saints if they are outstanding. Ji Linger was very proud when she said that she was the extreme insane son sitting down, her face overflowing with confidence. Jiang Ming naturally heard these names for the first time and subconsciously inquired, what does this saints mean? To the sacred Tao Palace disciples by the thousands, every year there are people who come in, but there are also more people who can't stand the assessment of the academy, and the gap between them and others, leave the Tao Palace, and the saints would indicate that your strength within the Tao Palace, ranked into the top 100, can be bestowed with the name of saints, and unluckily, I'm the saints. Ji Linger smiled flatly as she said this. In her opinion, the name of a saint was far less honorable than a follower of the sun. Then what is your excellency's ranking within this saint? Temporarily ranked 68th. Hiss, 68 is enough to send an old monster of the wind and fire cataclysm flying with one eye? Then just how terrifying is this supreme sacred Tao Palace? Jiang Ming was a bit hesitant in his heart, although he could guarantee that his wife's strength would steadily increase and help give them resources. But this place, completely across the class, crushed the immortal sect. This kind of no wonder that the Great Zhou's great prince directly didn't care if the Great Zhou died or lived, and directly returned to the supreme sacred Tao Palace. What about the saints? How strong are they? Saints! Ji Linger's expression became grave as several invincible figures appeared in her mind. Not to mention saints. Even a top 20 saint can come over and sweep away the Feng family, the Acacia sect. These immortal sects, the so-called immortal sects, are no different than ants in their eyes. As for the saints, those are all transcendent figures who have transcended life and death and entered the secret realm of longevity. Jiang Ming was dumbfounded at his words. Saints are the secret realm of eternal life now? This was also exaggerated. His current backstage, Gang Lao, the great man who was invincible to Tianfeng City and even made the immortal sect prostrate, was still floundering for the secret realm of eternal life. Yes, saints can already sweep through this extreme south region, so you still don't want your people to go to the supreme sacred Tao Palace? There, the strong will only get stronger, and it would be a shame to waste good talent. Jiang Ming pondered for a while. I'll go ask them. If anyone wants to go, I won't stop them. Listening to what you said, I do have some heart. After all, for Jiang Ming, if his wife could learn even more profound divine abilities and techniques in the supreme sacred Tao Palace, through countless times of return, he himself would sooner or later surpass the supreme sacred Tao Palace, provided that his wife had access to the most central resources there. Master Jiang, you're not going? The fact that you have this strength even at such a young age means that your talent isn't weak. At least it's better than most people. After you go in, you might be able to mix it up with a saint, Ji Linger said with a light smile. The people she had her eye on in the past few days were Zhou Qingying, as well as Yan Ruyu and Zhu Yi. These people all had special physiques that made her feel great potential. No need. I'm still self-aware. I'll just plant seeds and play with birds and look at flowers at home. Swing value plus 10. The Zhang family master doesn't have any great ambitions, so I won't persuade you much, but I'll tell you that if your wife becomes a noble status saint, or even a saint's, perhaps she'll really be separated from you by the heavens. Ji Linger still wanted to persuade, hoping that Jiang Ming would go. This kind of thing, if it does happen, we'll just have to accept it, won't we? You can't stop people from running off to a better place. Jiang Ming shook his fan without the slightest sense of urgency. Swing value plus 10. Yu Linger didn't expect this man to be soft and hard, and after getting up, she suddenly had a flash of light. Then do you want to know how powerful our Saint Sun is? Speaking of the word Saint Sun, she had a strong look of adoration in her eyes. This made Jiang Ming follow suit and wonder, how powerful must someone be who could make a genius look up to him? Chapter 182. Neither of them wants to go. Please speak, girl. Jiang Ming had gotten up to leave, but when he heard this, he sat down again. Lord Saint Sun. It can be said that he is a lord that is rare to see in 10,000 years. Using the word genius is an insult to him. In this Inshu realm, our supreme sacred Tao Palace definitely belongs to the first-class Holy Land, located in the central state. It is a dominant party, with thousands and thousands of disciples, while the Saint Sun is the strongest amongst the 10 million, and also the future leader of the supreme sacred Tao Palace. And nowadays, many of the important decisions of the supreme sacred Tao Palace, they will all consult him. Lord Saint Sun, who has even been able to talk and deliberate freely with those old monsters who have lived for 10,000 years, has long since been beyond the speculation of the likes of us. Then how strong is he? What realm? Jiang Ming leaned back in his chair, revealing a curious expression. As far as I know, he has mastered the rules of space. What? Spatial rules? Jiang Ming rose up with a start. How amazing was this? That's the Holy Sun, not yet the Holy Lord of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. What a joke. For a genius of the younger generation to actually have mastered the laws of space. I'm afraid that only this place, the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace, has it. Surprised? We, in the Inshu realm, have 5 great sacred palaces, all of which have their main bases in the central state. And as for the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace in the south, it's just an ordinary branch. Jiang Ming pursued. Dare I ask if it's those 5 great sacred palaces? Are they all the most powerful forces in this Inshu realm? Ji Linger made a stroke in the air and copied a map in front of the two of them. The map was an irregular oval, marking the southern, central state, and the eastern, northern, and western directions. The location of the Great Zhou, in the southernmost part, was very inconspicuous, and the southern branch of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace was still 1,000,000 miles away from Tianfeng City. And see, the central state is mainly 5 holy palace, as well as 6 big family composition. The family is also not weak. They live with the world, although not as publicized as the Holy Palace, but also unfathomable not to be messed with. The 5 Holy Palace respectively, to the Holy Tao Palace, Inshu Holy Palace, Qiankuan Holy Palace, Black and White Holy Palace, Reincarnation Holy Palace, not divided into strong and weak. Jiang Ming carefully observed this map, and he realized that there might be even more expansive worlds outside of these 5 divisions. That means there are 4 more geniuses like this who are like holy sons? Or maybe those 6 great families have them as well? Jiang Ming was surprised. You can't say it so absolutely. The world is so big. How many geniuses there are, who knows? Suddenly a super genius pops up from some corner and crushes the Saint Sun is not certain. This probability is small but not unheard of. Jiang Ming collected his mind. Today he was wearing a loose robe, taking off his shoes, and his hair was not organized. It was just straight and draped behind his head, looking pleasantly spontaneous. Miss G, I'll ask my ladies, if any of them want to go. I definitely won't stop them. Then we'll wait for your good news. The corners of Ji Linger's mouth rose. In her opinion, under these words, there was no one who would refuse. After all, people are upwardly mobile. Hate to be lazy for the rest of my life, except for this Kong Ming, inside Zhu Yi's courtyard. Husband, I'm not going. Wherever is good, but it's no better than here. Zhu Yi refused directly without even thinking about it. Jiang Ming was not surprised by this answer. But husband, after I make a breakthrough, I'm going to make a trip to King Yan's place. I won't forget what my mother suffered when she was captured by him, and I'm also going to Lin Lan, to look for my mother's home, which is considered to be my hometown as well. I'll accompany you when the time comes. Jiang Ming also thought about the mission that Wu Du had given him. His wife and daughter were still in Lin Lan. If you come across it, you can take care of 1 or 2. Of course, Jiang Ming didn't think much about it. It's just ordinary care. Just give some silver and help. Without disturbing Zhu Yi as he continued his cultivation, his efficiency in absorbing the spirit marrow was getting faster and faster. It was estimated that it wouldn't be long before he would be able to become the Yin-Yang realm and would be the first to enter the celestial realm. He found Yunji again. Yunji sighed, although I also want to go, but I know that after going I will only be obliterated, and I still like to be with my husband. Nowadays I like the days. After cultivation, I go out with my sisters to hang out. I will soon be in the Yin and Yang mirrors. My life expectancy will be another 1,000 years. The future is full of hope, and I don't have much of a mind to fight for supremacy. Yunji didn't want to go either. After that, he found Zhou Qingying. The latter inquired, is husband going? I'm not going. If my husband doesn't go, I won't go either. There's no point. I believe sooner or later I'll surpass whatever so-called saintly son or saint they have. You're not going either. Jiang Ming actually still had some hopes of going to one. After all, he could learn better techniques and aptitudes. So she found Yu Ling, and she didn't have to say anything. She just refused. Yen Ruyu had some ideas she used to keep to herself, but it's not very convenient for her now that she's pregnant. So it was refused as well. He had no choice but to find the Rapunzel. Who knows that the eldest princess laughed and said, I know that the eldest prince was treated very unfairly in the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace, thus he came back. After he came back, he plotted a plan to slaughter the city, which allowed his cultivation to reach the late stage of the Celestials, and now he should have returned to the first realm as well. But at this realm, I'm only afraid that after going there, it's still not much different from a mole cricket. And now, his mindset has completely changed. The entire person is on the verge of going crazy because of that extreme fall. Jiang Ming understood this feeling. The great prince was a first-class genius in Great Zhou, a man of the people. After going to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace, he realized that there were as many geniuses like him as there were people, and he himself had become an existence at the bottom of the hierarchy. The despair and hopelessness that comes with realizing that there are some people that he can't catch up with even if he tries until he dies, keeps whipping himself every day. It would be hard for a man who has been high and confident all his life to accept. Husband, I can't go there. My talent isn't as good as the Grand Emperor's. I think Sister Zhou and Sister Zhu, they can go. And Sister Yen, they're all more talented than me. They're just as reluctant to go. And in that case that's the way it's going to be. Husband, don't you have someone else? She's in Three Rivers Town. Rapunzel was talking about the phoenix flower. Oh yeah, and this woman, although she was not her woman, she was also her most loyal henchman. And it's still a strong body like the 7 Injustice Souls. I also have a physique enhancement card for her to use, so it won't be too bad for her to go to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. Jiang Ming thought it was feasible, so he swaggered out to give Ji Linger a greeting. What? Your wife doesn't want to go? Ji Linger rose in shock. Yeah, none of them want to be separated from me. Jiang Ming spread his hands out. What kind of magic power do you have? Our Supreme Sacred Tao Palace also has many people who are more handsome than you, with cultivation and backgrounds that are too much stronger than yours. I really doubt that you have drugged your wives with ecstasy to make them so crazy about you. Ji Linger walked around Jiang Ming and couldn't help but want to get her hands on this man and touch him to see if his skin was made of some kind of exotic ecstasy. Chapter 183, All Evolved. But no matter how you look at it, this man, he's not attractive, and he's even lazy and unambitious. Jiang Ming reached out and shook his hand. Of course you won't know about my charms. You'll never know me unless you go a little deeper. But I have someone I can recommend to you. How about waiting for me for 3 days? Okay, then I'll wait for you for 3 days. 3 days later, at the entrance of the Zhang family, Ji Linger was satisfied as she looked at Phoenix Flower, who had an indifferent face. I didn't expect it to be the legendary 7 worlds of Grievous Soul's body. Fellow Daoist Jiang, I really doubt that your Zhang family is some fallen ancient family. Upon seeing Phoenix Flower, Ji Linger saw a hint of something unusual in Phoenix Flower's indifferent pupils at a glance. After Phoenix Flower let go of her mind and accepted the probe, Ji Linger was surprised for a long time. Phoenix Flower, when you go to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace, work hard. Jiang Ming had already placed a physique enhancement card for her in advance. Master, I will definitely not lose your face. Not to mention saints. Saints, I will defeat you. Phoenix Flower shook her fist, her eyes determined. Let's go. When you go, you'll know the heights of heaven. Ji Linger only thought that Phoenix Flower was ignorant, and not by much. She had seen too many of these people. Cheer up. I look forward to that day. Jiang Ming rubbed Phoenix Flower's head. He knew that Phoenix Flower was serious. After the physique enhancement card had been integrated into her body, it had gone from a 7th generation resentful soul to a 9th generation resentful spirit. I'll ask one last time. Your wife and you really aren't going? Ji Linger still didn't want to give up on Zhou Qingying and the girls. It won't change again. People have their own wills, and a strong twisted melon is not sweet. Jiang Ming smiled apologetically. Ji Linger felt some disappointment. When you figure it out, you can go over at any time. With your abilities and qualifications it shouldn't be very difficult to pass the test. Fellow Daoist Jiang, then let's bid farewell. We'll meet again sometime in the future. Ji Linger waved. Take care, Miss Ji. Ji Linger let out a soft whistle from her mouth as a 7-colored stream of light flew in the distance, and when she fixed her eyes on it, it was a large glazed 7-colored bird. Behind him was pulling a huge piece of the carriage, with immortal mist floating on the surface and a noble aura. After Ji Linger took Phoenix Flower and boarded the carriage, she disappeared in an instant 10,000 miles in the sky. After Phoenix Flower left, peace returned to the Zhang family. However, The current Jiang family was already famous, and the outside world rumored that this was another Tianfeng city, the same existence as the Feng family. Because Castle Peak City is small, it continues to expand. Jiang Ming's latest plan was to expand to the same size as Su Yuan Mansion, aiming to complete it within half a year. After the various immortal sect forces signed a cooperation with the Jiang family, all of them also came to the Ginger family to pick up their goods within the stipulated time. In order to fast-track the Jiang Ming hung the small green bottle directly upside down in the air, with spirit liquid placed below to dilute the liquid in the small green bottle. This is then followed by the underlings of the family, who carry each of these liquids over to be poured. In order to increase the yield, Jiang Ming even added water canals inside the spirit field to facilitate irrigation. This resulted in the Jiang family's spirit field, directly expanding to 5,000 acres. It covered all of Castle Peak and even extended to its feet, except for the elixir. It's the breeding of ferocious beasts, other than Quin, tiger, and old turtle. All the other cultivated ferocious beasts were being sold as commodities. Old turtle, you're really fast with this unannounced true chi realm. Jiang Ming stood outside the old turtle's cave. Yes, the cave. Nowadays, this old turtle is no different from a human's intelligence, and sometimes it can even write and communicate with you, in order for it to cultivate effectively on its own. So Jiang Ming also built him a cave. The old turtle was lying on a green slab of rock that had been dug out from under the mountain. Since it was soaked inside a spiritual vein, it was rich in spiritual chi, and I don't know when the old turtle dug it up. It was Kong Ming who wasn't even sure. The old turtle's size was just a little bit bigger than a normal turtle, so if a regular person met it, they would really treat it as a normal turtle. Jiang Ming had a flash of inspiration. Old turtle, I'll give you a task. How about you help me look after my several little cubs in the future? The old turtle shook its head repeatedly after hearing this. Babysitting, this kind of thing was the most troublesome. It didn't want to do it. It's not for you to take care of them now. When they get bigger later on, they definitely won't just hang around inside the family, and by then, they'll need someone to protect them. And you're not obvious with your low profile strength. But the old tortoise would not listen to advice, and was still not happy, not nodding or shaking his head. If you're not happy with the line, then the good liquid is broken. Jiang Ming sighed. When the old turtle heard that the life-nurturing liquid was gone, how could that be? He immediately stood up and nodded his head repeatedly to show his pleasure. I'm going to check on Quin, that kid Jiang Yi. I think he'll be 3 years old and going crazy everywhere. Which time? You should be stronger. Usually you follow. Jiang Ming remembered that Koan had already been in the mana realm half a month ago. Upon arriving at Quin's cave, it was already comparable in size to a full-grown bull. Counting the tail feathers, which are estimated to be much longer, the chicken head has become more heroic, and now this image is somewhat similar to that of a peacock, except for the unusually beautiful red plumes on his head, which were like willow branches, cocked and drooping. Seeing his master coming, Quin this time did not tilt his chicken head like before in a high and proud manner, but instead ran with his ass, walking with a posture like a boss-like. It was quite comical to watch. That liquid is useless even if you drink too much of it. It's purely a matter of your own physique. You're not as strong as the old turtle right now. It's not that I'm biased, Jiang Ming explained. 5 days ago, Quin saw the old turtle's tablet. It wanted to grab it, but after some exchanges, it realized that it couldn't beat it, and the other party's realm was surprisingly higher than it. That's more like it. It always thought it was the king of this animal area. The fact that there were still experts now gave it a sense of urgency, and at the same time, it thought that this was Jiang Ming's deliberate favoritism, creating an opponent for it. Goo goo goo. Quin screamed anxiously, a pair of chicken paws on the ground to dig around, to show the impatience inside. What's the hurry? If you can't beat them, then cultivate in peace. Okay, I'm going to see Tiger Ah. Looking at Jiang Ming's figure walking away, Koan was screaming anxiously behind him. It's quiet on Tiger's side. When Jiang Ming came over, he didn't even see it get up. He only saw a layer of white light spots flowing on his body surface. It's going to break through to the avatar realm as well? Jiang Ming was pleasantly surprised. A large portion of his life-nurturing liquid was now given to these 3 heads, and he had also released the present. The speed at which these 3 animals were evolving, much faster than human cultivation. It's also true that animals all have shorter lifespans than humans, and it only takes them a few short years to grow up to adulthood. So it's normal for them to evolve faster than humans with the life-nurturing liquid. Hooray! Tiger roared twice in a low voice, and a demonic aura spread out within his body. What had been brown tiger fur now appeared to be a light white color. Could it be that it's evolving towards a white tiger? Jiang Ming muttered. Suddenly, that tiger leaped 100 feet and jumped directly into Koan's territory, roaring to fight. Chapter 184, The Great Enhancement. The 2 already evolved ferocious beasts directly entangled without any warning. For a time, the fight was dusty, and the two giant beasts fought on the ground in the most primitive way, competing in flesh, strength, and impact. Hey, slow down, don't collapse the house. If it breaks down, cut off food for a month, Jiang Ming reminded from the side. For a moment the dusty roar disappeared, and the two behemoths glanced at each other, subconsciously replacing the battlefield together. Rumble. Within moments, the battle raged once again. This time they were able to move away from the building. Kong Ming laid back and watched up, getting high on melon seeds, sipping spiritual tea, and commenting every now and then. Eventually, it was still Quinn who triumphed. With his cocky chicken head held high, he walked ahead, followed by the beaten-down tiger, covered in scratches as well as blood. The hand is neither light nor heavy. Looks like Quinn is still a bit more powerful. Jiang Ming nodded, satisfied with watching a great battle. He went back to his unashamed life. 1 month later, Yuling's baby was born. It's a boy, and Kong Ming names him Kong Ling. Congratulations to the host on the birth of an heir and the acquisition of a first-order spirit vein. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Wang Tang experience card. Wang Tang experience card, Realm. Against the sky to change the fate of the pinnacle. A person who has against the weather luck. This person from childhood was said to have the capital of the great emperor, but later because too arrogant, even dared to hook up with the emperor of the skies woman. Therefore, the final death of the emperor of the skies hand. But it must be said, this person amazing talent. Talent strength is absolutely belong to the top. Good lord, this is good. The realm has changed against the heavens. Jiang Ming was overjoyed, although he didn't know who this Wang Tang was. This peak of the realm was already his new bottom card. But soon, the color of his excitement was suppressed again, because he thought about Ji Linger, those perverts from the supreme sacred Dao Palace. There were more than 60 saints, all of whom were able to fly wind and fire great havoc experts with one eye. Follow what she said. An existence that was against the heavens. It was estimated to be within the top 10 saints, and even the top 3 were surpassed. After all, the saints and the saints are very close together. To open a hang is only to reach the saint level. There's nothing to be proud of. It means that the scope of my activities is only in the southern region. No, it's the distance that can't reach the holy city. Otherwise, it's still dangerous. Jiang Ming had heard that if he entered the holy city, there was a high chance of encountering a terrifying existence of the everlasting mystic realm inside. Jiang Ming put away the Wang Tang card and injected the first order spirit vein into the ground, adding another lot of spiritual power to the family. The days that followed continued to be joyful, with Jiang Ming swinging and being lazy from time to time. It's a good time. The Great Week was supposed to be in jeopardy, but because of Jiang Ming, all the neighboring countries have stopped fighting. After all, he lives in Great Zhou. Although Jiang Ming's wife was captured by the Emperor of Great Zhou, but his wife was also the daughter of the Emperor of Great Zhou, and although the relationship was complicated, it was not something that other countries could touch. A crisis that I didn't expect to be so easily resolved. Another month passed. Zhu Yi breaks through to the yin-yang mirror. Yunji breaks through to the true Qi realm. Yen Ruyu has broken through to the middle of the return to one realm. Rapunzel breaks through to the late celestial realm. Zhou Qingying has broken through to the peak of the true Qi realm. Wang Xinlin has broken through to the Big Dipper. These people certainly didn't break through together, but successively in this month. And Kong Ming also this time with a bang. From the realm of returning to one, he had stepped into a half-step Jindan, and was just a little bit away from being a Jindan powerhouse. It stuck really hard. It's a good thing Yen Ruyu will be born this time. Husband, this child of ours is called Kong Ru? Is that how he's named even if he's a girl? Yen Ruyu held the child, feeling that the name was strange, and looked at Jiang Ming with a crooked head. Jiang Ming nodded. It's convenient and memorable, and it's really too troublesome to name something like that. Swing value plus 10. Jiang Ming realized that he also had more than 230 pendulum values, so he could draw twice in a row. Alright, then let's follow husband. Yen Ruyu laughed helplessly, reaching out to tease the child now. Husband, look at her. She's so smart. She's just been born and she can smile. It means she likes the name, doesn't it? Ginger Ru. Ginger Ming came up and pinched Ginger Ru's baby face. Congratulations to the host on gaining an heir. Congratulations to the host for obtaining 1 drop of phoenix blood. Just 1 drop of phoenix blood? Jiang Ming felt stingy, but this drop of phoenix blood was just right for Yen Ruyu to use. 5 days later, a loud and clear bird song came from Yen Ruyu's mansion, but it was a good thing that the clan had a large formation to cover it. Otherwise the sound would have definitely traveled thousands of miles. In the meantime, Yen Ruyu's cultivation was also growing. Yen Ruyu has broken through to the late stage of the first stage. Yen Ruyu breaks through to the peak of the first reign. Yen Ruyu breaks through to half-step Jindan, and Jiang Ming had logically become a Jindan powerhouse. The moment he crossed into Jindan, at the Dan Tian, it was obvious that a massive extremely dense life force was condensing. When he peered inside, he realized that this massive matter was forming a sphere of. Hooray for Jindan! Legend has it that the larger the Jindan is, the more powerful it is, and this is the foundation for laying the immortal path. And often those Jindan powerhouses who are unable to break through to the wind and fire cataclysms are unable to break through due to the Jindan being too small and having insufficient potential to cause a breakthrough. Jiang Ming silently watched the condensation of his Jindan at the Dantian, where it formed a small space of its own, and the Jindan had changed from the size of a goose egg to the size of an egg. Yet the growth hasn't stopped, even to the size of an apple. Couldn't help but see the joy in this. I've heard people say that an apple-sized Jindan is already 1 in a million. And the probability of being able to enter the wind and fire cataclysm is already 60%. And there's even a 30% probability of becoming a heaven and earth Dharma master. When Jiang Ming thought he was about to stop, who knew that his Jindan was still growing? It eventually grew to the size of a human head. Looking at the huge golden sphere slowly suspended within his body, Jiang Ming couldn't help but sigh. I can slap someone in the same realm with this slap. Right. Jiang Ming was really itching to see how strong he was. However, the Jiang family did not have anyone to join forces with, and the cultivation level of the ladies was at most half-step Jindan. By the way, the Great Zhou Emperor, dang, I'm coming, the imperial capital of the Great Zhou, Li Duan wasn't practicing, but was enjoying the flowers and grass in the back garden, with his consort dancing in front of him. Your Majesty, you haven't practiced writing for a long time. The little eunuch beside him couldn't help but remind him. Practicing words? I used to think of some means to break through the wind and fire cataclysm. But now, with the presence of the Jiang family in Great Zhou, do you think the wind and fire cataclysm is of any use? Li Chen had lost his fighting spirit and completely swung for the fences. If he had a swinging system, he could definitely get a lot of rewards right now. Your Majesty, there's no need to persuade. I've thought it over. One heir's child is about to be born. When her child is born, if it's a boy, when he grows up, I'll give him this throne. Your Majesty, but that boy's surname is Jiang. The little eunuch knelt down in shock. But what can I change? As long as the country name remains the same and the bloodline is still there, then my Li family is not considered to be lost. This was the last thing Li Chen thought of. Suddenly, Li Duan rose violently with great alarm and looked towards the sky dome, where stood a man who had terrified him for the rest of his life. Jiang Ming, fellow Daoist Jiang, what brings you here? Chapter 185, The Pursuer. Jiang Ming stood in the sky and said with a smile on his face, I just recently made a breakthrough, and I have nothing to do, so I'm looking for you to practice. Practicing? The Great Zhou Emperor was stunned, and it was only then that he realized that Jiang Ming's aura already had the Jindan realm. This speed surprised him and at the same time his heart rose with joy. Wouldn't this be just the right opportunity to punch the son-in-law who's holding his breath? Good, since Marquis Jiang wants to practice, then I will accompany you to the end. Li Chen laughed out loud. This is not the place to make a move. Let's change positions. Jiang Ming didn't think much of it. He just came purely to practice. The two quickly left the palace, leaving behind a crowd of puzzled concubines in the harem. That man just now? Marquis Jiang? Judging by the tone of the emperor's voice, he's the only one. Otherwise how could the emperor be so timid? This Marquis Jiang has gone too far, coming to the emperor for practice, completely disregarding the royal family. How detestable. I see that the Marquis breath has only just entered Jindan as well, so perhaps this is a chance for our emperor to regain some face. Half an hour later, a golden light fell into the interior of the palace. Li Dust was full of fatigue, his breath was chaotic, and he even had a few injuries on his face. And behind him was Jiang Ming chasing after him in succession. Fellow Daoist Li, we haven't finished fighting here. Why did you run away? And you didn't suffer any injuries. What are you afraid of? A few more times. Jiang Ming couldn't get enough of it. He was very satisfied with the party's fight. Li Chen was in the late Jindan stage, which was just about the same as his strength, and it was a very good fight. Many of his own heavenly ranked divine abilities also dared to be cast. However, Li Chen was miserable, initially full of confidence. To the moment he exchanged hands, he realized that something was wrong. This Jiang Ming's spiritual energy was thicker than that of the later stages, and it even had many wonderful uses and aggressiveness. Fellow Daoist Jiang, you're powerful. I'm no match for you. No more fighting. If I fight I'll be beating you to death. Li Chen directly resigned to his fate. Don't. Just a few more rounds. I still have one more divine skill left to perform. I can't be beaten. Jiang Ming didn't care if Li Chen agreed or not, and pulled him far away once again amidst his wails. The next day, the entire court waited for half a day in the courtroom, but did not see the Great Zhou Emperor arrive. A group of ministers asked, why hasn't His Majesty come yet? It's past time. For over 300 years, His Majesty has never been late. Why is he so slack today? Prime Minister Yuan came from the doorway, only to hear him say in a loud voice, there will be no morning court today. Now that the state affairs of Great Joe have stabilized, there's nothing much to talk about, so let's all disperse. Prime Minister, what's wrong with His Majesty? Is something going on with this absence from the court? Prime Minister Yuan coughed twice. His Majesty is sparring with the Jiang family master, so don't even bother prying. Go home and rest properly. This, Master Jiang family? Could it be the Green Mountain Jiang family? Prime Minister Yuan smiled and nodded. So that's how it is. Prime Minister, I still hope that you'll put in a good word for me about my daughter going to the Jiang family as a maidservant. There's also my daughter. She's a national beauty and definitely meets Marquis Jiang's standards for concubinage. Look, Minister Wang, you're in a hurry again. Prime Minister Yuan chided, all the while trying to see if he could place his daughter with the Jiang family, but up to now there was no brow at all. It was too much of a drop to force it over, but without taking the initiative, Jiang Ming couldn't possibly open his mouth. It made him guilty for a moment. This month was the last thing the Emperor of Great Zhou wanted to remember in his life. Suffering from Jiang Ming's beatings every day, he couldn't fight, and he couldn't refuse, and he didn't feel alive until Jiang Ming left with satisfaction after thoroughly understanding his strength. Jiang Ming, Lao Zi. When Jiang Ming left, Li Duan didn't dare to say anything harsh, and finally turned into a long sigh. The Supreme Sacred Tao Palace had 3 major divisions in the Nether Void Realm, East, South, and West, respectively. Southern region, to the Sacred Tao Palace. Today was the day of the Divisional Academy competition, and if one made it into the top few, they could have the chance to enter the Central State Headquarters. Where is the true palace of the most sacred way? With saints, and the legendary Holy Sun there, above the 100 feet sized ring. Phoenix Flower's body was like a nimble elf constantly prancing and tumbling. The opponent was a man with a sword. His breath was long. He was emitting the might of the celestial realm. Every attack made Phoenix Flower dangerous and easy to maneuver, obviously not putting Phoenix Flower in his mind. As for Phoenix Flower, after coming into the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace for more than a month, she was only at the 2nd level of the Divine Power Realm and the True Chi Realm. Little girl, you dare to participate in the scholar competition as a newcomer. Your courage is commendable. I see that you are a girl. I won't hurt your life. Go down. The man with the sword let out a low shout. The huge sword transformed into 100 feet, directly slapping Phoenix Flower off the ring. The defeated Phoenix Blossom didn't care about the man's words, just glanced at the blood on her hand, and ignored the taunts of those around her as she left the edge of the ring alone. After returning to the mansion assigned to the academy, he began to think back on the gap between the two. My 9 Worlds grievance body shouldn't be this weak. According to the information given to me by Senior Sister G, the 9 Worlds grievance body, if it were to become a great success, it could easily dominate an era belonging to a first-rate physique, but it seems that it hasn't been energized yet in my hands. Phoenix Flower recalled the Tai-In Divine Emperor scripture in her mind. It seems that the gongfu given by the master has not been studied thoroughly. One must work on it. Just then there was a knock on her room door. Is that Senior Phoenix Sister? I'm Lu Qing. Lu Qing? Him again? Phoenix Flower frowned. Not that this person was that repulsive. Rather, it was the fact that this person had been pursuing her, leaving her helpless, and this feeling of being pursued was uncomfortable. She already had only her master in her heart. Of course, it wasn't that kind of male-female emotion, but rather, Jiang Ming was her everything. It could be said that her life was her master's, so how could she be bound to others? To do otherwise is to betray your master. I'm in cultivation. I don't have time. Go away. Phoenix Flower replied coldly. Outside the door stood a man in green, holding a jade bottle in his hand, with a country face, thick eyebrows and big eyes, and looking quite honest. And the cultivation level was clearly the returning to one realm. But this realm, it was still impossible to go to the headquarters, because he was on the older side, over 100 years old. This was a genius among geniuses in Great Zhou, but here, it could be said that it was not even an exaggeration to say that he was a mediocre waste. Senior Phoenix Flower Sister, I saw that you were injured in the ring today and brought you some medicine. I left it at the door for you. Lu Qing was also used to Phoenix Flower's temper, and the first time he saw Phoenix Flower was at the newcomer's registration office. Since he didn't have the chance to go to the general courtyard anymore, he usually did some chores over here, and it was while he was on duty that he met Phoenix Flower. With that one glance, his heart was moved, especially by Phoenix Flower's eyes, which made her unusually suspicious. A pair of storytelling, full of somber looks. It made him want to pamper. Okay, senior brother. Phoenix Flower's voice came out from inside the house. Lu Qing touched his head and wanted to say something else, but he just couldn't hold it in, and finally left glumly. After a long time, the door was opened and a small hand reached out, picking up the jade bottle. Hey, what should I say to him to get him to stop pestering? Phoenix Flower muttered. Chapter 186. Phoenix Blossom breaks through the True Spirit realm and enters the Big Dipper realm. Phoenix Blossom has realized the advanced aptitude of Xian class. The 6 harmonies palm technique. Returns 10 times. Host learns the earth rank middle grade aptitude. 9 heavenly palm technique. Jiang Ming, who was lying flat in the compound, received a reminder message from Phoenix Flower. This girl, she's progressing so fast. Before she went, she was still at the first layer of divine power. And in just a few days, she's already at the third layer of divine power. Jiang Ming tried to strike the 9 heavenly palms. At once, the 9 ripples presented a mountainous momentum pushing across the void. This palm carried out a squeeze of the space in front of him. Not bad. It's a good palm strike. Jiang Ming put this divine power into the Mingju Divine Warrior Pavilion to sell. There was one more middle grade martial arts aptitude of the local rank. After Jiang Yan came to Castle Peak, she usually ate and drank in addition to practicing. It was the most relaxing and pleasant time she had ever had in her life. Ever since she found out that Pang Taisher's family was dead, she felt a little surreal. In the end, he went to the Imperial City Pang Mansion with Jiang Ming's consent. She saw where her own mother used to live and learned how lavishly the Pang Taisher family lived. Yet it was such a huge mansion that could not accommodate mother and daughter. Death has a cause, dog. Jiang Yan finally cursed. After the grudge was understood, she had thought that Jiang Ming would no longer take her in, but she didn't expect that she would still agree to go to the Jiang family. It was a great relief to her, after all. That place had gotten her used to it, and Kong Ming could be considered a light in her dim person. Naturally, she took the initiative to get on Jiang Ming's. On this day, Kong Ming got married again. The wife is Jiang Yan. Her martial arts talent was surprisingly good. In just 2 short months, he had already crossed over into the realm of the second layer of the physical body. It has become the norm for Green Mountain to host weddings. Even Mingyue and Strangling Cloud attended together. Master, when are you getting married? Zhou Qingying poked Mingyu's waist from the side. What are you talking about? Am I that kind of person? Akatsuki was a little embarrassed. She used to be the vice palace master of the Shifting Flower Palace, and because of the influence of the palace master, she hated men very much. But because of his time in the Jiang family, he also had a lot of opinions about Jiang Ming. No man can tolerate living under a roof with another woman, but Jiang Ming did it, and there seemed to be a special magic in him, and the eldest princess of the Great Zhou was conquered. There was also Yen Ruyu, the vice sect master of the Heaven and Earth sect, who was willing to come along. The main thing was that the people who had mediocre talent after being with Jiang Ming had all become exceptionally powerful as well. Wang Xinliang, Zhu Yi, those people who were not ordinary people before, have now become famous celebrities in the world. The wedding went on as scheduled, and it wasn't until Jiang Ming left with Jiang Yan that Mingyu woke up as if from a dream. Jiang Yan's loyalty is 100%. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the seeds of the vine of enlightenment. Only one? Jiang Ming thought it was also too stingy to search. However, after he saw what the enlightenment vine could do, he felt that he had earned his blood. Enlightenment vine, once every 10,000 years, mortals who eat it can become enlightened in situ and enter the realm of the mysterious, with a chance to become a celestial being, and if they are well qualified they can even enter a higher realm. And cultivators who have cultivation can enter the state of enlightenment after eating it to understand the great Tao of the heavens and the earth and to explore the secrets of space and time. And the degree of comprehension depends on themselves. It was clearly the Tao vine that could comprehend the laws of space-time enlightenment. And I have the little green bottle. This 10,000 year result will be done for me in maybe a few years. Great! Jiang Ming felt that this thing was a complete anticlimactic hang-up for him. In less than 100 years, everyone in the family will eat one. Breaking through the secret realm of longevity will be just around the corner, and then even if it's the sacred palace, he or she will be able to call the shots. Time flows slowly. Zhu Yi's cultivation speed had reached an extreme, and she hadn't gone to the forge during this period of time. Instead, he went all out to cultivate the Tai Yin Divine Emperor scripture. She, who was originally a spirit god body, already had an advantage in her cultivation speed. In just 6 months, her realm was making successive breakthroughs, directly leaving Zhou Qingying completely behind. Zhu Yi breaks through the middle stage of Yin and Yang. Zhu Yi has broken through to the late Yin Yang stage. Chudi breaks through to the celestial realm. Zhu Yi breaks through to the realm of the returned one. Zhu Yi exited the cultivation state. There's still some spirit marrow left, enough for me to enter the Jindan realm. But Zhu Yi didn't want to cultivate now. She had more important things to do. That's going to get justice for your mother. The first time she came out of the gate, Jiang Ming had already come to the door. Planning to leave? Jiang Ming knew Zhu Yi's intentions. Now that there was also the returning to the first realm, it was perfectly capable of handling trivial matters in the world. Zhu Yi pushed open the door to her room, wearing a purple storage ring on her thumb, which held the earth rank weapon, the Godslayer halberd. Today she was wearing a long purple dress with Jiang Ming's favorite ponytail, with a black ribbon tied around her waist, and her slender waist could not be seen in the slightest that this was the figure of a person who had given birth to a child. After you gave birth to a child, I realized that you are getting more and more flavorful. Jiang Ming couldn't help but pick up Xiao Zhu and give her a wild kiss. A quarter of an hour later, Zhu Yi blushed and beamed. The atmosphere I just happened to be brewing was lost by you. Really? Ha ha, go go go. No delay. Jiang Ming laughed and pulled Zhu Yi straight into the sky. Quinn also shouted with great joy when he saw Jiang Ming leave. Like when you were a kid and the adults in your family left the house and the kids were home alone. Northern chill. The border here has always been guarded by King Yen. Since the rise of the Zhang family, King Yen had been distracted every day. He knew the woman would come for him sooner or later, so he sharpened his sword every day. Yen Wan's residence was in the center of the border city, and a white attic stood as the dark attic was covered in snow. King Yen was alone, crouching in the doorway grinding the shocking dragon sword in his hand that had accompanied him for more than 200 years. This was a Xian rank upper grade weapon that had killed countless enemies, and even if it wasn't in action, the dense killing intent was oppressive. Right here and now, inside King Yen's compound, 2 more footprints on the snow-covered flat ground. Before King Yen could react, a black halberd was already pointed at his head, and the surprising dragon sword in his hand, which originally had an extraordinary momentum. After encountering this halberd, all the killing intent was all suppressed. There was no possibility of winning against a Xian-ranked weapon against an Earth-ranked weapon. You're still here. King Yen slowly looked up and saw a somewhat familiar face but the eyes of this face were filled with indifference and murderous intent. It seems like you've already resigned yourself to your fate. My mother being kidnapped and tortured by the likes of you at that time was truly a disgrace. Zhu Yi coldly said. Early stage of the returning to the first realm. If it wasn't for the one in your family behind you, you wouldn't be my opponent at this realm. Yan Wang got up and with his own cultivation, he tried to make Zhu Yi back off. However, Zhu Yi did not move at all. The massive spiritual energy within her body roaring like a monstrous river, resisting the raging aura of Yan Wang. To have such spiritual power at the early stage of returning one, it seems that your secret is not small. Yan Wang's pupil shrank as he looked into the void and said aloud, Jiang family master, come out. Your wife is no match for me. King Yen, there is no need for my husband to take action. I alone am sufficient. Zhu Yi swept her halberd across without saying a word, lifting up the tall white snow. Chapter 187, The Most Rigid Man. What a big mouth. Just as stubborn as your mother. Not turning back until you hit the south wall. King Yan let out a cold snort. The terrifying wave of sound was going to shake Zhu Yi back. Zhu Yi illuminated tens of thousands of halberd shadows densely bombarding the past. Although she was at the early stage of the returning to the first realm, the spirit god body of her was not the least bit weaker than Yan Wang in terms of spiritual power, and it was still the Tai Yin divine emperor scripture that he cultivated. Under the addition of the two parties, it was not the least bit weaker than the late stage of return to one. Yan Wang's sword was powerful and arcane, with runes flowing on his sword, each strike causing the void to tremble. Boom! The two quickly fought together. Zhu Yi's divine ability was varied, powerful, and rigid. For a while, he surprisingly beat the Yen King back. Jiang Ming stood in the clouds silently observing the battle. It's only a matter of time before Zhu Yi wins. 50 rounds at the most, whether it's his physique, or his divine aptitude underpinnings. Zhu Yi is stronger than Yan Wang, except for the realm in which he has the advantage. But the gap in terms of his physical body and divine aptitude is too great. Dust flew inside the attic as many buildings collapsed due to the intense battle. Many soldiers wanted to come over to help, but were rebuked by King Yen. No one is allowed to do anything. This is my family. Once the surrounding soldiers saw that it was a woman who was fighting the Yen King, combined with the recent rumors, they quickly realized what was going on. Boom! That 3-story pavilion was finally caved in by a huge halberd shadow, and was smashed out into a huge pit 100 feet in size. Meanwhile, King Yen had been injured quite a bit by this strike of the giant sword art, and his right arm had been broken, but he didn't give up and rushed out from the ruins. Black arcane ice wrapped around him as he fought with Zhu Yi once again. But it's been over 40 rounds now. King Yan's spiritual energy was already running low in the aftermath, and every exchange of blows put his body under a huge load. Her power is indeed as gigantic as rumored. Yan Wang never understood what was going on with Zhu Yi's physical body. When Zhu Yi was born, he was aware of the fact that there was no talent for martial arts, let alone this terrifyingly huge hand. Suddenly, Zhu Yi's body surface erupted with a divine radiance, radiant to the extreme. At this moment it was as if a heavenly god had descended to earth, and that godslayer halberd seemed to have come to life. A halberd stabbed in, blocking all of King Yan's retreating paths. This strike, King Yan's eyes narrowed slightly, a chill rising in his heart. This kind of attack was not something he could withstand right now. Both hands pinched mysterious spell seals. The sword was tinted with a layer of ghostly light, and behind him, there was 1,000 armies stepping through the void and surging forward with Jingo and iron horses. An earth-rank lower-grade divine ability? Jiang Ming muttered, not realizing that this King Yan still had this. but a lower-ranked inferior product obviously couldn't reverse the situation. Those thousands of troops were hardly able to stop Zhu Yi's halberd, and with a clang, the shocking dragon in Yan Wang's hand shattered. The thousands of troops were torn apart as if they were bubbles, forming black smoke that disappeared into the icy sky and snow. King Yan only felt a coldness in his chest, and when he looked down, a black halberd had penetrated his chest. Berserk shadowy spiritual energy filled the entire body. What else do you have to say? Zhu Yi looked at Yan Wang dead on. She wanted to see a hint of regret in his eyes, but the other party didn't have any emotions, still just staring indifferently at Zhu Yi. I just regret that the assassin I arranged to kill your mother and daughter back then was too weak. Otherwise wouldn't it have caused today's big mistake? Indeed, a heartless cold-blooded creature. Killing you will not be enough to make my mother's heart at peace underground. Zhu Yi rotated his halberd, deliberately making Yan Wang's wound even more painful, and in a chilling voice, he said, "If you kneel down and apologize to my mother's spirit seat, I may be able to spare your entire body." Dreaming, giving Lin Lan Lo recognizing your mistakes? Yan Wang sneered. In his eyes, the Lin Lan people were the representatives of lowliness. Stubborn, Zhu Yi saw that this man was not remorseful in the slightest, and her killing intent rose. Although killing it would not relieve the hatred and would not give an explanation to his mother, there was only nothing better that could be done now. Aren't you afraid that after you die, your wife and children will be liquidated by us? Jiang Ming stepped out from behind Zhu Yi. Jiang Ming, would I, King Yan, care about the deaths of others? If you think that you can use your family's lives to threaten me into submission, then you are sadly mistaken. King Yan laughed coldly. In his eyes, if all of his family members died, it could only be because of the will of heaven and their incompetence. If I chop off your yang root and hang you on the city wall for public display and humiliation for a few days, you won't apologize? Jiang Ming threatened again. Ha ha, Jiang Ming, you're underestimating this king, let alone chopping off my yang root. Even if you were to cut me down to a human stick, don't even think about it. King Yan's eyes were cold, although his cultivation level was only at the returning to the first realm, but it was indeed the hardest backbone Jiang Ming had ever seen. Good, have a backbone. If I get a few female ferocious beasts over here and give you some aphrodisiacs, will you still be able to hold back? Jiang Ming's words caused King Yan to freeze, as he thought of the fact that if he were to be doing human affairs with some strange and ferocious beasts in front of the people of the world, the image would indeed be explosive enough. But King Yan still laughed. Then what's the harm in me trying? Jiang Ming, you can't threaten me. Hiss. Jiang Ming couldn't help but suck in a breath of cool air upon hearing this. This guy was simply invincible. No fear of insults, no fear of anything happening to my family, and as far as the pain being unbearable and all that, not to mention, kill it, this guy is too scary. Jiang Ming shook his head repeatedly and was helpless. It seemed that there was no chance that Zhu Yi's mother would be able to get Yan Wang's repentance. It seemed. Zhu Yi didn't say any more nonsense because everything was useless. As the halberd vibrated, King Yan's flesh was shattered by a tremendous force. Having killed her own father and the Yan King who was her enemy, Zhu Yi's already low mood remained unchanged. Husband, why is it that in this world, there are such cool people? I'm his daughter. Can do this to me? Why is this? Zhu Yi murmured. She, who could shatter a mountain with one punch, only felt weak at the moment, putting down her god-slaying halberd and squatting on the ground, her little head buried into her knees. There's no end to the variety of this human nature to see. Jiang Ming could only sigh and similarly squatted down, slowly wrapping Zhu Yi in his arms. Husband, if he can apologize, I might really soften my heart, but he is really so cold. His own family members can be unwanted. Why is my father a person like that? I really envy Yingji and Wang Xinling. They, every time I see their dads come to you in a low voice, and ask about their daughter's cultivation from time to time. That kind of concern, I really envy them. Zhu Yi looked up at Jiang Ming confidingly, her eyes slightly red. Don't you have a family now? There's me, and Jiang Yi, we're a big family here. You're not alone from now on. Jiang Ming wrapped his arms around Zhu Yi, and the tops of their heads were unconsciously covered in a layer of white snow as well. Perhaps it was the death of King Yan that made the snow in this northern cold even heavier, with gale force winds and snow howling until the two of them were completely white. Zhu Yi didn't know how long she had been sad before she slowly got up, looking at Jiang Ming's head covered by a layer of white snow as if it were a white head. She said with red eyes, Husband, I don't want us to grow old with white heads. We want to live forever. Chapter 188. Jiang Ming cupped Zhu Yi's face. If we both turn gray, you and I are toothless, and we have to walk with each other's help. Even though we're old, we can still snuggle together. And it's not a kind of happiness, is it? That situation couldn't help but appear in Zhu Yi's mind as well. Perhaps, Jiang Ming wasn't that powerful. The two of them were just ordinary farmers, and the two of them lived an ordinary farming life in Castle Peak Village. Jiang Ming may not have so many women around him, and it is indeed not a bad thing that it belongs to her alone. Zhu Yi nodded. Either way, it's great. The king of Yen is dead. CZK was killed by Chui. Dezhou didn't say anything and didn't dare to pursue Zhu Yi. After all, King Yen had also said that this was his family matter. Of course, it's just as well it wasn't said. Zhu Yi did not return to the Jiang family immediately after killing King Yen. Instead, he went with Jiang Ming to Linlan, which was located in the eastern part of Great Zhou, divided by Rift Mountains. Jiang Ming was a Jindan powerhouse, and it was very easy to cross this mountain range. The two didn't have to report to the border gate of Great Zhou, and they crossed directly across the border. In the air, Jiang Ming was sitting on a black cloud with Zhu Yi snuggled up next to him, not looking calm. This time she was going back to her own home in Timberland. That is, the family that used to be the mother's family. I don't know if it's still there after all these years. Husband, back then, the Yen king invaded our Linlan. Zhu Yi worried. Go and take a look. Linlan's country is only 1/5 of the Great Zhou, but every piece of it is rich. Your Zhu family's location is at a distance of 100 miles away from the Linlan country's royal capital outside of Linlan. If the old place is gone, go to the royal capital and take a look. Jiang Ming said softly. Zhu Yi's mind was not at peace. If her elders were still around, how should she face them or what should she say? In the sky above Linlan, a golden rainbow came today, extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it had already crossed a distance of 10,000 feet. In less than 5 days, the two of them had traveled from the northern part of the Great Zhou, to the eastern part, to the middle of the Linlan kingdom. The mountain ranges of the town below continuously crossed under Jiang Ming's eyes. Although he was on a height of 10,000 feet, he was able to see many of the scenes within the city. The architecture and dress of the buildings Linlan has lived in is a bit exotic. Jiang Ming looked closely at Zhu Yi, who looked completely different from Linlan's woman. If I were to use the words of my previous life, the people of the Linlan country looked somewhat like the western region, while Xiao Zhu was an authentic Central Plains person, and very much a young woman. Husband, my mother doesn't look like a Linlan person either. I don't know why. Zhu Yi shook her head in disbelief. Could it be that your mother also came from out of town? Or maybe your grandmother wasn't from Rinland? Then I don't know. Zhu Yi took out a jade tablet, square and 4 inches in size. This was what Jiang Ming had given to Zhu Yi after obtaining it inside the Great Zhou Palace. Smell. This person should have died a long time ago. Zhu Yi muttered. Let's see if he has a yin and yang mirror. If he does, not yet. A barren mountain with only weeds and not even animals. In the center of that barren mountain, there was a large area of ruins. Broken flags were still planted on it, showing that the place had been baptized by the battlements. Jiang Ming descended to this place with Zhu Yi. Looks like this city is all gone. Let's go to the imperial capital. I want to see the location of my old home. Zhu Yi shook her head as she took a step and stepped onto the ruins. It was the first time I had been here, but it had a bit of an intimate feel to it. Although this ruin was not big, it could be surmised that this city was also as big as Su Yuanfu. Zhu Yi looked along the ruins a little bit. The shattered lapis lazuli main road, the weathered attic, and the stone statue of a ferocious beast in front of the door of a man of high status, were in disrepair. The buildings in this Linlan country are very different from our Great Zhou. Most of them are 3 to 5 story buildings. This is probably because of the small land and large population, so the buildings are all up taller. Jiang Ming followed behind Zhu Yi, curiously surveying this exotic land. Since it has been deserted for 100 years, there are not many people here, and the ecology around it has been destroyed because of the war, and the animals are all gone. Husband, I seem to have found it. Zhu Yi stood in front of a black ruin. In front of him was an empty field with no signs of any buildings having existed, and in the center was a huge, deep pit that was 100 feet long. This is your home? Jiang Ming unfolded his divine thoughts to explore the area. Indeed, in this area, he sensed a lot of resentment. Although it had dissipated quite a bit, it was still like thick smoke rolling in straight to the sky. Zhu Yi had already taken small steps and slowly walked into this ruin. In this city, this is the only piece that has been destroyed most thoroughly, as if it will not stop until this place is razed to the ground. After Zhu Yi walked into the ruins, she reached out and touched the black dust on the ground, and walked towards the deep dark pit with the rubble inside, which she took away in her hands to scrutinize. This tactic can only be caused by a Jindan powerhouse making a move. It's not just King Yen who destroyed our Zhu family. Zhu Yi thought of the Great Zhou Emperor. Are you saying that the Great Zhou Emperor made a move? Jiang Ming thought that it was really possible. After all, the jade pendant in the sniffing was inside the treasury of the Great Zhou Imperial clan. Husband, if the Great Zhou Emperor strikes, murder pays for life. Not to mention this kind of extermination. I won't stop you. Jiang Ming took Zhu Yi's hand. But the Rapunzel she there. Then I'll take matters into my own hands and let her blame me. After all, there's always one side to blame for these things. Zhu Yi was greatly moved and didn't know what to say. Even if Jiang Ming had more concubines, she was always the most important. Zhu Yi's loyalty increased by 300%. Return multiplier is 30 times. The two searched the ruins some more, but there were few clues. Even the former basement of the Zhu family was blown to smithereens. There are no traces of any relics. Go to the Lineland royal capital and ask around. Linland's royal capital. The central palace was a strange ancient fortress that stood 100 feet tall and was clearly visible from dozens of miles away. Jiang Ming took Zhu Yi and entered the Linlan royal capital through the city gates in a lower profile. There was no direct unfolding of the Jindan cultivation, descending forcefully for Empress Linlan to greet. After all, he had come to investigate Xiaozhu's family affairs, and if he had directly descended with his Jindan cultivation, perhaps some of the truth will be hidden by certain people in the land of Limerick out of fear. The two of them were in disguise, walking on the main road of the Linlan royal capital. Most of the roads here are yellow and red, and from the sky it looks like a land of color. However, many of the inns and restaurants here were similar to those in Great Zhou. Jiang Ming walked into a random hotel with Zhu Yi, 2 pots of honored guests, some tea or liquor. Xiao Air, wearing a high hat and a long white robe, yelled, "Just 2 plates of veggies and 2 cups of tea at random." "Right, get us a room." Jiang Ming threw out a piece of broken silver. "Lung 2. Not local, right?" Junior hemmed and hawed. "Of course not, Xiao Air. I have something to ask you." Jiang Ming followed Xiao Air up to the second floor. Having just already entered the private room, Jiang Ming raised his hand to close the door and asked in a deep voice, "Is there another Zhu family in this imperial city?" Chapter 189, Queen Linland's Rules. That junior smiled at his words. "Big brother, this Zhu family you're talking about, if I'm not wrong, there's only one in our imperial capital, and that's the Zhu family in the north of the city. What's there to be careful about with this kind of thing? Everyone in the whole city knows about it. The Zhu family in the north of the city? Who is the head of the family nowadays?" Zhu Yi stepped forward and asked after him. "Family master, called Zhu Meng." Xiao Er answered quickly. He knew people very well, and saw at a glance that these two were extraordinary, so he told the truth. However, Jiang Ming was still very careful and still utilized his powerful divine soul power to wash away this memory of Xiao Er. Today's Jiang Ming's divine soul power was also at the early Jindan stage. This was also because of Zhu Yi, Zhou Qingying and their breakthroughs. "Did your mother say anything about a Juman?" Jiang Ming inquired. "No, I have never heard of this person. If this Zhu family is my mother's family, then I have found my roots." Zhu Yi was a little excited. Her heart was looking forward to the unknown family. "We'll go over there tonight and check it out." Into the night, Jiang Ming brought Zhu Yi to the north of the city, where there was an atmospheric building. A high, pitch-black colored courtyard wall surrounded it, isolating ordinary people from the world inside. In the middle of the courtyard wall, there was a strangely shaped portal with an odd shape, and at the entrance stood 2 guards, who were clearly at the 10th level of the flesh body. It follows from this, the Zhu family is not weak, can have such a large piece of land in the imperial city? Apparently their family's position in Linlan was comparable to Great Zhou's Pang Taisher. Jiang Ming unfolded his massive divine soul power, wanting to directly enter the Zhu family and take a peek in advance. However, when it was close to the Zhu family, it was blocked by a thin film, and it was obvious that there were defense formations that isolated divine sense. If he forced a breakthrough, he would attract the attention of the Zhu family. The spell formation they use to isolate their divine sense is very skillful, although it can't resist the power of my Jindan divine soul. But if I forcefully break through, I'll be discovered. Husband, then we'd better go straight over there. No one can stop us in this Linlan. Zhu Yi had already gotten used to solving problems by force. The two of them arrived at the entrance of Zhu's house in a flash, startling the 2 guards. "What's coming?" Not even waiting for the guards to report, Jiang Ming sent a wave of sound into the entire Zhu family. "Zhu family master, Zhu Meng, come see me quickly." Deep inside the Zhu family, inside a red attic, Zhu Meng was lying on a mahogany chair, with stunningly beautiful exotic women massaging and pouring wine for him on both his right and left hands. In front of them, there were more than 10 dancers singing and dancing, and on both sides sat a number of dignitaries, all of whom were Linland's nobles, many of whom were also royal relatives. They are all drinking and enjoying themselves at Zhu's house at the moment. A man sitting on the left side was born tall and had a Linlan royal dress, only to hear him speak. "Zhu family master, I heard that you have found news of the Zhu family's old ancestor?" Zhu Meng smiled at his words. "It's all rumors. Our Zhu family's old ancestor has long since lost his voice." "How long has this been going on?" "The person has long since turned into yellow earth." "Oh, really? But Her Majesty already knows that your Zhu family's oldest ancestor has returned from a certain lineage and said that he wants to reclaim his position in Linlan. Is that right?" As the words of the man dressed as royalty on the left side fell, 80% of the people in the other seats rose violently. Each of them drew their weapons, and their morose murderous auras mixed together. And when the women who were dancing saw this scene, they all panicked and tried to run away. but they were cut down by a few sword awnings, all of them. For a while, blood aura filled the Zhu clan's great hall. That Xu Meng who was sitting in the guard's face changed greatly when he saw this, and said in horror, "Great prince, my Zhu family is loyal to the queen, and has never plotted against the queen. That Zhu family's old ancestor we really haven't seen. Could it be that what Her Majesty the Queen said is false? Kill all the Zhu family's collateral lineage, and take away the first line's discarded cultivation." The great prince's celestial cultivation directly crushed Xu Meng, the Zhu family head who only had a yin and yang mirror. But just then, a loud cry came from outside, a cry that instantly stopped a killing. "Zhu family master, Zhu Meng, come see me quickly." This sound caused the entire temple to vibrate slightly. The celestial realm Grand Imperial Prince's breath was also destabilized by this rebuke. This is the aura of a Jindan powerhouse. The Grand Prince was horrified, as this kind of might he had only ever felt on the Empress. That Zhu Meng was also very cocky. Sensing that there was a big shot looking for him, he immediately shouted, "Elder, come in. I'm inside." These words have just fallen. Two silhouettes then flashed across the hall, followed by everyone subconsciously taking a step back. Jiang Ming frowned upon seeing the situation in the hall. "What's going on? Give an explanation." The people of the Grand Imperial Prince were dumbfounded and at a loss for words as they looked at each other. "Senior is a deceased member of the Zhu family?" The Grand Prince thumped inwardly. "Elder, our Zhu family is wronged. This Linlan royal family has to say that our Zhu family has the intention of plotting a rebellion, and also said that our Zhu family's old ancestor came back to take over the royal family's orthodoxy." Xu Meng rolled and crawled over. Although he didn't recognize Jiang Ming, a discerning person could tell that it wasn't a bad thing that this Jiang Ming was looking for him. Jiang Ming glanced at Zhu Yi and signaled for her to handle it. Zhu Yi didn't go straight to help the Zhu family. She wanted to make sure of something first. "Take me to the shrine." "A shrine? What does Senior want to go to the shrine for?" Zhu Meng was puzzled. "Lead the way if you're told to. What's the point of talking so much nonsense?" Jiang Ming kicked over. "Senior, can we leave then?" To the side, Grand Imperial Prince Lin Lan pointed at himself and smiled sarcastically. "No way." Jiang Ming turned around and said, "Xiao Zhu, I'll wait for you here. You go over with them." Aha! The Xu family shrine was just a mile away from the front hall. Xu Meng led Zhu Yi to the entrance of the shrine quickly, and a yellow light flickered within the dimly lit courtyard. The guards at the entrance also saluted successively after seeing the family head, not knowing in the slightest that the Xu family had almost been exterminated. After Zhu Meng brought Zhu Yi inside, the two guards asked each other, "Who is this woman? So temperamental. Feels too feminine. This doesn't look like a Lin Lan person. The new concubine of the family head?" Inside the Xu family ancestral hall, Xu Meng had been following behind Zhu Yi, his heart in a state of confusion. "What exactly is this auntie here for? What are you looking at my Zhu family ancestral hall for?" Zhu Yi just checked along the shrine spirit seats one by one and didn't see the names of the grandparents her mother had mentioned. None of the names from memory. Secretly puzzled, she couldn't help but inquire, "Zhu Chengjin, Zhu Chenghong, aren't they the more powerful ancestors of the Zhu family? Why aren't they all here?" Xu Meng was at a loss. "Senior, I don't recognize either of the two you mentioned. This Zhu family is not the same Zhu family as the one that was once killed by King Yin?" Zhu Yi asked the unanswered question in her mind. Xu Meng revealed a dawning look at his words. "So Senior is asking about this. We are indeed the Zhu family you are talking about. It's just that things have long since changed, and because of Empress Lin Lan's rules, those who were exterminated from the Zhu family are not allowed to keep their names, and as for the reason why, we don't know either." Chapter 190 Karma. The Queen's rules? Zhu Yuan's small fists clenched up. The next moment, she appeared beside Jiang Ming. Inside the hall, Jiang Ming sat alone at the first place, eating grapes on the table and drinking fine wine. Being accustomed to eating mountains of food, I just discarded it after one taste. It's awful. Seeing Zhu Yi coming over, her face did not look good and she cast a questioning look at him. "Husband, I suspect that the Zhu family's demise is related to Empress Lin Lan. Let's go straight to the palace. I don't want to drag it out." Zhu Yi now can't wait to know the truth. Although she is not calm but it was also because he knew that the strength of his Jiang family could crush Lin Lan that he proposed so. "Let's go then." Jiang Ming carried the Grand Emperor and flew away with Zhu Yi. This time, he no longer hid his breath, and the Jindan pressure swept across the city. The Empress in that Lin Lan palace was meditating when she jerked her head up and looked towards the imperial city. She was dressed in loose white clothes, not as majestic as one would expect, but more like a young girl, white and flawless, with a red spot on her forehead that looked divinely like a beauty mole. "An expert has come at my Lin Lan. Who is it?" With a wave of his sleeve, a white shadow flashed across the door. The Lin Lan palace's formation couldn't stop Jiang Ming at all. He casually made a few gestures outside the formation, and after a few attempts in accordance with the universal means of breaking the formation taught to him by Wang Xinliang, A 10-foot-high large hole was broken open. When Jiang Ming stepped into the palace carrying the Grand Emperor, Empress Lin Lan flew in like a fairy under the moon. At the first glance, Jiang Ming thought that this woman was so beautiful that she could be compared to Yen Ruyu. Who are you, trespassing on my Lin Lan palace? Empress Lin Lan, there's something I need to ask you. Why can't those seniors of the Zhu clan who died appear at the Zhu clan ancestral hall? Zhu Yi asked in a chilling voice. You are? Empress Lin Lan looked towards Zhu Yi. Although this woman's cultivation was not as good as hers, she gave her a very dangerous aura. After the Zhu family, daughter of Zhu Qingzhao, Zhu Yi, so you're her daughter? No wonder. Empress Lin Lan sighed in relief after hearing this instead and looked at Jiang Ming inquiring. Then your excellency must be the Green Mountain family head Jiang Ming, right? Exactly. Jiang Ming nodded. Both of you, please come with me. I'll explain in detail to both of you. Empress Lin Lan turned around and walked into the palace. Jiang Ming and Xiao Zhu looked at each other and followed. Deep inside the palace, in a modest attic, this place was Empress Lin Lan's private boudoir. But today, in order to feast on her honored guests, she had purposely entertained them here. For Jiang Ming also poured spiritual tea, as well as spiritual fruits. The two of you are new here. Why don't you come directly to my palace so that you don't have to waste all this trouble? Empress Lin Lan sat at the first place, as pure as a young girl. But Jiang Ming would not be deceived by this innocent appearance. He had just felt the fierce power of Empress Lin Lan, in the sense that she was more dangerous than the great Zhou Emperor. Of course I intend to ask for more information. If I didn't come, wouldn't all of my Zhu family's descendants be exterminated? Zhu Yi was still very skeptical of the Empress, not having her guard lowered by her now friendly gesture. Empress Lin Lan sighed as she heard the words and knew what Jiang Ming and the two of them were about to learn. I don't want to do this either, but there's nothing I can do about it. That Zhu family's ancestor can't set up a spiritual seat. It's not my opinion, but Zhu family's old ancestor Wenzhong's opinion. The intention to exterminate the Zhu family. It's also his opinion. What? Wenzhong? The Zhu clan's old man wants to exterminate the Zhu clan's descendants? Are you kidding? Zhu Yi rose violently. Jiang Ming was baffled. What is this show? Are you kidding me? Lin Lan Empress nodded gruffly. That's right. You do not believe that I cannot help. And Wenzhong's strength is much stronger than me. When the great Zhou invasion of Lin Lan, he can actually go out to save the day. But he did not, only focusing on their own cultivation. It seems to look at their own family was destroyed as if, and now it is even more than that to me to send an order to me to exterminate the Zhu family. Although I am puzzled, but I can only do as I am told. What is his cultivation level? Jiang Ming said in a deep voice. I don't know, but it's at least beyond Jindan, and he's active in the southern slice close to the central state, frequenting the area around the sacred city from time to time. Empress Lin Lan murmured. Holy city? After Jiang Ming pondered for a while, he took Zhu Yi's shoulder and said gruffly, Xiao Zhu, if my guess is good, that ancestor of yours, could he be practicing some kind of devilish skill? Needing to sacrifice all of his descendants to make a breakthrough in cultivating himself. Last time, looking at the extermination of his own clan, perhaps he was secretly absorbing something, and this time, it can't be said. Are you saying that he might be nearby? Zhu Yi realized this with a jolt. It's possible, but seeing us intervene, he might not be in charge. After all, we have the gang elder behind us. Jiang Ming signaled Zhu Yi not to be impulsive. After all, Jiang Ming's chances are limited. You can't just open the Wang Tang card. In case you don't find anyone, it'll be in vain. Empress Lin Lan said, both of you, that's all I know. If in case you have any other questions, feel free to ask. Zhu Yi said, seeing that you are also the one who suffered the threat, I can ignore it, but I won't believe all of your words. When Empress Lin Lan saw this, she let out a light laugh. If you don't believe me, you can go to the holy city to see the rumors and inquire about him. Or you can sit in the position of this Empress Lin Lan. If it wasn't for certain contracts, I would have wanted to leave long ago. What? This Empress position is bad? Zhu Yi was surprised. Cultivation resources are certainly good, but think about being controlled by someone all the time, and puppets in general. Can you stand it? But Jiang Ming had another question raised. Your Majesty, that Wenzhong is controlling you. If my mother becomes the Empress, he is still looking for you. So how could you be getting rid of Wenzhong? Empress Lin Lan said as she ripped her bodice open, revealing a snowy white area. Jiang Ming subconsciously covered his eyes, but the slits in his fingers were just right on his eyes. Mother, I didn't look at this, Jiang Ming explained loudly. Empress Lin Lan's right hand slashed at her chest. Crystal clear spiritual energy wrapped around the wound, and the flow of blood was stopped, revealing a heart that was beating inside. But a purple talisman was encircling this heart next to it. Empress Lin Lan pointed to it and said, and look, this is the symbol of Empress Lin Lan, the Purple Emperor Talisman. Any Empress Lin Lan succeeding to the throne will have to bear this talisman, and can obtain the power of the ancestors to add. This is also the reason why my Jindan stage strength, stronger than most cultivators. If it is the Emperor of the Great Zhou, in the royal capital of Linlan, I can turn over my hand to suppress him. So it is. No wonder Jiang Mingfang felt that she was dangerous. Hearing the voice, after dropping his hand and scrutinizing it carefully, Xiao Zhu walked over and took a closer look at this purple Emperor talisman. Does it have any connection to that smell? This purple Emperor talisman was done by him. Usually summoning is to use this. If you bring it, you can get in touch with Wenzhong. Are you willing? Empress Linlan had an urgent hope in her eyes. Chapter 191, Conveyance Formation. Subconsciously, Xiao Zhu was about to reach out and touch it, but it was immediately stopped by Jiang Ming. Don't move. We need to find Wenzhong. Can you help? Jiang Ming asked Queen Linlan. I can't help you guys. I can only receive messages. I can't deliver them to him. Empress Linlan shook her head with a rather helpless expression. Now that you haven't killed the Zhu family, will Wenzhong come over? Jiang Ming asked again. I'm not sure about that. I'm not as strong as him. I can't deduce that. Empress Linlan's words made Jiang Ming feel that this person was a bit tricky. He himself was only at the Jindan cultivation level, and if his opponent was a wind and fire great havoc, or a heaven and earth dharma phase, it is entirely possible to conceal your whereabouts and remain in the shadows forever. And after years of laying it out, it was clear that this Wenzhong was cunning and not that easy to deal with. Husband, I'll stay here. Zhu Yi planned to keep watch here, but you can't beat him either. Jiang Ming thought that Zhu Yi's behavior was reckless, and both of them were not at the same level of strength. But there's nothing else I can do. What's the best way? If that Wenzhong is really the culprit who killed the entire Zhu family, don't worry. Jiang Ming held Zhu Yi's small hand. I'll have Xin Shower come over in a few days. Nowadays, Wang Xinliang was already able to set up a teleportation array, and if he were to set up this array in the Linlan Imperial Palace, from the Jiang family distance here, originally to Jiang Ming's full speed forward also want a 3 or 4 days, will only be an instant too. You mean? Shu Yi thought of something, but didn't say much since Empress Linlan was beside her. Jiang Ming nodded, then said to Empress Linlan, you can capture the Zhu family however you want, but not now. When my mother comes over, set up a formation in your imperial city. What do you think? This? Well then, I can agree to any condition as long as the Jiang family lord doesn't make a move against me. Linlan, Empress Linlan said with a helpless face. There was nothing she could do about it. Thinking that she couldn't afford to mess with the Jiang family even more than she had heard. Behind this one stood the 5th Order Formation Master, a half-step everlasting mighty gang elder. Jiang Ming and Zhu Yi didn't stay here for much longer. Instead, he hoofed it back to the Jiang family. Afterwards, Jiang Ming took Wang Xinliang and rushed to the Linlan Palace once again. It took less than 10 days in total. Jiang Ming purposely asked Empress Linlan for a separate piece of courtyard, where he set up 3rd Order defense formations, as well as illusion formations for these. Courtyard. Wang Xinliang fiddled around with the jade that set up the teleportation array, as well as the spirit stones. Husband, since it's a long way from Castle Peak, I'm going to upgrade the teleportation formation to the top of the 3rd rank, so it will require a large amount of spirit stones, and it's estimated that it's going to cost more than 1,000 spirit stones. Wang Xinlian's hands kept striking out formation patterns. Using his mind, he manipulated the spirit stones here to fall in all directions, falling into the various formation eyes, rain and the major formation patterns fitting each other. Jiang Ming looked puzzled. He had actually been curious as to why Wang Xinliang as well as Xiao Zhu and the girls refining as well as array formation levels were not returned to him. What the system explains here is that both men were given their talents by the system and therefore cannot be returned. It dawned on Jiang Ming that the dragon elephant fruit had not been returned even after it was eaten by Xiao Zhu, so perhaps it was for this reason as well. It took Wang Xinliang 20 days to set up the teleportation array. During this period of time, the entire Zhu family was grounded and unable to go out, which also caused the entire Zhu family to be on edge. After setting up the formation, Empress Linlan had the intention to investigate, but found that her Jindan strength was simply too difficult to break through Wang Xinliang's defense formation. In his heart, he had even more respect for this disciple of the 5th Order Formation Master. Master Wang, can I enter this spell formation? Empress Linlan hoped that the Jiang family would give her the array disc of this spell formation. Wang Xinliang was decisive and resolute. No, there are important secrets inside, and it's useless for you to take it. But don't worry, this spell formation of mine won't cause you any harm. Just treat it as a decorative piece inside the palace. In that case, fine, Empress Linlan said rather helplessly. After setting up the array in the Linlan Palace, Jiang Ming sneakily used the teleportation array once. The whole process of teleportation was a bit painful, and there was a feeling of the soul being torn apart. But the speed was indeed fast, and it only took 10 breaths to get from Linlan to Castle Peak. Husband, this teleportation array is subtle, isn't it? I didn't even tell my master about the means of laying the array. After all, this is a teleportation array that was lost in the ancient times. On Green Mountain, an additional basement has been constructed. The basement enclosures are laid out with good forged materials, and it was very sturdy as it intertwined with the Zhang clan's grand formation. Hundreds of altars have been constructed in this basement. One of them was already wrapped in a layer of white light, showing that this altar already had a teleportation array. This was also the activation altar that Jiang Ming had set up in advance for the Jiang family to teleport hundreds of places in the future. Not bad, it's just that my head is a bit dizzy. If it was a fourth stage that was farther away, I doubt I would have been able to hold on. Jiang Ming held his forehead. Husband, this is you not using the teleportation token. Look. Wang Xinliang raised his hand and a bronze order appeared in his hand, engraved with ancient inscriptions and patterns that Jiang Ming did not recognize. Husband, this teleportation order can be used 10 times. After 10 times it will be destroyed. At present it can only support the third order teleportation array. If it is the fourth order, I'm afraid that the road is less than halfway, it will be broken. With the teleportation order, even mortals can teleport safely, Wang Xinliang said while demonstrating how to use it. Jiang Ming took the teleportation order and activated the teleportation array again, and sure enough, the side effects were gone, and it was stress-free and straightforward. This is our first teleportation array here. Where would I like to set up the second one? The first thing that appeared in Jiang Ming's mind was the Dragon Gate Inn in Three Rivers Town. Although Phoenix Flower was gone, it was her property after all. Moreover, before Phoenix Flower left, she had allowed the grievous souls within the Dragon Gate Inn to develop autonomously to help cultivate a number of killers. If these killers get up in the future, they will be of great use in the future. Located at a distance of 800,000 miles away from the Great Zhoujin, this place was a 1,000-foot-long cavern that went straight underground and was endless. A group of Supreme Sacred Tao Palace's scholars were moving forward slowly. There were 5 people in total. Phoenix Flower carefully walked in the middle. Behind her was Lu Qing, who wanted to say something and didn't know how to say it, holding it all the way. Phoenix Flower had come here to search for a spirit herb medicine called infant beaver grass, a spirit herb rich in resentment. Ordinary cultivators avoided it, but it was a great tonic for her. So here it is. Other than the Phoenix Flower, the other dead people's purpose was not the infant beaver grass, but rather, located inside this cave, there was a Xuanhajiao, and they intended to seize the inner elixir, before using the body of the Xuanhajiao to bring it back to sell spirit stones. Lu Qing, the news that Xian Black Jiao has now given birth. Are you sure? A man in the lead had a strong aura, and it was clear that he had a late stage returning 1 cultivation. He asked to Lu Qing, who was at the end. I can confirm that I mistakenly entered this place before, but I wasn't sure about it alone, that's why I called out to senior brother Zhang. Lu Cheng nodded. Good. This time, if it comes to fruition, you alone will share 30%. Senior brother Zhang nodded, his gaze sweeping over the Phoenix Flower intentionally or unintentionally. Chapter 192, Mysterious Yu Huatian. Among these 5 people, Phoenix Flower had the lowest cultivation level. She would have known this place had baby civet grass, but there was no way to come alone. It just so happened that they came together after getting an invitation from Lu Qing. As a few people went deeper, the moisture in the air became thicker and thicker and carried a moldy smell. The further down you go, instead of the temperature starting to increase because of the geothermal heat, it becomes more and more bone-chillingly cold, and there's a bone-deep cold that goes right to the soul. Others feel uncomfortable with it. Only Phoenix Flower's eyes were unusually bright. The infant beaver grass is definitely more than 1,000 years old. Otherwise it wouldn't have such a great chi. All of a sudden, there was a purring sound like thunder from up ahead. All slow down. It seems that we've arrived at the Zuanhaijio's lair. Senior brother Zhang immediately stopped everyone. At this moment, Jiang Ming, naturally, didn't know what Phoenix Flower was doing every day inside the academy, but one can get a glimpse or two of her progress through the system's broadcasts. Phoenix Flower is seriously injured. Phoenix Flower in danger of dying. Phoenix Blossom broke through to comprehend the sky-destroying hand in anger. The Phoenix Flower breaks through to the mirror of yin and yang by refining the demonic elixir. Phoenix Flower's cultivation has increased to the early stage of the celestial realm after devouring 5,000 years of infant civet grass. The sudden broadcast caught Jiang Ming off guard. Good lord, what has this Phoenix Flower gone through? Jiang Ming was surprised at how quickly the Phoenix Flower had improved. After about an hour, the Phoenix Flower has suffered a serious injury. By the time we got here the message was gone. Hiss, it looks like he's not dead yet. He should be in danger from the search of a strong enemy. Jiang Ming knew that he couldn't help, and that he would have to go over there to get the yellow flowers. I'm sure this girl can get through it. At the same time, Jiang Ming was glad he didn't go. How dangerous it was. In the cave that Phoenix Flower and the others were in, there were 4 corpses lying around, and the only one of them that didn't have a Phoenix Flower in it. Lu Qing had a smile on his face. seemingly smiling because he had protected Phoenix Flower once. However, in front of these 4 corpses, the body of the one black ogre that, sitting on a plate, was a black-robed old man with a gloomy face. The man had a black, shadowy aura writhing on his face all the time, causing him to be unable to move out for the time being. It's actually a 9 worlds resentment soul. Well, it's not in vain for me to come over here. Female doll, you can't escape. I'll definitely find you. The old man's eyes were half red and half black, unusually bizarre. But what's up with that Empress Lin Lan? Letting her arrange things grind to a halt. When I kill this girl child and swallow her soul, it's not as if there's no chance for me to step into the secret realm of eternal life in my wink. A short while later, the sound of Jiajia's maniacal laughter came from within the cave. Until after a month, Jiang Ming once again checked on the Phoenix Flower. The Phoenix Flower has healed. She should be safe. I just don't know what happened. Being so far away, the means of communication are difficult to reach. Right, Quinn? Jiang Ming's eyes lit up at the thought of this guy. Quinn's flight speed was extremely fast, and it couldn't have been better suited to serve as a message-passing pigeon. Quinn was happy to hear that he could get out, and he flipped in the air. When the message is delivered, get your ass straight back here and don't fool around on the road or you'll have 2 less glasses of liquid. Quinn nodded his head repeatedly, excitement shining in his eyes. After Quinn left, the Kong family entered peaceful days again. Jui was focusing on what was going on in Wenzhong every day, followed by trying to cultivate, and even refining weapons was not practiced anymore. While Yan Ruyu still went to Tianfeng City from time to time, Yuling was curious about the outside world, having also followed along and loitered. Yan Ruyu's cultivation at the return to one realm was enough to defend herself. Both have had their share of trouble out there because of their beauty. However, they were all dealt with by Yan Ruyu's terrifying cultivation as well as her overpowering methods. However, just as Yan Ruyu was leaving from Tianfeng City, she was planning to go to the Tianqing sect to take a turn. Stopped by a deceased friend, she led Yuling to fly above the white clouds. A familiar clear voice rang out from below. Apprentice, where are you going with this, master? Yan Ruyu was startled. Her face flushed and she flew down to the clouds with Yuling, landed next to a lake. Next to that hoop, there was parked a carriage made of white jade, drawn by 4 white horses. By the lake sat a man in white. The man's face was like a crown of jade, his breath was elegant, and he had a sense of femininity. Behind the man were 2 women of identical height and appearance, holding umbrellas for him. This person was none other than the Heaven and Earth Sect's master, Rainflower Field, and Yan Ruyu's master. Master, you're here. Yan Ruyu had thought that she could fool around in front of her master after she returned to the first realm, but that voice just now made her feel that Yu Huatian was still unfathomable. Could it be that master is a Jindan? No wonder the position of the Heaven and Earth sect was very special in Great Zhou, and the royal family didn't even bother to mess with it. Yu Huatian sat in his chair with a displeased look on his face. You got married without informing me. You had a child without informing me. Do you still have me as a master in your eyes? Master, things were sudden. I didn't have time to say. And I was afraid that you wouldn't agree. Yan Ruyu whispered. Walking up gently, Yuling was on the side with a curious look on his face as he surveyed this worldly expert. Yu Huatian was, in the old days, a big mountain in her heart. Didn't have time to say? I think you don't even have a master like me in your heart. Yu Huatian snorted coldly, obviously upset, but not much in the way of blame. Yan Ruyu, on the other hand, seemed to have done something wrong just like when she was a child, lowering her head and not speaking. After a long time, Yu Huatian sighed darkly. Jiang Ming, that kid, I see. People are not bad, just a little strange. I cannot even understand. And his destiny is not ordinary. You follow him, maybe also have some fortune, or maybe it is a desperate road. But this road, you have already chosen, and there is no way that I can be in the way to change anything. Master, what are you talking about? You will understand in the future. This Heaven and Earth sect, I already disbanded it 5 days ago. There will be no more this sect in the future. I should go back. Rainflower Field said softly. Master, you go back? Where are you going? Aren't you from Great Zhou? Yan Ruyu then realized that Yu Huatian's aura had become indistinct. If you have the chance to go to the central state in the future, you can go to the Rain family to look for me. But of course, if I'm not around anymore, I should die in the battle for the first line of the Rain family. Yan Ruyu couldn't understand any more at all, but she knew that Master must have gone back for something big and had a very unusual identity. Master, if you die, I will definitely avenge you. Hey, don't you expect anything good from me? Anyway, here's my wedding present for you too. Take it, Yu Huatian said, taking out a storage ring and throwing it to Yan Ruyu. His body then transformed into a white light, and with his carriage and maidservant, he instantly disappeared by the edge of Hupa, as if it had never come. Hiss, Master definitely has more than Jindan cultivation. 7 days later, Yen Ruyu handed the ring to Jiang Ming. Husband, there are so many great treasures in here. Gifts from my master. Take a look. There's even a heavenly ranked technique. Chapter 193, Family Luck. Heavenly ranked techniques? Isn't your sect master at most a return to one cultivation level? Jiang Ming was a bit surprised. The Heaven and Earth sect was deep in hiding. Yen Ruyu was also extremely curious about Yu Huatian's realm. I'm not sure. He's secretive. Anyway, he said that he'll be looking for him in the future to go to the Rain family in Central State. Jiang Ming opened his storage ring. There were surprisingly 3,000 top-grade spirit stones inside, which was equivalent to 300,000 middle-grade spirit stones. It's an amount that only an immortal sect could come up with. Your master is really rich. Such a generous maneuver. In the future, if our Jiang family wants to go to the Central State for development, we may not be able to avoid troubling your master. Heaven rank technique. The secret code of cholera. Jiang Ming and Yen Ruyu studied it for a long time and realized that this gong method, which mainly cultivated the divine soul, your master is really willing to give it up. This kind of heavenly rank technique, not to mention the south of us, I doubt it's rare even in the Central State. Yen Ruyu sighed. My master also had a heart. He knew that in a place like ours, there aren't many means to cultivate the divine soul, so he gave to this gong method. But now that there's a copy of the Tai Yin Divine Emperor scripture, it's sort of the icing on the cake. Jiang Ming examined it in detail. Suddenly, he also realized that this gongfu had the Secretary of Curse in it. Not bad, but it's about time to build a cache within the family. The next day, Jiang Ming arranged for people, intending to expand on the family again. Although Castle Peak is rising, the location on the mountain is after all limited. To build a cache, one could only sacrifice some fields of elixir, but it can't be helped. Wang Xinliang also saw it, so she comforted. Husband, I heard the master say, if the spell formation can reach a certain level, can have the ability of space, at that time, maybe you can build a small world. Inside the space, can be set by ourselves, so that the family's spiritual fields, and ferocious beasts breeding all these, don't have to worry about it. There's more of this? There are definitely no immortal sects in the south, but there may be more or less in the Central State or some bigger powers. This was what Gang Lao had told Wang Xinliang. 10 days later, a 6-story high book collection pavilion rose up in the Jiang family. Constructed from the finest spirit wood, Wang Xinliang arranged third-order formations around the building. Jiang Ming threw in all of the family's techniques, divine abilities, all of them in one fell swoop. Gentlemen, in the future, I will add new divine abilities and new feats here from time to time. Beside Jiang Ming stood Zhou Qingying, Zhu Yi's women. Husband, do we want to add the weapon refining pavilion? Or the pill refining pavilion? Zhu Yi proposed. In front of her was a small cart in which Jiang Yi sat curiously surveying the world. Though less than a year old, her clear eyes were very intelligent, and she curiously reached out her hand as if she wanted to touch the cache. This idea can be. Our family may have to receive some Feng family this kind of family model in the future. The clan also need to set up some cultivation places, and training places. After all, in the future, there are more people. It is also good to manage. Jiang Ming glanced at the Rapunzel's gradually growing belly. Today Jiang Ming has 6 heirs. Wait 20 years. Jiang Ming would have had almost 100 children born even if he didn't add new concubines. By then, the first group of children over the age of 18 will probably follow suit with wives and children. So projected, not 100 years, the population of the Kong family is going to be nearly 1,000. In the future, it was impossible to say that this green mountain would continue to expand and add new mountain ranges. After the collection was set up, Jiang Ming did not keep the Yangs from viewing it. After all, these were his 100 die-hard soldiers, and their increased cultivation would be beneficial to the Jiang family. Apart from patrolling every day, Yang Kai was soaking in the book pavilion and reading books. 3 months later, Quinquin is back. It brought a message from the phoenix flower, holding a summoning stone in its mouth, which was used to preserve sound. Not bad, surprisingly not being greedy outside. Jiang Ming patted Quinquin's head. Goo 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 goo. Quinquin raised his little head proudly, as if to say I'm still reliable, right? When he turned his head, he realized that Tiger and Old Turtle next door were ignoring him, so he could only bow his head in frustration. Jiang Ming returned to the house and opened the summoning stone. Inside was the voice of Phoenix Flower. Master, I devoured the infant beaver grass, so my cultivation has risen greatly, but during this period, we were almost killed by an old man. My fellow disciples have met with untimely deaths. That old man was careless for a moment, and was harassed by my gift of the 9 worlds of grievous soul's body, and only then did I peach a life. I went back to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace, after some inquiries, only to learn that that man was a demonic cultivator near and far, called the name of the rumor that he had many clansmen and heirs, branching out all over the world. But every once in a while, they would all die strangely, and later after investigation, they were all his doing. It's almost over when you see it. Although the process of being snuck up on by Wenjong and the escape was not described in detail, but Jiang Ming could also know that this trip, Phoenix Flower, is how menacing. Wenjong again? Well, after half a day, this Zhu family is the sustenance you deliberately left behind, and besides the Zhu family, there are families in other places for your own cultivation. Jiang Ming immediately found Zhu Yi. After informing her of the sniffing, Zhu Yi was furious. Her face was blue. This devil, simply not human. People have children to pass on, the family will grow the family. He is good. It is to develop sacrifices for himself. Let's wait and see what news from Empress Lin Lan's side. According to the news, this Wenjong is obsessed with Phoenix Flower. Jiang Ming didn't expect to have to use the Wang Tang card so soon, and according to Phoenix Flower's description, the other party shouldn't be an expert in reversing heaven and earth. It was expected to be at the half-step heaven and earth dharma phase, or the early heaven and earth dharma phase realm. Let's draw cards first. There's already 300 swing value. Card drawing. Acquired a second-order spirit vein. Another second-order spirit vein? This is too much. The family currently has enough aura. Any more and it will overflow. If it wasn't for the fact that spirit veins couldn't be sold, Jiang Ming would have wanted to sell them. Obtaining the heavenly weapon graphic. Acquisition of family luck statue. Jiang Ming took out the heavenly ranked weapon illustration, which depicted a sword, with instructions from the equipment used for forging to the forging process, including the environment required. If Zhu Yi builds this heavenly ranked weapon, what goodies can I get for 30 times the return? Jiang Ming had already begun to look forward to it in his heart. There's no rush to get to Chui. Instead, he took out a so-called family chi statue. It looked like a four-legged statue, 10 feet tall, bronze in color, and without any breath. In addition to being very hard, Jiang Ming couldn't damage it no matter how he tried to hit it. Just the right place to put it in the entryway of the ginger's house. There's no way to look at this ethereal thing called chi luck. However, Jiang Ming also knew that the higher the chi, the more prosperous the families would be. The descendants would also prosper more and more, and it was possible that some special divine bodies would appear in the clan. The chakra idol was placed on the ground with little sound and seemed to be very light, but when it landed, Jiang Ming couldn't move it the slightest bit no matter how he moved it, unless he used the system to collect it. And just at this moment, Empress Lin Lan sent a message. Master Jiang, Wenjong has issued an order. Chapter 194, Your Descendants. Jiang Ming immediately found Zhu Yi. At this time, Zhu Yi was still persisting in her cultivation, and her cultivation level was already approaching the middle stage of the yin-yang realm. Mother, the wench has appeared. Zhu Yi clenched her fists and sighed. Husband, I can only rely on you this time. Who said to rely on me? It's still not relying on you. This Wang Tang has quite a few good moves. If you comprehend them well, you'll be much more powerful than that Yen Qixia. Jiang Ming but read the introduction of Wang Tang's divine ability. There is even some kind of great emperor-level divine ability in it. The name sounds very strong. If he comprehends one or two, and then Zhu Yi learns it, and then a 30-fold return. Not actually invincible? It's exciting to think about. Deep within the Linlan Palace, Empress Linlan was still in white, dressed innocently, with some sadness deep in her eyes. Between Wenjong and the Jiang family, she was riding a tiger. In front of him was the dark dungeon, in which the first family members of the Zhu family were imprisoned. Your Majesty, our Zhu family has never had the intention of plotting against us. Someone must have framed us. Empress, please also be clear. Otherwise losing a family loyal to Lin Lan is a great pity. Inside the dungeon, there were a total of more than 2,000 members of the Zhu family, praying non-stop. The Zhu family had even knelt at the dungeon door and begged so hard that his head was bleeding from hitting it. Listening to the pleas for mercy from the Zhu family, Empress Lin Lan had no fluctuations within her heart, silent enough to watch it all. At this moment, a soldier ran over to report. Your Majesty, the Jiang family master and the others have arrived. So fast? Empress Lin Lan was shocked, based on the fact that she had passed the news over. It had taken Jiang Ming less than an hour to come over. Is this still human? Maybe this is the means of that 5th-ranked formation master. If Jiang Ming wanted to make a move against Lin Lan, I wouldn't be able to resist. Bring them here, Queen Rinland commanded. In no time, Jiang Ming arrived with Zhu Yi. Empress Lin Lan exclaimed, the two of you came really fast. At the same time, he beckoned the others to stand down. Are all of the Zhu family's first family members here? Zhu Yi inquired as she looked at these strangers in the dungeon. The Zhu family had also felt unusually puzzled and even disoriented upon seeing Zhu Yi. It's all here. What do you two have planned? Empress Lin Lan was also curious as to how they were going to deal with that Wenjong. If that Wenjong was killed, she would be considered free. Open the dungeon. I'll go in. Just wait. Zhu Yi took 2 steps forward. Empress Lin Lan looked at Jiang Ming. Let her in. We'll watch from the sidelines. Jiang Ming wasn't worried that something would happen to Zhu Yi. No more. there is the Tenfold Battle Power card. If the Wang Teng card adds tenfold battle power, not to mention the peak of reversing heaven and changing fate, even if a great god of the secret realm of eternal life came, he would have to get down. With the doors of the steel casting open, Zhu Yi stepped into the dungeon with a natural face. All of the Zhu family didn't understand what this beautiful woman was doing coming in. This lord, you came in to be? The Zhu family head was puzzled. Don't ask, and don't disturb me. Zhu Yi silently walked to the crowd and found an inconspicuous position to sit down. Seeing this scene, Jiang Ming couldn't help but cheer for Zhu Yi. He gave the 10 times battle power card to Zhu Yi in advance. You have your own scapegoat doll, so you're not worried about anything happening. When you die, you can go straight back to your family, which in turn has a 6th order grand formation. If you can't even survive that, then you don't have to play. Seeing the intentions of the Jiang Ming duo, Empress Lin Lan couldn't help but inquire. Jiang family master, are you letting your lady, alone, fight against Wen Zhong? Why not? Jiang Ming asked with slightly narrowed eyes. I'm just asking. Empress Lin Lan met Jiang Ming's eyes. Her heart trembled. It wasn't a heartbeat. It was a kind of pressure to face a superior. She was curious how Zhu Yi could fight against Wen Zhong when she wasn't even as powerful as her. Since there are no more problems, we can leave. According to your statement that all of Wen Zhong will appear for at least a year, then Zhang will only be able to stay in Linlan for a year. The lights in the dungeon dimmed as the firelight cleared. Everyone in the Zhu family looked at Zhu Yi curiously. Some people wanted to go forward and ask, but they were forced back by Zhu Yi's ice-cold eyes. Jiang Ming, on the other hand, was crouching in the nearest attic next to the dungeon. This is one of the cold rooms of the Lineland Palace. Empress Lin Lan thought that Jiang Ming would be quietly cultivating inside, but who knew that he was lying on a chair with his eyes closed. Go out and fool around once in a while, but never saw a day of cultivation. And so the days passed for 2 months. During this period of time, inside the family, apart from Yu Ling and Zhou Qingying's cultivation breakthroughs, no one else has moved much. After all, the further one goes, the more difficult it becomes to cultivate. Meanwhile, the sky dome of the Linlan Palace became dim. Empress Linlan, who was in her chambers, looked up sharply. Coming. Jiang Ming also stared deathly into the void. This was the first time he had to face a being beyond the Jindan stage head-on. Only the darkness of the firmament was visible above. A ghostly figure flickered away. Subsequently, that figure then quickly disappeared into the void. In front of Empress Lin Lan, a black robe suddenly appeared in the smell. His face looked to be in his 40s, with dark, thick hair that showed no signs of age. Where are the people? Smell looked at Queen Rinland with calm eyes. There was no lust in his gaze, even if Empress Lin Lan was so stunning. This was the cultivation of the devil's skill to a point of eradicating lust. In the dungeon, my lord, I'll take you there. Empress Lin Lan scrambled to her feet. The unintentional revelation in her sniff made her feel as if her heart was being squeezed. No need. Stay here and properly continue your work. With a wave of his hand, Wen Zhong disappeared into the chambers as if it was an instant. Russell. All the soldiers inside the dungeon died in mysterious ways. When Wen Zhong arrived here, he also clearly sensed that the power of the family's bloodline was becoming more and more intense. All are his children and descendants. Suddenly, his eyes lit up as he sensed an unusually bright mass of blood among this batch of offspring, as if a puddle of stagnant water with a night pearl cooled the dark night sky. Could it be that my Zhu family's offspring has produced some kind of super physique? Great! If that's the case, I might be able to make a breakthrough into reverse heaven. His pace quickened a few moments at the thought. In an instant, he arrived at the dungeon gate. With a lift of his hand, the gate that was so thick that even the celestial realm couldn't break it down was easily torn apart by him. You are! The Shu family head hadn't even had time to ask. He, as well as the hundreds of people around him, instantly turned into a cloud of blood mist, and then Wenzhong took out a jade bottle to absorb all of this blood mist. A pair of sinister eyes locked onto Zhu Yi. Ha ha, deep spiritual energy, realm yin and yang, it's really a first-rate talent. I didn't expect that my bloodline could also produce a divine body. He couldn't tell what kind of physique it was though. However, having seen a lot, he knew that the aura of some talented youngsters was very similar to Zhu Yi's. With that, he made his way along, and everyone around him turned into blood mist and was absorbed by him. In just 2 steps, he came to a distance of 3 feet in front of Zhu Yi. Your body, it can't just be wasted. I'll take you back properly. Will you be carefully boiled? Saying that, his large pitch-black hands slowly reached out. When he was about to touch Zhu Yi's forehead, a halberd suddenly stabbed out from the void, a strike that was just right, and even made Wen Zhong unable to react in time, going straight into his chest. Zhu Yi's eyes snapped open. That was a pair of golden eyes. It was clearly the martial heavenly eyes, and his aura made the smell instantly color change horrified. Against all odds, who the hell are you? Your descendants. Zhu Yi chortled coldly. Chapter 195, Eternal Banishment. The difference in strength between the two is so great that the martial heavenly eyes for Wen Zhong was a descending dimensional suppression and strike, and all of his tactics were clearly seen by Zhu Yi. Broken. Senior, isn't there some kind of misunderstanding? Wen Zhong roared. The spiritual energy of his entire body was like a river roaring, converging countless demonic flames in the void to oppose Zhu Yi's terrifying halberd. But the next moment, Zhu Yi's finger tapped, and a cross-twisting pattern emerged in that void, and this world was cut apart. The demonic flame was instantly dinged, and the means in the smell was like child's play in front of Zhu Yi, unable to pose any threat at all. I am your descendant, but the blood feud of this Zhu family, the blood of my grandfather, father, and grandmother, were all swallowed by you as well. Have you forgotten? Zhu Yi's voice shook when Zhong sent her, and when Zhong was in pain, but after he sensed carefully, he found that this woman was indeed really his descendant. How can my descendants be so strong? Boom! Next moment, a divine light from the dungeon of the Linlan Palace rose up into the sky. The golden battle armor covered Zhu Yi picked Wen Zhong and rushed straight into the sky. The golden light illuminated the sky and quickly disappeared into the clouds. Such a shocking commotion naturally caused many cultivators in the city to look up in horror. Next moment, the heavens erupted with terrifyingly extreme demonic flames. It was the body and the smell that was somehow dissipating. His flesh, blood, and bones, all emanating demonic flames. Zhu Yi frowned lightly, his heaven and earth phases. I am now against the heavens to kill him effortlessly. Could it be that he still has a bottom card? Zhu Yi looked at the wary atmosphere of Wen Zhong whose skin was cracking. Sure enough, those demonic flames began to converge again, transforming into a huge black head with empty eyes that looked towards Zhu Yi and let out a light eep. There are still such experts in such a small place. Fellow Daoist, I am the old ancestor of Bihai Island. This person is my disciple. I still hope that your excellency will spare my disciple's life, and I, Bihai Island, will owe your excellency a favor in the future. This devil's demonic flame was even deeper, and although the range was not large, it was exceptionally pure, giving Zhu Yi a very dangerous feeling, and the devil's aura had instantly become a reversal of heaven. Neither Zhu Yi nor Jiang Ming had ever heard of any Bihai Island. However, the visions evolved by this person across such a distance were all in the realm of the reversal of the heavens, and it was obvious that the strength of the main body was astonishing. Zhu Yi gazed down at Jiang Ming below. She was also worried about bringing enemies for the clan that she couldn't afford to mess with. Kang Ming gave her a reassuring look and did as she thought. After Zhu Yi received Jiang Ming's reply, she had no more worries, and her halberd transformed into a giant golden mane, stabbing at the massive demon head. Junior, I asked you to spare my disciple's life because I was giving you face. Seeing that you have amazing talent, I didn't want to make things difficult for you. Since you're so ungrateful, I'll teach you a lesson on behalf of the division behind you. That devil's voice was dull and constant, and in the face of Zhu Yi's massive spiritual power, the devil eventually spat out a black pike, in which a devilish shadow rose, forcing back all of Zhu Yi's golden light. Rumble! The first collision erupted in the void with a shocking sound, reflecting the dim void brightly. There were originally dark clouds rolling in which there were countless golden lights piercing through the dark clouds and shooting straight away, drawing the entire imperial city cultivators ordinary people. They all looked at the sky. The odds were that this kind of battle scene was something they had never seen before in their lives. Even celestial Jindan powerhouses could only look up, even within the Acacia sect, which was nearly 100,000 miles away. The Patriarch and a host of other experts had also cast their thoughts over. Against all odds, this fluctuation, it seems to be more than that. Patriarch, a very strong demonic might. It makes me feel very uneasy. Recently, this southern part of the country has been very unsettled. Ever since the rise of this Jiang family, battles at the level of heaven reversing and life-changing, which cannot be won in 10,000 years in this south, have all appeared, and they're not just ordinary powerhouses. The Acacia sect patriarch clearly felt these two fluctuations, neither of which was weaker than him, and it was hard to imagine what kind of enemy it was. Curious, his body flashed as he traveled to the Linlan Imperial City. Above Linlan, the golden light grew more and more exuberant. Zhu Yi opened wide, his halberd evolving into millions, targeting tens of thousands of evil spirits. That devil's divine ability was also very peculiar, affecting Zhu Yi's mind at all times. Wink has long since disappeared, wrapped up in the devil. The battle between the two sides was intense, and the demons didn't seem to be physical objects. Every time it was crushed by Zhu Yi, it could be reborn from other demonic flames. Girl, it's not easy for you to cultivate. At such a young age with such a cultivation level as reversing heaven and changing fate, you should be a high disciple of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. The devil's voice echoed around the clouds. Zhu Yi didn't reply. Her pair of golden pupils kept turning, always looking for the devil's breaks. Suddenly, her hands evolved and she stretched out her palms, her entire arm turning black. It's the heavenly rank divine ability sky-destroying hand. However, That devil saw the situation without fluctuation, as if heavenly rank means were nothing in his eyes. Only a trace of ethereal divine light flashed through his pitch-black pupils. It collided with that pitch-black hand in the void. You will never be able to comprehend the means of the eternal life without entering it, although my realm is lower than yours, but you can't take me. It's useless to entangle yourself in any way. My disciple's life. You can't take it. Devil's offense has also hardened. Although Zhui was retreating and fighting at the same time, her pace was calm and steady without the slightest bit of panic. All of a sudden, after the two of them fought for hundreds of rounds, Zhui found the right moment to levitate his halberd above his head. Both hands struck out a burst of arcane runes that did not belong to this world. That devil was greatly puzzled by the situation, and from within, he sensed a hint of crisis. However, relying on his profound realm, he did not flee immediately and still wanted to save Wenzhong's life. Zhui clenched her hands into the void, and the large area of emptiness around the demon head suddenly twisted and formed a terrifying vortex at an irreversible speed. Eternal banishment. Zhui was drenched in fragrant sweat as she performed this technique, her spirit god body being catalyzed to the extreme. That devil found that the space around him suddenly changed. He realized what was going on, and the devil's aura was soaring even in how ferocious it was that it couldn't escape from this space. If it was at the beginning, when his demonic might was in full bloom, he might have been able to resist for a moment or two, but now, in the face of this putative power, his demonic head's large face was becoming twisted. Spatial laws? Impossible. How could you, a person who doesn't enter the everlasting life, comprehend the spatial laws? Who the hell are you? I've never heard of someone like you in the supreme sacred Tao Palace. That devil hissed madly. He had also lost his origin once in this descent. If he lost it, he would have to recuperate for a long time before he could recover. Junior, do you definitely want to feud with me? The High Island? That devil threatened. What I killed was Wenzhong. If your excellency doesn't care, naturally you won't end up with a grudge. Zhui was resolute and had no intention of stopping. Fine, fine, I'll remember you. Report your name if you have the guts. The demonic head was being absorbed by the power of the void, and the demonic flames in the dome of the sky were decreasing rapidly. Zhui didn't want to say anything, but she spoke anyway. Northern Plains Wang family, if your excellency has the guts, come on. That devil revealed a hint of surprise at the end. He hadn't heard of any Northern Plains Wang family anywhere even after thousands of years of traversing the Inshu realm. Chapter 196, 15 Years of Rush. When Zhui descended, her aura remained against the heavens. Queen Rinlan stood aside, not daring to make a sound. Husband, that person seems to be of great importance. There's no harm in it. You've surely beaten others heavily this time as well. And the only person who knows the inside story of this battle is Empress Lin Lan. Hearing the discussion about herself, Empress Lin Lan was so frightened that she immediately explained. I won't talk nonsense. Don't worry both of you. I'll absolutely. It's not up to you. I'm not a murderer, but I won't trust a stranger either. So you can't be the position of this empress for the time being. Come back to the Jiang family with me. Jiang Ming had a tough attitude. Empress Lin Lan was just about to hesitate when she was instantly wrapped up in a huge wave of intent. A talisman was then shot out from Zhuyi's brow and implanted into Empress Lin Lan's mind. This is the chaotic ancient secret symbol. If you have second thoughts, I can let you die at any time. Well, thank you both for not killing me. Empress Lin Lan had a helpless face. Let's go back to the Jiang clan first. The battle here is bound to cause other big names to come over to investigate. Jiang Ming hurriedly led Zhui and Empress Lin Lan directly back to the Jiang clan from the teleportation array. When they had just left for a few moments, the Acacia Patriarch arrived over the Lin Lan imperial family. When he sensed the distorted void, his face changed. The power of space. This is a great power that has mastered the laws of space. We have actually had such a shocking figure appear here. The Acacia Patriarch didn't dare to linger longer. He didn't know what characteristics, or anomalies, the South had, but the appearance of such legendary powerhouses nowadays wasn't a good thing for a primary immortal sect like the Acacia sect. Except for the Patriarch of the Acacia sect. After about 2 hours, the Feng family head of Tianfeng City also arrived. When he sensed the spatial fluctuations of this place, his face similarly changed. His complexion was cloudy, and then he turned into a stream of light that rushed into the sky and went away at extreme speed. Soon, the news of a superpower appearing in the Lin Lan kingdom also spread, and I don't know how it got out. None of this has anything to do with the Jiang family who started it all. Located in the eastern part of the Inshu realm, this is an endless sea, a distant location millions of miles from the mainland. The waves here were so shocking that a single wave could slap a celestial powerhouse to death. In the depths of the sea, there were deep-sea ferocious beasts that were even more terrifying and massive than large mountains. The belt was such a horrible sea, but instead there was an incredibly quiet island. The island was calm as a mirror for 10,000 miles around, in which only gentle little fish swim. The island is full of birds and flowers, and the practitioners of Nibu. A dark cave located in the depths of the island suddenly erupted with a shocking fury. Fine, fine. I'll see who dares to kill my primal devil's disciple. Boom! A black demonic pillar that rose up to the sky, for a moment, attracting the entire island, all of them sniffing and looking over. It's the prime ancestor. Who dares to mess with him? Could it be those from the Tao Palace? I don't know. Listen to his tone. Seems to be his disciple was killed. He went over to force to protect the opposite side did not give face. This who is so epileptic. Prime old man do not recognize? The 6 great families and also the people from the 5 great Tao Palace. Basically no one doesn't know the name of the primeval ancestor, right? Maybe it's that guy who was newborn and doesn't fear tigers. This is good. Messing with this fierce man. Just as the disciples were discussing, the prime ancestor ordered, Lin Xin, go investigate this matter. Your senior brother Wen Zhong died in the southern region. Investigate the murderer. I need to go into emergency seclusion for the time being. Use the black demon stones directly if anything happens. Yes, master. Inside the island, on the edge of a turquoise inner lake, a man in golden robes arched his hand at Black Mountain in the distance. There was also a scaly dragon lying beside him, looking at the golden-robed man with fear in his eyes. Lin Xin looked in the direction, without him having to say anything. The scaly dragon on the side had already risen into the air, and then this person stepped on top of the scaly dragon's head, and just like that, he left the island and rushed into the frightening and endless sea. And that's all. Jiang Ming naturally didn't know. He had brought Queen Rinlan back so that she wouldn't give away her information. After all, it was an unknown powerhouse that he was messing with. Jiang Ming, it won't do you any good if you tie me up. I'll keep my mouth shut. And your Jiang family, now that you have a 5th order array master behind you, what are you afraid of? Empress Linlan felt that Jiang Ming was just too careful. You're so powerful and you're still afraid of this and that. Don't talk nonsense. Here, you're cultivating in a 5th order spirit gathering formation. You're served with good food and drink and spirit fruits and tea every day. What are you dissatisfied with? Jiang Ming pointed to the house prepared for Empress Linlan in the distance, where although it was not as big as the palace, it was still a small courtyard, and the richness of the aura inside was more than 10 times that of his palace. And in that courtyard, in addition to the rich aura, there were also spirit fruits, spirit tea that Empress Linlan had never eaten before. This is my courtyard? Empress Linlan noticed it at first, thinking it belonged to Zhu Yi or Jiang Ming. Yes, it's your yard. This condition is considered poor. Not satisfied? Jiang Ming was surprised. No, it's satisfactory. Queen Rinlan froze. Which is what imprisonment? This is paradise. Originally thought. He will live in a dark attic. I didn't expect this kind of light. It's worthy of being a place covered by a 5th order array master. Empress Linlan couldn't wait to walk in. And with that, Queen Rinlan shut up, and don't want to go back. But someone has to preside over the court in the Lineland Palace. Jiang Ming wrote a letter to Dezhou Huang. So few. Rinland and Dazhou were so sparsely together. And that's just Jiang Ming's trip to the country of Lineland. It was also enough to show how simple it was for a family that transcended the world against the heavens to change 2 secular kingdoms. The days flowed calmly. The Jiang family was also gradually expanding, and the Green Mountains were slowly getting taller. Originally, Gang Lao said that he was teaching Wang Xinliang every year, but because of the liquid in the little green bottle provided by Jiang Ming, it led to his intention to shut down. This seclusion was 15 years without coming out of the mountain. 15 years, a rush of years. The sun and the moon are like a shuttle. The pattern of the Great Week is still the same. The Acacia sect has not changed. Business is getting worse in Tianfeng City, and our Castle Peak City has been built to be 3 times larger than the Suyuan Mansion. At the back of Castle Peak City was the Green Mountain that stuck straight up into the sky and was 10,000 feet tall. On Green Mountain, the Jiang family, the second largest family in the south besides the Feng family, resides. Inside Castle Peak City, 2 youths, a man and a woman, dressed in flashy attire, scrambling around town. The boy, athletic in stature, passed underneath one of the stalls, holding a half-meter-high doll in his hand. Ha ha, Sister Heart, I'll give it to you if you catch up. The boy walked at a strange pace through the crowd, with residual shadows behind him, and instantly arrived at the roof of a 6-story attic in the center of the city. Some people were shocked when they saw the scene. Whose kid is this? So bold. That's Mingju Pavilion. He even dares to go up there. Not afraid of death? Chapter 197, Convincing People by Virtue. Oh, this brother, you look like you just came to Castle Peak City. These two, but our Castle Peak City's prince, the real prince, is the immortal sect people come? See them, also have to be careful. A man with a folding fan in his hand came from the distance, and it was Yuan Chong who had been soaking in Castle Peak City all day long. He loved this place too much. There was plenty of spiritual qi, and Jiang Ming also gave him a discount. 50% off for the whole city. So he also stayed in the third order spirit gathering array room that could only be afforded by the wind and fire cataclysm. Oh, your excellency's noble aura must not be a mundane person. Please also introduce these two children are? Yuan Chon laughed. These two are the young masters on that green hill. Get it? The young master of Green Mountain? Those few martial artists who were new to this place suddenly dawned on them and looked over with astonished gazes that. Only then did he realize that although these two were not very old, their pace was calm and steady, and their cultivation was even thicker and more stable. Realm-wise, the few new visitors could not see the strength of the two teenagers at all. In that case then there was only one possibility that the cultivation of these two teenagers was stronger than them. Thinking of this, several people looked at each other and saw the surprise in each other's eyes. So it's Qing Shan's young master. No wonder. I'm already at the first level of the Avatar realm. I can't actually see their realm. Could it be that they are all already experts at the second level or above of the Avatar at such an age? Even the immortal sect isn't this powerful. A few people were talking loudly, and were heard by quite a few people around. And just then, 3 men with extraordinary temperament walked out from the side. Among the leader of the white robe is inlaid with gold edges. Treasure light flow. At a glance is not low-grade vestments. He looked arrogant and showed disdain. A bunch of frogs in the bottom of the well. How can a child of a small secular family be compared to an immortal sect? Oh yeah, you guys only know about low-level immortal sects like the Acacia sect and the Tianqing sect. That's really all the well-lane ants know. Who are you that you have such a big mouth? The two above are the young masters of the Zhang family. You're not afraid of flashing your tongue if you speak out of turn here. Ha ha, the young master of the Zhang family? What can the Feng family's young master do in front of me? The gold-rimmed man at the head suddenly tapped his feet, and an aura that surpassed the celestial realm he reached the returning to one realm surged out. The terrifying pressure caused some cultivators with low cultivation levels to retreat in horror, and even Yuan Chong was taken aback. I thought it was an ignoramus, but I didn't expect that it was really an expert. This person didn't look more than 20, but he was actually an expert of the returning to the first realm. He himself had cultivated for more than 40 years and was only at the early stage of the yin-yang realm. The gap was too great. Suddenly, someone saw the identity of a few people. White robes, arcane spell seals, you're from the Taishian sect. Taishian sect? What sect is this? Hearing that many people had never heard of it, the man at the head of the group snorted, squinting his eyes in defiance of this group of ants. The person who understood said quietly, the Taishian sect is not comparable to the Feng clan's Acacia sect. They are close to the holy city. It's a great immortal sect. There are people inside who have explored the everlasting life, and I've even heard that the Taishian sect also has their own small world. The most frightening thing is that I've heard that the master of the Taishian sect has long since explored the secret realm of longevity. In other words, this is no longer an immortal sect. It's a Taoist sect. Is it that exaggerated? The Taishian sect is so strong. What's the point of running here? It's not that there are more and more good things in Castle Peak City. Even 6th order spirit medicines are the norm. Remember 3 years ago, a person from the everlasting mystic realm came over to buy medicines? At that time, it alarmed many immortal sects to come and visit. Don't talk nonsense. Look, this time the Zhang family is in trouble. These 3 people are too big. The commotion here quickly caught the attention of the roof. Zhang Yun and Zhang Xian. Zhang Yun was a few months older and was Yunji's child, considered Zhang Xian's older brother. Although his face was childish, he did not have a bit of fear in his eyes in the face of the expert in front of him. Instead, he leaped forward and said, "It's not that good. Isn't it just the return to one realm? Kid, looking down on the return to one realm? What is your cultivation level? Even if I give you a few years to reach my age, will you be able to have the cultivation of the celestial realm?" The arrogant man at the head of the group deliberately pressed his cultivation over. However, he was also clear that he couldn't go too far, but it was still possible to bully the bullies, and it was expected that the Zhang family wouldn't dare to do anything to him. But the teenager in front of him had a disinterested look on his face. Instead, he pulled out a bunch of sugar gourds from his pocket and held them in his mouth, turning his head to the little girl beside him and asked, "Sister Xin, he said that I don't have the return to the first realm cultivation when I'm his age? How can that be? Brother, 4 or 5 years could it be that he doesn't progress?" Zhang Xian was surprised. "Yeah, I'm also curious as to why he thinks I won't improve in 4 or 5 years. Could it be that he's not in his right mind?" "Well, I think so too. Big brother, although your cultivation isn't the highest amongst the few of us, your intelligence is unrivaled," Zhang Xian said fervently, listening to the duo's conversation. The surrounding people's complexions were gradually dulling. "This kid is in the realm of returning to one? Ha ha, you are the returning to the first realm? Then I am the eternal life mysterious realm. Boy doesn't know the heights of heaven. Humph." The blonde-rimmed man in the lead naturally didn't believe it, and laughed loudly with the 2 fellow disciples beside him at each other, his expression full of frivolity. "Sister Heart, What did father say? Convince by virtue. Convince people with reason. Ginger Heart's little head kept nodding back and forth. Jiang Yun nodded. So since your excellency doesn't believe me, I'll have to convince you with virtue. I'd like to see how you're going to convince me? With your big words? The man in the lead clasped his hands on his chest and deliberately raised his head, relying on his height advantage to condescend and look down on Jiang Yun. Jiang Yun touched his right hand on his storage ring and an axe appeared in his hand. The axe was oddly shaped, and the head of the axe was clearly the word day. Just when the crowd didn't understand why the axe was like that, Jiang Yun had already chopped over with an axe. It was like a great mountain pressing down horizontally, and the aura of the returning to the first realm was revealed. The blonde-bordered teenager at the head of the group's face suddenly changed drastically. It's really the return to one realm. Why is this spiritual energy so pure? And with this axe, it locked up all of his retreats, leaving him with no way out. One can only go hard to meet this axe, together. This kid is weird. This blow is a bit on the nose. The three of them combined their forces together, and three different divine rainbows rose up from the ground to collide with Jiang Yun's axe. With a loud boom, the aftermath spread out, and the impact rushed many cultivators to the ground. Smoke rolls in. The surrounding vendors were toppled to the ground by the fallout. The fighting didn't seem to stop, and amidst the smoke and dust, Jiang Yun rushed in with his axe, and within moments, a few miserable screams came from inside. The commotion here quickly drew the attention of the city's guards. A group of people shot up from outside the city. It was Yang Kai leading a group. When he arrived at this place, he already saw three people lying crookedly on the ground. On the opposite side was the young master, whom he had to respect, with the deity axe in his hand. Young master, what is this? Yang Kai inquired in surprise as he landed on the ground. 15 years had passed, and he had become a celestial with the assistance of Jiang Ming, but the highest level of guards in Castle Peak City wasn't him. This kid insulted me and looked down on me. My father said to convince people with virtue, so I let him be convinced. Jiang Yun raised the axe in his hand and retrieved his storage ring, full of concern. Chapter 198, Going to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. Yang Kai also knew the young master's temperament and wouldn't casually stir up trouble. The Jiang family's tutelage was still very strict. I just don't know where Jiang Ming taught those theories either. What a morning glory. What a night glory. This is how Ginger Ming explained it to the child. I'll find out the way to your house in the morning, and I'll go and beat you to death in the evening. This also leads to the fact that no one dares to mess with them. But that really happened 3 years ago. A few kids were playing outside and met a worldly kid who was being bullied at the time. Then when they returned home, they found the family's divine beast, Quinn, and went to someone's family that night to make a big fuss, almost giving them to lift the family out of existence. Take these people away and lock them up for a few days, and routinely check the valuables on their bodies. Yang Kai beckoned, gesturing the people behind him to take the three Taishan sect senior disciples away. Slow down. We are going to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace to take the examination. Several of us are also from the Taishan sect. If you delay our examination, your Castle Peak City is against our Taishan sect. The gold-rimmed man at the head of the group yelled as he lay on the ground. He was worried about being held up for the test. You guys are going to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace as well? Jiang Yun squatted down and inquired. What? Can't you? The man with the golden edge was quite unconvinced, but when he thought that he couldn't even beat a 15-year-old, his confidence in going to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace this time around was mostly eroded. Uncle Yang, look at it this way. These three will be given to our siblings as attendants. What do you think? Want me to be a follower? I'm the Taishan sect. The gold-rimmed man in the lead was not happy on the spot. But, snap, the sound brought him back to reality. Jiang Yun squatted by the side of a few people, withdrawing the slap that had struck them, and once again took out the axeman in his hand. No, want to try the axiom again? The three of them shut up at once, fear in their eyes, and shook their heads repeatedly. Since young master can handle it himself, then Yang won't get involved. Yang Kai waved his hand to dismiss the onlookers. The three people who were lying on the ground helped each other up, and at this moment, their expressions changed as they looked at Jiang Yun. From initial disdain, he became respectful. They're not stupid either. This kind of talented young man goes to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace definitely belongs to the top genius. Their own several people talent and so poor. If it is in advance to hold a thigh is not bad. The so-called great man can bend and stretch. A few people party arrogant, but this will change still very quickly. Jiang Yun looked at the few people being honest and sighed. Pops was right. Convincing people with virtue still works. Brother Yun, there are 5 more days before we leave. It's our first time representing the Zhang family to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. Should we prepare something? What do I need to prepare? Nothing is needed. You three introduce yourselves. What's your name? The blonde-rimmed man at the head of the group laughed. I'm Zhao Yunda, and these two are my senior brother Zhang Shan and my senior sister Su Chanshan. They're also going to participate in the selection for the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace to see how lucky they are. What a coincidence. Your name also has the character de. In 5 days, come and wait for me at the foot of the northern part of Castle Peak. Yes, yes. Dare I ask if you're the most talented in the Zhang family? Zhao Yunde couldn't help but inquire. Me? I'm medium. Zhang Yun sighed, his big sister Zhang Yi's figure appearing in his mind. The top of Green Mountain. Yunji was dancing with her sword. Her sword technique had merged into heaven and earth. Her sword technique was heavenly. The long sword in his hand danced a few bright blue waves in the void before gradually rising up and then disappearing into the sky. After collecting her energy, she received the news that Zhang Yun had caused trouble in Castle Peak City. This kid, he's even learned to collect little brothers. Mother, I heard that my brother got into a fight in the city. Outside the door of the room, a little girl over 2 years old stumbled and ran in. This little girl is 70% like Zhang Ming and 30% like Yunji. It is evident that Kong Ming has strong genes. This is Yunji and Kong Ming's 7th child. In these 15 years, Yunji's cultivation hadn't stopped, and neither had their stomachs. Yunji picked up the little girl with a hug. What is your father doing? My dad is so lazy. He makes me pound his back and hates it. I'm so small and he makes me do hard labor. The little girl was very unhappy for doing half a day of hard labor. Don't say that about your father. That's how he is. Letting you pound your back is something good for you. Yunji gave a round of persuasion. Really? Then I'll go pound daddy's back again. The little girl was instantly beaming with joy. Hurry up and go. Your big brother will be going to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace in a few days. Stay with him more. You'll have fewer days to see him in the future. Also, I'll go find big brother to play. The little girl was simple-minded and had little thoughts. Whatever Yunji said made sense. After the little girl leaves, Yunji silently began to dance with her sword again, as she searched for a way to break through that section. That's 15 years. Zhang Ming had given her many exotic treasures. Even she had now gained the qualification of the reincarnation of a sword immortal. It was a surprise that Zhang Ming suddenly gave her from behind on a stormy night 10 years ago. After that day, she was handy with all the sword paths. It was even possible to realize a high-level sword path from an ordinary sword technique. Nowadays, all the sword Dao she had comprehended could already take up a bookshelf in the book depository, and the grade wasn't low. Together with her return, Zhang Ming had even more extremely high-quality sword Dao divine abilities in his hands. Even 6 months ago, Yunji comprehended the Heaven Stage primary sword Dao divine ability, Sword 9 Heavens. Zhang Ming received a return of 30 times and gained a divine ability that surpassed the heavenly rank, the Saint rank primary divine ability, Sword 33 Heavens. Now Yunji's cultivation was in the late Jindan stage, and she was not far away from the wind and fire Great Tribulation, but that's a step too far. Distant enough that Yunji stayed in the late Jindan stage for 2 years. If it wasn't for the fact that I suddenly obtained the sword immortal physique, coupled with the fact that husband gave too many secret treasures to enhance my cultivation, I'm afraid that I'd be at the most at the multiple deities realm today. Yunji was not complacent, because in the family, there were 2 others who were stronger than her. Sister Yun, in 5 days, the child will report to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. Do you want to go? Wang Xinlian's voice came from outside the door. She had a lively personality and liked to move around, and this time she also wanted to follow the children to the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. I won't go. Zhang Yun is 15 years old and needs to experience. I can't accompany him in everything. Yun, she said softly. That's a pity. I'll go see if Sister Zhuyi is going. Nowadays only Sister Wanner is willing to go. Wang Xinlian was speechless. Yan Ruyu, Yu Ling and the girls were just like cultivation fiends, and in these 10 years or so, they hadn't gone out to walk around much. Zhang Ming, on the other hand, was swimming in the mountains and making fun all around. Inside Zhuyi's courtyard, 15 years had left no trace of age on her face. Just womanhood is getting stronger and stronger. The figure is also more and more charming. A black dress she with that shiny green silk, looks cold both bath fire. In front of her stood a young girl who was standing in a pavilion. Her appearance was 5 points similar to Zhuyi's, less gynecological and more of a young girl's green color. Mother, 3 years, I'll definitely be able to go to the Sacred Tao Palace General Academy in 3 years and head to the Central State. Zhang Yi said with confidence. 3 years is too long. 2 years, this is my mission. Nowadays you are already half-step Jindan, and your father gave you so many resources. If you are still not capable of overpowering the group, don't come back. Zhu Yi demanded more. If the old trainees of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace heard this, they would only laugh at her for not knowing the heights of heaven. Mother, I've heard that there's another big sister who's been in the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace for 15 years, and 5 years ago she's already gone to the general courtyard. That's Sister Phoenix Flower. She has already paved an avenue for you in the Tao Palace, the road that people have spent 10 years paving. If you can't finish it in 2 years, how can you let people look up to you? Zhu Yi stroked Zhang Yi's head and doted on her. Chapter 199, Changes in the Wife. At 15 years old, Zhang Yi's height was no different from that of an adult. Mother, I must make a name for myself in the Dao Palace. I'll watch you, Zhu Yi said with a smile. I'm going to check on your father, so get yourself ready. Zhu Yi and Jiang Ming haven't seen each other for 15 days. It wasn't that the feelings faded, but as the cultivation level increased more and more, the concept of time became weaker and weaker, and it took a lot of time to cultivate a section of a technique or do something at the same time. In the days to come, it's likely that a retreat and 100 years of not seeing each other will be commonplace. Zhu Yi's courtyard was next to Jiang Ming. Because the idea requires smithing, he has extensively remodeled his courtyard. It's bigger than Kong Ming's yard. It could be said that the smallest yard in the Jiang family was Jiang Ming's husband. Zhu Yi walked in and saw Jiang Ming grilling. The chicken thighs on the rack smelled tantalizingly fragrant. This was also Jiang Ming's daily routine, relaxed and cozy. I'm afraid that there was no cultivator in the cultivation world who was more relaxed than him. Yo, you're just in time for a chicken leg. Jiang Ming held a brush in his hand and spread honey on it. The aroma of the roasted chicken leg became even more intense. It smells so good. Husband, where did you learn this craft? Zhu Yi's fingers were so excited that she couldn't help but pick one up. It's all boring and self-taught. I've grilled it many times before I grilled it this delicious. Jiang Ming was satisfied with his masterpiece. After Zhu Yi finished eating, she couldn't help but shiver her fingers. A habitual action when she used to be immortal. You can't help but shiver your fingers whenever you eat your favorite and get grease on your hands. In a few days, Jiang Yi and the others will all be going to the Supreme Sacred Dao Palace. Do you want to send them along? You're a 15-year-old adult. What else do you need to send to school? If you need someone to send you on these few steps, how can you fight the sword and be a generation of masters in the future? Jiang Ming was free range with his children. Maybe it's too many kids and less affection, but he still has a responsibility to his kids. That was why they were also sent to the Sacred Dao Palace. After all, it was a holy place of cultivation, much better than the Jiang family for sure. In these 15 years, Jiang Ming did not marry more. It was only during that time that he and Akatsuki got married. Just not any more women. Originally, Mingyu had the intention to introduce Strangling Yun to Jiang Ming, but Strangling Cloud was really unenlightened, so he let it go. That Wang Xinlin just looked for me. She asked me to accompany her to the Dao Palace. I thought about it. I still have things to do. I haven't finished the heavenly ranked weapon illustrations you gave me until now. I don't want to interrupt the rhythm. Oh, you've already started building heavenly ranked weapons? Jiang Ming was surprised. Nowadays, although the family had heaven ranked weapons, there were already 3 of them, but it's all about the system returning the rewards. But Zhu Yi hadn't built one herself. Today's Zhu Yi return multiplier is 45 times. If she was able to build a heavenly rank primary weapon, there was a high probability that she could be rewarded with more saint rank weapons. That kind of artifacts, the Acacia sect does not have. If it is taken out with Jiang Ming's current cultivation can go to suppress the immortal sect. In this way, it can also be considered to have truly gained a firm foothold in this southern part of the country. Husband, good. You've started secretly roasting chicken legs again. Wang Xinliang suddenly appeared in the doorway, bouncing in. He took the chicken leg in his hand and finished it with a whimper. I'm not even full yet. Jiang Ming was speechless. Husband, I'll report on the family's financial situation, Wang Xinliang said and took out a ledger, and Jiang Ming leisurely listened. Our sales this year are 30% higher than last year, but because our Jiang family's goods are unique and have some monopoly momentum, we have been boycotted by a number of forces, of which the Lihua sect is the most serious. The holy city's commerce has been unable to open up because of the Taishan sect's delay in entering, and the people that my father arranged to go over there have all died a lot. Wang Xim lymph head said here is gritted teeth hate itchy teeth. Jiang Ming touched Wang Xinliang's head, indicating that she should not be sad. I know about the power of Taishan sect. 3 years ago, the Taishan sect's master came to Castle Peak City and purchased a red golden lotus. This guy is very dishonest, and tried to snoop on our Jiang clan. Luckily there is a 6th order spell formation, or else he would really be looking at the whole thing. Then what do we do? This Taishan sect I've heard is very powerful, much stronger than the Harmony sect and the others. Zhu Yi listened on the sidelines and didn't say anything. She was too lazy to care about this kind of business dark fight. The only thing she cared about was refining weapons and fighting. Wait until we are strong enough not to fear this kind of sect. And now our Jiang family. Most people think that their own strength in general, relying on the astral old might, and so on the time is ripe, we will naturally light up the fangs. Despite his words, Jiang Ming never shows up. Husband, you started saying this 10 years ago, but never did it. Hey, I really want to take down Tianfeng City and build a Jiang family business there. Wang Xinlin had sort of inherited her father's mind that loved business. You're all here, just in time. There was another beautiful person at the door, the Yen Ruyu who hadn't seen her for a long time. Nowadays, she was dressed as a woman. The phoenix hairpin on her head coiled up her hair, and she wore a long dark-colored dress, dignified and elegant. Sister Ruyu, you've come at the right time. I want my husband to help open up the holy city's commerce. What if we work together? Wang Xinliang grabbed Yen Ruyu's hand and sat down. But Yen Ruyu said, Xin Lian, our family has only been around for 15 years. I also want to expand and flourish, but the base is too low. Right now, apart from us, there are only 73 heirs in the family combined. And that's already the result of our very hard work. And this point of people have not developed, and we can't expand. But can we recruit? That won't do. The clan is not a clan. If an outsider comes in, it will change the rhythm of our clan instead. And we that many secrets. I also know that you mean to recruit people outside to keep them out of the clan. But this kind of important business, if it's not guarded by a clan member, we don't feel at ease, don't we? Yen Ruyu was patient. Kong Ming gave her a thumbs up, but Yen Ruyu immediately said, however, when we have another 100 years, or more, and the family's population has 1,000 people, I would suggest conquering all of the south first. And what with the Great Zhou Linlan, the Northern Cold, and the Acacia sect all becoming our vassals, that would be fine. Why are you all thinking about expansion lately? Your hands are itching? Jiang Ming was surprised. He realized that his maiden, who was beginning to swell up more and more, wanted to go out and grab something and take over a territory every now and then. Any place that's good. You want it. Some time ago, someone had discovered a spirit mine, and Zhou Qingying had even brought people to grab it, and due to the small number of people only grabbed a part of it. This was still a piece given by the Acacia sect, the Heavenly Green sect for the sake of her Zhang family's wife, but it also shows that none of them are at peace, except Chui. Looks like she's still living her life. Chapter 200 Departure. To the Sacred Dao Palace. 5 days later, the entrance to Castle Peak. Nearly 100 people were seeing off 6 teenage girls. They are Jiang Yi, Jiang Yun, Jiang Cheng, Jiang Xin, Jiang Ling, and Jiang Yu. Because Rapunzel was born late, her child stood in the crowd with an expectant face. Jiang Wanner, she won't be able to go to the Supreme Sacred Dao Palace until next year. The 6 men are freshly dressed, teenagers here, spirited, with visions of the future, as they say goodbye to their families. Father, I must come back with first place at the academy. Jiang Ling looked more similar to Yu Ling, quite chivalrous. First, why don't you ask Sister Jiang Yi, before you beat her? Jiang Yun said from the sidelines, riding a large bird. Then second is always fine. Jiang Ling hemmed and hawed, rubbing his head and looking at the cool Jiang Yi with awe in her eyes. Obviously didn't get beat up by her much as a kid. Jiang Ming looked at a few children and felt a warmth inside. This was the feeling of home. And he himself, the head of the family, does not have to work hard. The greatest enjoyment in the world. There is nothing better than this. And because of the system, the return of these children's cultivation are all 5 times. Thus as the number of children grew, Jiang Ming's cultivation grew faster and faster. For example, Zhu Yi, whose cultivation in the clan had now broken through to Jindan, still couldn't see through just how strong Jiang Ming was. Jiang Ming looked at a few children and slowly walked out. When the crowd saw him come forward, they followed suit and quieted down. Although this old man usually does nothing, but he was still the most majestic head of the family at home, and as long as his face was straight, no one of these children would dare disobey. Go out there and remember my words. Father, I will always remember. The 6 teenagers spoke in unison. Although they all already had cultivation levels that didn't lose out to the older generation, they were still childish in terms of their hearts, which was something they needed to work on. Jiang Yun, let me ask you what it means to be a teacher of 3. Jiang Yun replied without hesitation. Yes, as long as one is strong enough, 3 people can be comparable to an army, and can be completely viewed as a division on our side. What about Zibai's strange power? Jiang Ming was checking his students' homework as if he were a teacher. It's father who said that Sage Kong didn't speak and used strange power to beat people into delirium. Jiang Qing snatched the answer. Jiang Ming nodded, satisfied with this statement. So what do these contents tell you? Jiang Yun took out his virtue axe and replied. It tells us that no matter what we encounter, as long as we convince people with virtue, the time it takes to convince people should not last overnight. That's very true, and that's the purpose I've handed over to you. Each one of you is well-fed, well-dressed, and has a high cultivation level. So if you go out and let people bully you, isn't that a disgrace to our Zheng family? Jiang Ming said, taking out 6 cards each. These 6 cards were what he had gotten in the past 15 years. Separately, Little Rock King Experience Card, Realm Half-Step Everlasting Habitat, Little Rock King, Genius of the Golden Winged Rock Clan, whose cultivation was the best in the world, died in the Young Heavenly Emperor. Duan Jode Experience Card, Realm of Half-Step Longevity, Duan Joda, a great power in the other realm, with ruthless methods, and the son of the realm is a good friend. Celestial Soldier Experience Card, Realm Half-Step Everlasting, Celestial Soldier. There is a heavenly court in a certain world, in charge of all worlds, This is just a member of the densely packed countless celestial soldiers. There are 3 of these Sky Soldier experience cards. Yun Tianhe experience card, Realm Half-Step Longevity. Yun Tianhe, Wild Man on the Qingluan Peak. Because of a certain girl down the mountain after worshipping the Qianghua school, and later found the secrets of heaven and earth, destroyed for the scourge of the earth's Xianshao, and then because of the serious injuries in the mountains in the late years spent, cultivation will be half-step longevity of the realm of the secret, a total of 6 cards, all of which could explode with the might of a half-step everlasting life, and were excellent life-preserving cards for the 6 teenagers with the present. Heavens, it's the mystery card. Jiang Yun was overjoyed. This was something he had heard his mother talk about a long time ago. Even Jiang Yi, who had a cold face, had an excited gaze, and after receiving the card, she couldn't help but say, "Thank you, Father. If you guys cultivate well and grow stronger, that's the biggest thank you to me." Kong Ming clapped his hands. He had given the best to the child. This kind of treatment was something that none of the immortal sect's children had ever had. That immortal sect young master was able to take out strength that could erupt into a half-step everlasting. In other words, any one of these 6 children now could go out and destroy the Harmony sect. If this was known by the outside world, they would only have to reassess the strength of the Jiang family. "Father, I heard my mother say that you like beautiful women. I'll be sure to bring you back a few in when I go to the academy." Jiang Yun was tongue-tied. The next second, it was a slap in the face from Yunji. "Nonsense. Your father would have had many concubines if he wanted a woman. Don't talk nonsense. If you go to the academy and ruin your father's reputation, you'll have a good time." "I was wrong, Mother." Jiang Yun shrunk his neck. The scene also drew laughter from the others. Behind Jiang Ming were his other heirs, the youngest less than a year old, and the oldest 13 or 14. These children will be the hope of the Jiang family in the future. "Alright, it's just a trip to school, so stop being so motherly and get going," Jiang Yun impatiently urged. "Husband, then we'll see you in a while." Wang Xinlin and the princess sat in a carriage that was about to take off into the air. As the carriage emitted 7-colored light and gradually rose into the air, the 6 teenagers also rode their respective mounts up into the sky. Suddenly, 3 shouts came from the foot of the mountain. "Wait for me, Brother Yun, Brother Yun. I haven't gotten on the bus yet." Zhao Yunda took his senior brother and sister into the air and chased after them. "I told you guys to come early and you're still late." Jiang Yun couldn't help but chide. "It's already here early, and has been hiding in plain sight, not daring to come out," Zhao Yunda said weakly. The 3 of them followed Jiang Yun's ass. The group of people just gradually disappeared into the sky. They didn't make a teleportation array and they didn't want to draw attention from many sides. The Jiang clan's teleportation array, which had been arranged near Tianfeng City, was mainly for emergency use. "Husband, they're all gone, and I don't know if it's all smooth sailing," Zhou Qingying murmured. "How can it be smooth sailing? No one can have smooth sailing. Even the number 1 in the world can die, let alone ordinary people." Jiang Ming muttered. He had long been prepared in his heart that something would go wrong, and how could it be possible for the family to develop without people dying? It was a miracle that he, his wife and heir, had not been killed or injured during those years, and these children of the families that left, there was no opening. There was just the Jiang family background. But the Jiang family was too small for this flood of history, the huge cultivation world. "Let's go. People are gone. What should we go back to?" I remembered. "It seems like I can eat the black shin bowl today." Jiang Ming quickly changed his mindset. "Oi, we can eat a big meal again today." In the crowd, one of Jiang Ming's children jumped up in surprise. This was Zhu Yi's 5th child, now also 7 years old, named Jiang Huai, a boy. He did not have a special physique, and was the most ordinary in the Jiang family. To the sacred Dao Palace, the southern part of the Inshu Realms Academy. Today is the day of enrollment in the Palace of Taoism. The queue at the entrance is like a long dragon stretching to the end. The gate of the academy was just an ordinary stone gate with the word Supreme Sage engraved on it. 2 trainees stood at the entrance of the college, holding a special jade disc for every person who passed by, for detection, and a woman dressed in college clothing, elegant temperaments sitting behind a chair. In the registration for the arrival of people. "Big brother, you're 50 years old. Why are you still coming to the Supreme Sacred Dao Palace to make a scene? Didn't I hear they take everything here? I want to see if I can grow old and cultivate immortality." Chapter 201, the 3rd young master who regained his confidence. Asterisk 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 off. "You're 50 years old. What are you doing here? He. But everyone in the world says that you have a teaching here." That old man didn't give up yet, deciding to give it a try. "Who says old people can't cultivate immortality? Alright, let him try. If he passes the test, that's his ability." The woman sitting behind the table looked up, her eyes clear and cold. The old man walked into the disc that tested his qualifications. At once, the disc exploded with white light. "What? Could it be that I'm an absolute genius?" the old man exclaimed. However, he realized that none of the disciples of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace revealed expressions of surprise. White. No cultivation qualifications. Go home and wash up. The old man's face was grim as he helplessly retreated. It's just a hiccup. Sort of a little bit of fun. Inside the gate of the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace, another handsome and extraordinary man walked out. This person holding a folding fan in his hand. A pair of eyes full of confidence. It was the Feng family's third young master. He is very much in the limelight today, because after completing that, you can become a follower of the Holy Sun by entering the general court. Nowadays he just needs to step up his game. Just get into the top 10 across the board at the next big competition. Senior brother Feng, why have you come out? The person in charge of enrollment revealed surprise upon seeing the Feng family's third young master, and had a respectful attitude. Apparently his news was known to most people by his own deliberate spreading. It's been a long time to reap the benefits of vanity, and all days are better. The insults that had once been placed in his heart long ago, it was just that insult, he would have to return it sooner or later, and that day was when he could finish it after he went to the general court. Come out and take a look. It's rumored that there are a few good seedlings among the newcomers of this term. I've come out to meet them. The Feng family's third young master was still holding a folding fan, kicking peaches in the wind, so unrestrained. Among the newcomers this time, there are indeed several good ones. Those who have passed the test nowadays, there are for the body of awareness spirit, although it's not a top-notch physique, but their achievements in the future won't be too bad. Moreover, I've heard that the young master of the Morong family might come this time. Oh, the young master of the Morong family. That Morong Kong who claims that everything becomes empty for anyone who sees him? The folding fan that was shaking in the Feng family's third young master's hand stopped. The Morong family is not something that the Feng family can touch. In this southern part of the country, he wasn't afraid of anyone except the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. It's second to none in the holy city. The Taishan sect all had to give a few points. Having stood in the south for more than 100,000 years, it was said that the same old ancestor from 100,000 years ago might still be alive in the world. Therefore, this Morong family has always been an object that the major immortal sects in the south must not mess with. And in this generation of the Morong family, there was a genius, Morong Kong. On the day of his birth, the 10,000 feet of spiritual energy surrounding him, as well as the 5 elements of heaven and earth, and even the sunlight were absorbed. The sky was dark, and it took a long time to recover. Therefore, the man was named Morong Kong. Strong backgrounds, great talent, and a lot of attention. A proper protagonist of the times. Mentioning this person, the Feng family's third young master was jealous in his heart. In the past, he was hated for his origins, and after coming to the Tao Palace, he became the target of hating people for their origins. Yes, that's him. I don't know when he's coming over. There are many tutors in the courtyard who wish to be his master. Alright, don't discuss so much. Do the registration properly. The cool woman behind the table spoke again. She didn't even look at the Feng family's third young master, clearly not caring. But the Feng family's third young master didn't say anything, but smiled politely and, in this academy, the ones who could care less about him were definitely the ones he couldn't afford to mess with. Next, take the quiz. Not qualified enough. Next, come on, qualified. Go register. A young man came excitedly to the cool woman's table. Name, the cool woman inquired. Zhang Dawei. Age, 18. Well, go to the back test channel. If you can pass you can enter our academy, but remember, entering the academy is only the first step. We do not eliminate students, but often our students cannot withstand the pressure, eliminating themselves. The cold woman has said this many times. She took pains to admonish the newcomer. Thank you, senior sister. With constant quizzes, there are some geniuses being checked out as well, and at a distance of 500 meters from the entrance of the Tao Academy, 6 similar-looking men and women were standing on tiptoe, looking curiously at the gate. Brother Yun, that woman sitting where I feel so powerful. Jiang Ling looked at that woman for a long time, but he did not sense any aura on that woman. This is the Supreme Sacred Tao Palace. Even though it's a branch, there are still a lot of monsters. Isn't it normal for us to not be able to see through them? I'm so looking forward to what kind of cultivation we'll be able to experience after admission. Jiang Xin muttered. Ha ha, a few of you. I see you're new here, and you're still admitted to the hospital? Do you guys know how hard it is to get admitted? Open your mouths. Someone behind them scoffed when they heard their words. Oh, uncle, look at you. You're 500 years old, and you're still coming to the quiz at this age? Go home and sleep. Zhang Yun shot a glance at the speaking man. The appearance was in his early 30s, but he was definitely older than that, and his cultivation level was returned to 1. So this kind of person going to the academy was nothing more than retirement. Kid, what did you say? The man was very unconvinced. In his opinion, a few milquetoast brats dared to talk about him like that. Not looking for death? Just said you, so what? Jiang Yun had the biggest temper and stood out. Although he wasn't as tall as him, his aura wasn't lost to him. Kid, if you still want to take the quiz, apologize or I'll make your head explode here today. The man let out a cold snort and looked threateningly at Jiang Yun and the others. He could also tell that the men were from the same place. They all looked alike after all. Guys, he said he wants me to open up? What should I do? Jiang Yun came up with a virtue to convince people. Of course it's to convince people with virtue. Jiang Xin, Jiang Cheng, Jiang Ling, and Jiang Yu spoke in unison. In the next moment, several people directly surrounded the man. There was a flurry of punches and kicks. All of them were at the return to 1 cultivation level. And even Jiang Yi made her move. Her half-step Jindan cultivation suppressing it to death. Although the returned realm fights were enough to open mountains in crackwater, under intentional control, they could be the same as mortals. Moreover, this was the entrance to the supreme sacred Dao Palace. Nor are they comfortable making a big noise. Slow down. You guys have the guts to fight one-on-one. The man was beaten on the ground with no way to resist. He wanted to explode his cultivation and release a big move or even to take out a killer weapon to hit the sky and earth. But before his spiritual energy could explode out of his body, he was knocked back by a small fist that, in this scene, only those with higher cultivation than them could see what was going on. Those with lesser cultivation thought it was just the flesh realm fighting. About an incense stick later, it took Jiang Yun a few moments to spread out, and on the ground lay a man whose miserable clothes had all been stripped bare and whose body was covered in bruises.